Welcome back, everybody. This is Brother Mutant here. Today we are doing a rehash video from something that I did over a year ago. We had someone named Zealous specifically ask me a couple questions over the past year about the 3 builds. So it's 3 builds all in one. Yes, we have 6 characters, 2 of which we're going to park in the corner. This is just to put them somewhere that they're not in the way. The main character has to be here, sadly. She's going to get her ass handed to her. But the main character is where the bad guys will spawn. So when I spawn bad guys for us to fight to show you what these characters are capable of, she has to be near the main 3, which was these 3 here. So these are the original 3, and I didn't like the way their skills planned out, as well as their feat picks in the order that I picked them. So there will be changes compared to the original video. So it's just so we're clear on this. There's not going to be graphic changes, with the exception of a couple feats. Again, I have come to love Arcane Strike, and didn't for whatever reason back in the day, probably because it kept falling off the character. You get used to the fact that you have to just turn it back on. So there's reasons to like it and there's reasons to hate it, and I'll explain that later. But this is something that all 3 builds got now. I was toying with the idea of keeping, for example, I think the Eldritch Scoundrel, which is 8 levels of Eldritch Scoundrel, 12 levels of Sword Saint, and the Sword Saint 12 and the Vivisectionist 8, they both had critical focus in the original build, and that's to increase their chances to crit better. And then they got the ability to unlock things like blinding critical for one, and the other one got staggering critical, I think. So I toyed with that idea, and then I decided, you know what, it's not really necessary. I'd rather just be really good at doing damage all the time. So I took both of those away from them and gave them Arcane Strike. That's one right there. And then another thing that they got, and I just can't remember what it is. Once we get into the actual builds proper, I'm sure it'll fall into my head. But there has been changes. And the other changes that you'll notice will be that the skills have been more diversified. We have so many skill points, I said, you know what, screw it. Let's actually make sure they're good at all the things that they would need to do if they were trying to play the game solo. I routinely do this, where if I think the character has a shot at doing solo run, I want to make sure that they have some trickery, have some athletics and some mobility so that they can do all those checks themselves. Stealth, of course, for these characters that are going to go around trying to do sneak attack damage, which is, by the way, the reason for the comparison builds. We have a character that can't do sneak attack and 2 that can. One that's really good at it with like 5d6 of sneak attack die. One that gets 3d6, and then they can unlock 2 more if they cast a spell for short periods of time. Part of the reason for this unique comparison, since it's not a dip so much as it's a massive lean into another class, was a couple reasons. So I want to explain why, because I'm getting a lot of questions about this. One was I wanted to see what a 2-weapon wielder could do, which is what this character is. So this is the dual Kukris Saint, so to speak. And then these 2 here do the same thing, but they have sneak attack potential. And I wanted to see how the math pulls out to see if, with that extra sneak attack, would these guys be suddenly valuable? Would they be better? The fact that they have 2 different spell books is nice, but also weird in that they're only going to get to level like 4 spells for Sword Saint and level 3 spells for Vivisectionist for her. For her, it'll be 3 levels of Eldritch Scoundrel, which can still be cool and still be fun, I think. So that's, again, part of the reasoning behind this. The other reason was that 12 level of Sword Saint was not arbitrarily picked. First, you want to do increments of 4 in almost every build where you're dipping. 2 to 4, I should say, depending on the type of character you're dipping into. For example, Paladin, people dip 2 levels in all the time. That doesn't stop any attack bonus progression. And it doesn't do anything but basically unlock their ability to do like smite and like a lay on hands once a day or some shit like that. And then they also, of course, get the divine grace, where they use their charisma modifier for their 3 different saving throws. So that's a really big boon, as you can imagine. But the 8 is definitely weird, but it stems from the 12. And let me explain why by showing you the character. So you have a Purist, for example. A Sword Saint that at level 1, they unlock this ability called Canny Defense. So long as they're not wearing anything other than light armor, which you would never do, because these guys really are all about wearing robes, or using a shield. But as long as you are wielding, of course, and this is the key, you have to be wielding your weapon of choice. Doesn't have to be 2-handed, like 1 in each hand kind of deal, which is what we're doing here, but at least one of them. In this case, we're doing Kukris for the fact that it's a very light weapon, and it's the highest crit range in the game. That's the whole idea, and this is what we did in the previous video. So by having at least 1 Kukri in one of your hands, it doesn't even have to be your main hand, it can be in your offhand, you get what's called Canny Defense. That Canny Defense is equal to your intelligence modifier and the level of Sword Saint you are for every level of Sword Saint, you have to have at least a +1 for intelligence. So at level 1, if your intelligence was 12, you get 1 dodge. If you get to 2 levels of Sword Saint, you have to have an intelligence of at least +2 for the modifier to get that 2 again. So they have to match. So you see a +8 here, 8 levels of Sword Saint, and I'm done. And you see here, Candy Defense is only at +8, but I'm level 20 character. And same with these two characters that are level 12 Sword Saint, 12 Sword Saint. But the idea was, I know that I can start with character with an intelligence of 19, which is what we've done, add 5 points right at, by the end of the build to get her to a 24. So that's a solid, see, 14, so +7. And then I can guaranteed at least another +5 with gear. So I'm like, well, that's a 12. So that's the reasoning behind the 12 for these two characters, for Sword Saint, because I knew I could get all the way up with gear to a solid 12. Turns out I can even get to a 13 if I push it, which I have done for this character, well, for all three, matter of fact. And some people question the logic of doing an intelligence buff this way, as well as the fact that, I could have just gone reverse, where instead of, say, the +8 here and the +5 for dexterity, I could have flip-flopped them. Because 21 dexterity, if I switch that over here into intelligence, that would have been more than enough intelligence to cast all our spells. You only need an intelligence of 16 on a Sword Saint, even the Purist Sword Saint. So people were also suggesting that, if you really wanted to be good at damage and you really wanted to be good at dodging and all that, and of course the bonus to reflexes besides, you really wanted to actually flip those two numbers. And I still maintain no. The reason for this was not to get to the 12, because again, that doesn't really matter. Again, if you're getting a dexterity of 8, that's 8 dodge as well. Again, it's one of the reasons that I like this build, is because there's 2 stats buffing my defense, dex and intelligence. So again, it doesn't matter which way I put them, to me, at least for that part. But they are correct. If you switch these numbers around, it's easier to level the character because you have so much dexterity and your weapon finessing and all kinds of other stuff. So there's reasons that dex is or should be your primary stat. However, I maintain that intelligence is my primary stat for a reason, because I'm going to be using extra spells a day compared to your build. So by the end of this, just so we're clear, I think I finished with like a dex of like 9 or 10 and an intelligence of like 13. The difference between that, if I flip-flop those numbers around, making my dex the lower number and dex the higher number and the intelligence the lower number, then I would lose like 4 spells a day at least. And I'm not willing to sacrifice that. And it's even worse on the split caster builds, because again, the spells that they lose on 2 different spell books. The Sword Saint spellbook and the Eldritch Scoundrel, or the Sword Saint spellbook and the Vivisectionist spellbook. So again, another problem. And again, I don't like that. I like the spells for a reason. Part of the reason for the spells will be because we'll be using them for lots and lots of buffage. If you're 2-weapon wielding, another complaint was that you can't cast or do your trick as a Sword Saint or a Magus in general, where you have spell combat and spell strike, these 2 toggles on. You can cast a spell into your weapon, a melee touch attack, and then you crit with it, and then the spell crits. That's part of the appeal of going Sword Saint, because they're really good at hitting and they're really good at critting. So I can do that. However, if you're 2-fisting it like we're doing it here, you can't actually cast your spell into your weapon and attack multiple times in the same combat round. So that's an issue, but I have a way around that, and I also have a suggestion as we level up in it, and that'll become more clear as we talk about the leveling process. So I still maintain it's a solid choice. And since we're really all about the damage with our weapon, yeah, it's cool to be able to crit with like the few spells that you do have as a Sword Saint. And even with me maximizing my intelligence, I have the most spells that you could possibly have as a Sword Saint, and I still don't have enough to do what you guys are suggesting. You would have to take a knee at like every other goddamn fight. There's no way that that's going to be a thing. So we're leaning heavy into the weapons, and hence the reason for the dual Kukris. Okay, just so we're clear on why my logic is. It doesn't mean this is the best build, and certainly it's fun and I enjoy it. It's just for what I wanted, I'm getting what I wanted. Okay, now let's explain how we level these guys up and talk about how we change things around, of course, as well. So we'll take the Purist first. First thing to note would be your alignment is going to matter. We have a chaotic evil guy, I have one that's lawful good, and I have one that's true neutral. No wrong answer here, but know that your gear is going to be dictated on some things. So are you chaotic? Well, then you can use a Ring of Chaos. That's a good ring. If you're lawful, there's a lawful ring, or Ring of Law, I think is what it's called, and it's not quite as cool, but it's still solid. If you are good, you can wear a specific cloak. If you're evil, you can wear a different cloak. And again, you have to be those. And some people have been saying in my other videos, well, this is stupid. Why are you investing so heavily into use magic device, or sorry, worrying about your alignment when you have so much into use magic device? You could just wear those monk robes. Not in this game. In pen and paper, maybe. Use magic device will allow you to do things like dip outside of your alignment, dip outside of your class or your race, even for that matter, for gear that's specific to those things. In this game, no, it does not work that way. You can have the highest use magic device ever. If you're good, you can't put on something that says only evil gets to wear it. So just so we're clear on this, not quite the same as pen and paper. There are differences. So again, know that when you're going into this, so that you can make a valid decision on what kind of gear you're shooting for. So again, chaotic evil, it could have been chaotic good, it could have been lawful evil. True neutral was a special category because there is a ring out there called the Great Ring of Balance, I think. And it's amazing. It's like the best ring out there compared to the law one or the chaos one. And it's fucking tits. But you have to be true neutral to do it. You can't just be, neutral in one of the axes. It has to be both of them. So true neutral. And I wanted to show that to you. So that's the reasoning for the 3 different alignments. Again, what you pick is on you. I'll show you the variations. You can make your own decision. It doesn't change much except for how you do your playthrough. I will say that. And again, it's kind of important because, if you are chaotic evil, you are expected to do chaotic or evil things. So if you're trying to get a good playthrough, pardon the pun, you might not get it if you're going chaotic evil or chaotic neutral or, murder hobo, or you get the idea. So that's something of note. All 3 of their stats start out the same, so let's talk about that. We start off with a strength of 11. We have a dexterity of 17. Con is 12. Intelligence is 19. We have 10 for wisdom, and charisma started at 8, but we brought it up to 10 immediately because I hate having a penalty. And that may not have been the best choice. Maybe a strength of 13 would have been better if you could have mustered it without sacrificing too much of your charisma. But I still maintain that those stats are solid. That's what we did in the original video. It's what we're doing here today too. Notice that we all went tiefling. And that was also in the original video. And it is tiefling. Literally the category of the heritage was the one that's on the bottom of the list. It's called tiefling. It's not like beast brood or anything weird. It's tiefling. How do you know? Because it's a +2 to dex, a +2 intelligence, and a -2 to charisma. And I don't remember all the other little fiddly bits other than 1. They get the ability to cast 1 spell a day, and it's resist energy. And I thought, you know what, for a solo character that normally doesn't get resist energy, especially the Purist here, that's a nice upgrade. Yeah, that really is a solid buff to your protections. So literally once a day you can either protect yourself from acid or cold, electric, fire, or sonic. Just 1, and that's it. So and it steadily gets better. It starts off at resistance 10, then it goes up to 20, and then it goes up finally to 30, and it lasts for I think like 10 minutes per level of character, which is pretty badass. So that's a nice little upgrade. Despite all that, it was really the dexterity and intelligence both getting a +2. That was the selling point. Could this build be done as a human? Probably would be better, quite frankly, because you get an extra feat, and that would always be appealing. But then you wouldn't have those resistances. You wouldn't have the other stuff that the tiefling brings you. For example, not only do you get the spell once a day, all tieflings have inherent resistances. If I can show that to you, there it is. Fiendish resistance. So cold 5, electric 5, and fire 5 for free, always on. And then of course the tiefling heritage, and again this is the one that we picked, tiefling. So this is all the stuff that we just talked about. So bonus to stealth, bonus to persuasion, but only for bluffs, and again all the bonuses that I talked about before. Notice this last part here doesn't apply to us because we're not a sorcerer or an eldritch scion of the abyssal or infernal bloodline. If we actually were one of those things, that -2 to charisma will actually go away. That's actually pretty cool, but it's not something that we're capitalizing on. So let's actually show you what we did for the Purist as we leveled up, okay? So we started off, of course, as a Sword Saint, and always went Sword Saint for this character. We had to choose a weapon, so our chosen weapon, we get weapon focus for free. That's the Kukri. We did this for all 3 builds, but we don't start with Sword Saint on one of the builds. I'll get to that later. But this is a staple. Again, we get Kukri right off the bat. They give you 1, and you already have a +1 to the swing on it. So, of course, with the 1 feat you are going to get, you want Weapon Finesse. Why? Because you started off with a dexterity of 17. That's a +3. Your strength is 11. That's a +0. That's nothing. That's not going to help you hit targets at all. Even if you're trying on the normal difficulty, it'll be a tough road to hoe until you unlock Weapon Finesse. So that's kind of the reason you need Weapon Finesse as soon as possible. So we take that. And then from there, it just gets better. Okay? So we get our typical upgrade. We'll talk about those later, but let's talk about feats. at every milestone here. So at level 3, we grab Slashing Grace. Now this is something for Kukris specifically. This is something that we have on 2 builds. The third build here, the Eldritch Scoundrel, doesn't have to take this because of their rogue dip. They actually get something different that's similar to this, but way better, and we'll explain that too. But it's called Finesse Training, and again, you get to pick a weapon. In her case, again, we went Kukri, and it's looks like it's the exact same thing as Slashing Grace. It is not, or Fencing Grace if you went with a different type of weapon. It is not. It's better, and I'll explain why later. But basically, they do the same thing. It allows you to use your Dex modifier for that specific weapon for damage. So now you have Weapon Finesse. That's giving you your Dex modifier for your attack bonus, and then you're getting Slashing Grace, which gives you the ability to use that +3 damage. Okay, so you can see the appeal here. It's giving us damage. Basically, it's like we're a strength-based character, but with dexterity, which is obviously better. Level 5, we unlock not only Piranha Strike, but also Arcane Strike. Again, those two are amazing. Piranha Strike was on the previous build, or 3 builds, but Arcane Strike was not. I was getting, for example, for this character, he was getting Weapon Specialization Kukri. That's a +2 to his damage with any Kukri. And then he even got Greater Weapon Specialization Kukri, which is another +2 damage, but again, only with Kukris. So he was getting +4 damage with the weapons in his 2 little fingies. But if you did Arcane Strike, just Arcane Strike, by level 20, this character gets a +5. As long as this is running for any weapon he has in his hands, he gets +5 damage, which is better than those 2 feats combined. You see that? We even pick up Weapon Specialization Kukri just to keep with the theme. So he has 5 here and another 2 from Weapon Specialization. We just lost Greater Weapon Specialization. So instead of getting a +4, we're at +7. Hope that makes sense. Okay? So again, this is one of the differences. But Piranha Strike was still a solid pick. We just picked it obviously sooner. And again, you notice that we are not 2-weapon wielding yet, even though I have 2 weapons. I'm talking about in this time frame of the build. So you're still one-handing it. So you're doing your typical Sword Saint stuff where you're channeling spells into your weapon and choppity, having fun, doing what you do best. Now, level 7, 2-weapon fighting finally unlocked for us. Now again, we could have picked it sooner. We didn't need to. And this, again, is part of the difference between this build and the builds over a year ago. So it's in the correct order, in my opinion. This is going to be a penalty to your swing. Ignore all this stuff to give you the easy breakdown. If you're using a light weapon in your offhand, and these are all light weapons, then you're, instead of being a -4 penalty now, which is what 2-weapon fighting would do, with a light weapon in your offhand, it's a -2, which is the best you're going to get. And that's not bad. Yes, it's a penalty. You'll see it here under Other. You see the -2? You'll see it over here again. Same thing. Other, -2. That's a problem, but it's not that much of a problem. And again, you're going to have a solid swing with buffs and dexterity besides making sure that you land in your attacks, as well as weapon buffs that we get for being a Sword Saint. So this is not bad. And I like the extra attack, just 1 at this point. So you'd be at, just so we're clear, see, it's a bad progression of 3/4. So there's nothing at level 1, then it's a 1, 2, 3, nothing again at level 5, then it's 4, 5. You're at +5 right now. You're only at 1 attack a round normally. And then you'd have, with 2-weapon fighting, if you dual wield, you'd have 1 attack and 1 attack. So you'd have 2 attacks right now. Now that's not that impressive yet, and here's why. If you don't 2-weapon fight, and you use this spell combat, spell strike ability, you can channel a touch attack through your 1 weapon, and you would get 2 swings. You would get the main swing, and before that you get the swing where you're trying to discharge the spell. This is why people are complaining about this build, in my opinion. And again, it's justified. I'll explain why later. It's not as bad as you think. But this is the reason they're complaining, because they're like, well, I can get 2 attacks that way. And yes, it's at a -2, thanks to spell combat. You see it right there. It says -2. So I would get a swing and a swing, both at -2, with just 1 weapon. And again, I don't have to worry about not being able to cast my spells through the weapon. Right? It's still working as intended. So this is a silly idea at this point, you may think. But I maintain that it's a good idea. And the reason for this is eventually you will run out of spells. And while, yes, you could say, well, you have the melee touch attack that's an infinite use cantrip called Touch of Fatigue, which is a staple. And sure, you can do that. And again, you get back to 2 attacks. But if you're doing that, the Touch of Fatigue is probably not landing as far as, like it's like a fortitude save. So even if it does, it's like a -2 to strength and dex. And while that is helpful, I will admit, it's not that impressive. So again, switching to weapon and weapon is still a solid choice. And there's reasons that it's better than you think. You'll see that in a bit. Notice here at 9, instead of getting improved weapon fighting as soon as possible, we have improved critical Kukri. Now this, I think, was the earliest we could pick this one up. If not, it was here at level 7, but I'd rather have the 2-weapon fighting before. Now, what does this one do for us? Improved critical kukri literally takes the crit range of the weapon, which is 18, 19, 20, which is the best crit range in the game, unaltered. Altered is if it's a keen weapon, it's double. Or in this case, if you have improved critical, it's double. They don't stack, so it's either a keen weapon or you use improved critical, not both. But again, this is the double range, so 15 to 20, and that is the best crit range in the game. This was part of the reason we wanted kukri, not just that they were light, but because they were the best crit range in the game. That's a solid upgrade for us. So this is going to be for any kukri we put in our hands, whether they're keen or not, we're guaranteed to have the highest crit range possible. Solid choice, you can see the appeal. Level 11, you'll notice we have double slice. Again, we waited to grab improved 2-weapon fighting at the same time we grabbed double slice. Why? Because they work well together. What does double slice do for us? Notice this is misleading, and this is another part of the problem and confusion of these builds. Double slice, people are like, why do you pick this? This is garbage. This is a dumb idea. You should be using something that gives you your dex bonuses back. It doesn't do that. It does do it for one of the builds. I'll explain why later. But it does help for this build and for the Vivisectionist, and let me explain why. What this does is it will take your strength modifier, which right now is +0, but that's just right now. With gear, it's going to be much better. It will allow you to get the full amount of that strength modifier on both weapons. So right now it's looking like shit, but that's because we haven't buffed up with like a strength belt or a bull strength spell, something that would make this a positive number, and a very good positive number at that. Like a +5, I think, by the end of our build. So if we don't have double slice, what's going to happen? You'll see that the main weapon will get the +5, let's just say. The other weapon will get half of that rounded down. So half of 5 is 2.5, rounded down it's 2. So we lose 3 points of damage per swing. Now that's only 3 and 3. That's not the end of the world. So if double slice isn't your thing, feel free to swap that out and grab something else. But I maintain that I like the damage. The whole idea of the build was the kukris were going to be what's really pushing out the damage, not the spells through the kukri. So double slice was a solid choice for 2 of them for this reason. The other one is going to be awesome because it will work and it will get us the full dex modifier for both weapons for damage. I'll show you that and to prove it to you that it does work, but it is awesome. Again, this is why one of the builds is different than the others. And while I knew there was a reason I liked that build, I just couldn't articulate it properly a year ago when I was doing the previous video. But this is a solid upgrade. And just for frame of reference, that +5 for strength for the 2 builds is solid. The other build's going to be doing it off of dexterity, and the dexterity gets up to, I think, like a +9. And that's a +9 and a +9 for both weapons then, instead of a +9 and +4. Remember, it rounds down, so 4.5 would be rounded down to 4. And that's 5 points of damage lost per swing, and I just can't muster that shit. So again, double slice for 1, we decided to do double slice for all 3. That may be a terrible idea, but again, we're trying to do an apples to apples comparison. Notice, again, we grabbed improved weapon fighting. That gave us our second and only extra attack. Now, another argument that was made was why not go the high dex and low intelligence, like flip-flop the numbers, because again, if you had the higher dex, part of the things that keeps me from taking greater 2-weapon fighting was the fact that my dexterity was not 19. Now, first, be clear on this. With a belt, or any of your, like a ring, for example, something that increases your dexterity to 19 or higher, you can pick feats that require your dexterity being 19 or higher. I misquoted that a long time ago. I was going by pen and paper rules, and it turns out I was even wrong on that. We're doing house rules. We would never allow this in pen and paper D&D, where you're wearing like a belt of giant strength and suddenly you get power attack now because you've been training with only your belt on. Because the minute you take it off, your strength drops like a stone. So it's one of those, like, how the hell do you have power attack, but only when you're wearing this belt? It seems stupid to us. So we house ruled that shit so long ago that I forgot that it was a house rule. And again, I still maintain I don't like having characters that are dependent on gear to get specific feats. It seems weird to me. So again, I don't take a greater 2-weapon fighting a year ago because of that. I still don't take it today, even though I know that I can get around it with gear, because of another reason. The third swing is at another -5 penalty. It is a shit attack. You can see right now we're swinging at a +7. The other one's going to be a +7 then too. And sure, it's an extra attack. It may hit. I have ways to buff it up and make sure that it, or not make sure, but have a pretty good chance that it'll hit. It still seems weird to me to want to take greater 2-weapon fighting. I'm happy with 2. You may take 3. And again, if you wanted to take 3 and get rid of something like double slice, there you go. You have a chance to slop that one back out. But I maintain that improved two-weapon fighting is as high as I wanted to go, and I'm fine with that. Level 13, blind fight. This one at the previous video was like all the way at the goddamn end. This is a much more serviceable place to put it, in my opinion. Again, this is flexible. You don't need it here. It just, I like it, and I like it for what it does. Blind fight, for those that you don't know, when you have a concealment chance, which is like a blur effect, is a 20% miss chance, that's concealment. Invisibility or displacement is a 50% chance to miss the target. Again, that's total concealment, is what they call it in the game. We get to re-roll those dice, so you roll twice and take the better of the two results. So if you miss it on the first roll, it rolls it again and says, well, that's what you got, whether you pass or fail it. So if it passes on either of those rolls, you hit the target. Well, you have the potential to hit the target, say it that way. So there is that, and that's a really nice double chance to hit a target, if you will. I dig that. And this part here is really, really nice too, where basically an invisible attacker that's meleeing you, they don't get to screw you out of your dex bonus. Remember that dex bonus also includes, I believe, our candy defense bonus. So you can see we get flat-footed by being attacked by an invisible character. And you can see flat-footed is our worst armor category and will remain so for all three characters. So this is a bad, bad thing. So we really want to make that go away. This is a solid way around that problem. Of course, see invisible as a spell or true sight as a spell are all solid options, but those are late game too. So again, I like having something that's always on. Also, and this can't be stressed enough, this last part here, this very last sentence, you also gain immunity to gaze attacks. If you're doing a solo build, if you don't have, be real clear, you don't need it. But if you don't have this, you better have either a shit ton of pets to summon or the ability to like nuke, like orbital strike a goddamn area like a sorcerer or wizard can. If you can't, soloing this game is going to be damn near impossible for you. It's really, really tough to beat some of the bad guys at the end of the game if you don't have this last little sentence on your build somewhere. Again, you don't need it, but if you're going solo, it's really, really helpful. So all my builds try to get blind fight, at least by the end of the build, because again, like I said, it's definitely useful at the end of the game. It's useful other places too, but by and large, the end of the game will fuck you over if you don't have the immunity to gaze attacks or the ability, like I said, to summon a shit ton of pets and just like flood an area with bad guys that way. But blind fight is a solid choice, and we've moved it up because I also know that right around this level, we're fighting like spiders that have a lot of, I think they're called phase spiders, where they have a lot of blur effects or displacement effects on, and that double chance to roll is invaluable. Otherwise you're whiffing, and you just can't hit those little fuckers. Even with a full team, you're just like, fucking die already. And you end up defaulting back to attacking with spells that are like auto hit. You know, like magic missile or bone shaker, bone shatter, stuff of that nature. Fireballs just do the area of effect to hit the little sons of bitches because it gets annoying real fast. And there's a goddamn lot of them. So that's what we got here at 13. Notice at 15, we got something that's unique to this build. The other two don't get this, and it's because this guy gets Sword Saint levels this high. One of the selling points for Sword Saint, for those of you that don't know, and Magus in general, is this level 7 feat for Sword Saints. It's level 10 for all the other Magus. It's called Fighter Training, which means for the other builds, for the other Magus builds, at level 10, they can consider their Magus level as half of their Magus level as fighter levels. So at level 10, they're considered level 5 fighters. Level 20, they're considered level 10 fighters. You get the idea. Why is that important? Because there's feats like this one that are hidden behind a wall of fighter level 4, fighter level 6, 8, 12, etc. and so forth. Well, this particular feat, this penetrating strikes, was hidden behind a wall of fighter level 12. So no other Magus can get this, a Purist anyway, except for a Sword Saint. And it's because of this ability for them, starts at 7, and instead of it being half of their Sword Saint levels, it's their Sword Saint level -3 in fighter levels. So at level 7, they're considered a level 4 fighter, you understand? And at level 15, then that means that they're a level 12 fighter as far as the requirement for feat requirements. So here is where Penetrating Strike kicks in. And that's for any weapon you wield that you have weapon focus in. And again, you ignore 5 points of the enemy's damage reduction. So if they have, for example, Stone Skin on, which is DR10/adamantine, I don't need adamantine Kukris. Why? Because I have penetrating strikes. If I do that, then instead of it being DR10, it's DR5. Remember, it lowers it by 5, period. And while that is nice and definitely helpful, and you will feel it, There'll be slogs in the game where you're like, I'm just like, kicking ass. I'm kicking ass. My tune can't be stopped. And then you come across some guys that have some serious DR, like not just 10, like 21 DR, and you're like, I can't even barely fucking scratch these pricks. What the hell? And then you rely on spells and just bum rushing them with the team and whatever, and it's fine, but it sucks. This makes that go away a lot. Okay, and there's an upgrade from that, another difference in this build compared to the one I did a year ago. But this was in the original build a year ago. Then we went weapon specialization kukri, just like we did a year ago, +2. We did not get the greater weapon specialization. As I said, we swapped that out for arcane strike because it's better. And I think that's a solid upgrade, and I don't think anyone's going to quibble over that. But this is still now a +2 to your damage, again, with kukris, so that gets factored in as well. So now I'm at to like +7 by the end of the build, just because of those 2 feats. So that's pretty nice. And then you add Piranha Strike, it gets even better. And then at 17, we also pick up Improved Blind Fight. This was also in the previous build. This is the only one of the 3 builds that gets Improved Blind Fight. And this one's just a little bit more flavor. Again, it's not necessary, so if you don't want this one, you wanted something else like that greater 2-weapon fighting, hey man, do that shit, I'm not going to stop you. But this is nice for the reason that invisible attackers at range within 30 feet don't get to keep you flat-footed. It's another bonus, especially if you're trying to run solo. And notice this next part. Your melee attacks ignore the chance to miss for less than total concealment. That is saying if they have blur, 20% chance to miss. That's partial concealment. 20% chance to miss is not an issue anymore. We straight up ignore that buff for the bad guys. So that's a solid screw you to the bad guys. And we still get to re-roll for total concealment. So none of that's changed. So if they have 50%, invisible or displacement on, for example, we roll twice. And if either of them beat 50, which is you have to roll on 1d100. If you beat 50, which is 51 on up to 100, then you hit them like normal. So again, you can see the appeal. But it's really this next part though. The attackers within 30 feet still don't get to catch us flat-footed and all that jazz. And again, we still have the benefits of blind fight, which was the immunity to gaze attacks. None of that's changed. So that's a nice little addition in my opinion. But again, isn't necessary. The last one that was a change is we got greater penetrating strike. Okay, and that's another upgrade. So just again, another reason I love the Sword Saint. You can only pick it up here because it requires you to be a fighter level 16. And look at 19 minus 3, 16. So that's why shuffling stuff around makes sense. Because again, this allowed me to pick this up, which I did not have in the previous build. Now instead of ignoring 10 or 5, we ignore 10. So like again, if they cast Stone Skin on themselves, where it's DR10/adamantine, they ain't even got it anymore against this character. I just choppity right through them. And while that's helpful, certainly when it's get to those guys again, like there's trolls that, like I said, that have a DR of 21, little fuckers, and I don't even know how you penetrate it other than just hit them harder. So doing something like this, DR 21 is dropped down now to 11. It's still bad, but by that point you're still doing Ginsu Chef like no one's business. You will cut through them. It just takes a little longer than normal, but compared to anyone else that doesn't have this, they get boned. And this is really, really nice then for you. And again, that's this build. Now, of course, the last thing to talk about before we talk about the other builds, and then, of course, gear and spell picks and all that fun jazz, is these upgrades here. This is the only other thing that differs between the builds. Arcane Accuracy. This is a Magus Arcana that we unlock. And just as a little side note, some people have been pointing out in the videos, I don't have access to this one or that one. And I come to realize why. Someone else had just posted recently that they've been having issues with my builds because they realize they don't have all the DLCs that I have. So it's the vanilla version of the game, just so we're clear, but with all the DLCs too. Paid, you got to pay for all the DLCs. And again, I think, I'm fairly certain that on the Xbox, or whatever the hell it's on the consoles, let's say it that way, you have the ability to buy the DLCs. I recommend you do so. It adds a lot more to the game, not a ton, but if you see differences between when I say this is an unmodded video and this one definitely is, and you don't see stuff, it's because you don't have all the DLCs. Okay? Arcane Accuracy, those should be in your vanilla version of the game. The one that's missing was the buffs that like are extend magic, maximize magic, and things of this nature. And again, you will see this in today's video. So again, just to give you some forewarning here. But Arcane Accuracy is a nice buff. I like this one at level 3 because this will take your intelligence modifier, which again by the end of our build will be plus 13 with gear, and add it to our swings, our attack bonuses for one entire round. Now it takes us to use one of our arcane pool points to do this, but we'll have a bunch, and this build alone will have the best number of arcane pull points because it's tied to your intelligence modifier as well as half your magus level. So we're level 20, we're getting 10 plus our intelligence modifier, which will be another 13. So we'll have 23 on this build. The other guys, not so much. They'll have 13 plus 6, I want to say, so 19. Still not horrible. It's just not quite as cool as this guy. And again, you will burn through these pretty goddamn fast. These are like Skittles. You just like chewing them like there's no one business. But this is only when you really need it. Like you're whiffing left and right and you don't know what to do. Arcane accuracy. Just one click and you're done. For one round and one round only, you're swinging at eventually a plus 13 for all your attacks. And that's both weapons. So again, another reason for wanting the two-weapon fighting. So a really nice upgrade. Then all of the builds, because one of the builds besides this one will get arcane accuracy, someone will get something different just to show you some different flavor that you can have. All the builds will get prescient attack, specifically because for these guys it really helps making targets flat-footed, which is what this does as a swift action. Again, using up your pool points here for one round each time you click it. But for all your attacks in that one round, the target's flat-footed. That's fucking awesome. That's an amazing fuck you for your ability to hit them, because it lowers their dex/dodge. So look at the armor classes that we have down here. If I'm swinging like at a target like this, but now I catch them flat-footed and this is what it drops to, you can see the appeal. Now, not everyone's going to be a high dex/dodging build that you're fighting. Some bad guys are going to be like full plate mail and have like a dexterity of 8. So they'll have no dodge. So their flat-footed armor will be equal to their actual armor class. So this would be a terrible idea for those guys, if not for the fact that it still sets them up as being flat-footed, so the sneak attack potential is still there. And this guy does get something similar. It's not sneak attack, but it helps if they're flat-footed. It's this ability here called lethal focus. This adds my intelligence modifier back to my damage with my chosen weapon, but only if the target's flat-footed. So flat-footed was still needed for this build, just like these sneak attack bastards. And this is something that he gets that these guys don't. This is another reason when people bitch about how my dexterity could have been adding to so much more damage with my weapon of choice instead of having such a high intelligence, that I'm like, I'm not too worried about it. It's because of this. And yes, I'm aware that this doesn't work all the time because, again, you have to set up the flat-footed. Whereas if you had a high dex build, period, it's always there. I understand that. But my point is that I'm still getting back to close to approximately what you were saying, and I still get all my cool-ass spells. That's another reason why I say that I don't mind going slightly, and I can't emphasize that enough, slightly subpar for the dexterity compared to the intelligence, okay? But prescient attack, all of them get, and again, it's to set up that flat-footedness, as well as, of course, hit those targets that are high dexters. Honestly, though, this one, this arcane accuracy one we just talked about, is superior in almost every way, because the chances someone's going to have a dex modifier of 13 plus to make it the equivalent of you doing this is pretty slim. I'm sure it exists. Hell, Knock's got like a dexterity of like 30 something when you pick him up in the first damn place. I think it's even higher than that by the end of the build. So, there are bad guys in the game that'll have a dexterity of like 40 or so. So it's not unheard of, is my point. But it's still one of those where it's going to be fucking rare. This, though, is a solid, again, I equate the difference between these two would be this debuffs the bad guy, this buffs you. Which would you rather have? The one that you know what it's going to do, or the one that you're kind of hoping that it does what you want? Again, with a little planning, you'll know which is the one to click. But again, prescient attack, being that it sets up the flat-footedness, as again, we need it for that, and for their sneak attack, this would be superior. But if you just need to hit the target, sometimes you just need to kill some shit. Arcane accuracy is your go-to. It's your bread and butter, right? And then over here, this one is free for everybody. Over here, we grab Ghost Blade. And again, these guys don't pick this one up for two reasons. One of them will not get Enduring Blade, and if you're not getting Enduring Blade, I rarely pick up stuff like Ghost Blade. The other is Ghost Blade is 2 buffs in one. Well, sort of. By picking it, you get the Ghost Touch ability you can add to your weapon, as well as the Bring Energy buff you can add to your weapon. Now, the downside of that is anyone that doesn't go 13 levels of Sword Saint, which these two don't, will not be able to use the Brilliant Energy. Why? Because it requires the +4 arcane weapon enhancement, because it takes your +4s away. I'll show you how all that works, because this is, again, is another confusing thing about buffing your weapon. And again, when you're 2-weapon fighting, when you buff your weapon, you are buffing your primary weapon. That is important that we understand that, okay? I'll explain all that again later. But Ghost Blade, for this character, he is going to get all the way to the +4. Hell, he'll get all the way to the +5. So Brilliant Energy is a major buff for him. This is another reason that he's better than these two characters by a lot, is that Brilliant Energy doesn't work on everything. It basically takes away their armor class here, not flat-footed. It takes away their armor class and their shield armor class, really making it like a touch attack. So again, if they have like full plate mail on and like a sword and board, activating a Brilliant Energy buff and choppy right through it like it's butter is ridiculous. It's fucking awesome. And it doesn't work on everything. It doesn't work on undead, it doesn't work on constructs, and it doesn't work on objects. But as long as it's not those three things, feel free to use Brilliant Energy buff on your weapon. You will Ginsu Chef like no one's business. Not for both attacks, but just the main hand. But that's still awesome. And while you can find weapons in the game that are Brilliant Energy, none of them are Kukris, which is a bummer, but this is another bonus then for us. So I said, fuck it, I want it on this character. Then, the one that the other guys are definitely not going to get, because this only shows up at level 15. So these guys aren't going to pick this up at all, because they don't get this high in Sword Saint. Baneblade. And this, again, is another reason that he's way better than these guys. This is the ability to make the weapon, the main weapon, a +2 weapon, which means +2 better swing, +2 extra damage, but it gets even better than that. Any strike against a target, it's considered a Bane target, which means another 2d6 of damage on top of that. So you'll see it doesn't catch up down here, but when you're actually fighting, you will actually see the 2d6 fire off, and it's force damage, which means it's not resisted. It's just going to be hitting the target, because that's what a Bane weapon does. So there is no, as far as I know, immunity in the game that protects you against the Bane component. So even if you hit them and they're immune to all this physical damage, maybe you turn it as a flaming weapon of frost and shock damage too, and they're immune to all that shit too. If you got Bane on there, the 2d6 should still land. It's not amazing compared to what you could have done, but it's better than 0. And again, this is why I like the Baneblade. And again, the +2 to the swing can't be discounted. That's a really nice buff for him. And reasonably cheap to buff your weapon that way. Last one he picked, of course, was very late in the game. For a Sword Saint, this almost can't be helped because all the other stuff is preferential. The soonest I could have picked this Enduring Blade up was here. And notice that there's not one here. You see that they're staggered by 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and they give you this one early because then this one's here. So it should have been here, then 1, 2, 3, there should have been another one in here somewhere. But again, that's for the other Magus, not a Sword Saint. So Sword Saints get screwed because they get Lightning Draw, which is still a solid upgrade, and again, another reason that I don't mind having a higher intelligence than Dex. Because combined, by the time I get to level 7, my initiative rolls are just as good as yours. So if you went higher Dex, less intelligence, flip-flopped them, again, if you went with this build, we would still end with the same initiative. Okay, so just another difference here. But I do like Enduring Blade because it allows me to click my weapon, and instead of it being a 1-minute buff every time I click it, it's now 1 minute per character level, or Sword Saint level, excuse me. So I can actually get it by the end of the build to be a 20-minute buff. So it's like set it and forget it. Just turn it on, get the Bane, get the Brilliant Energy, get the speed weapon, whatever it is you want. Buff that main weapon, click it, boom, shut them all off again, and you'll have that buff on your weapon for 20 goddamn minutes. That's a nice buff for your fights, because 20 minutes is most of the dungeon, if not all the goddamn dungeons in most cases. So that's a nice upgrade, and something that one of these guys get, another one doesn't, because it just couldn't fit into their build. And that's the difference between them. The other difference, just to point out, the fact that these guys are only going to get 12 levels of Sword Saint. We already pointed out the lethal focus, so these guys aren't going to get this, but again, they're going to get sneak attack damage. They're not going to care. But remember, this is my intelligence modifier added to damage, kind of like it's sneak attack. If they're flat-footed, I get this intelligence modifier 8, eventually 13, added to my damage for my weapons, both sets of weapons, which is pretty badass. So that's a plus 13 damage coming through. Now think about what I just said, plus 13 damage if they're flat-footed. So you're going to want to do invis, you're going to want to do flanking, you're going to want to do all the shit that these guys are going to do to set up flat-footedness, hence the need for things like prescient attack, etc. and so forth. But this really adds a lot of bang for your buck. And to put it into perspective, this character gets 5d6 of sneak attack damage by the end of her build. Okay, and if she catches them flat-footed too, like say using prescient attack, she'll get that 5d6 of damage for all her 5 attacks, just like he gets for his 5 attacks. So what will that be on average? So take 5d6, 5 is the lowest you can roll, 30 is the highest you can roll. Add those two numbers together, that's 35. Now divide by 2. That's your average sneak attack damage. Okay, so what does that turn out to? Like 17.5? Yes, that's better than 13, but 13's guaranteed. See that? The 17.5 is an average. Could she roll 30? Hell yeah. Could she roll 6 or 5? Yeah. And again, you can see the problem here. So it's unreliable. You want that sneak attack, and you sneak attack, 5 damage. Fuck. But again, him, 13 every time. 13 every time. 13. It's going to come through, which is kind of cool. It's not amazing, but it keeps him competitive is my point. And again, I kind of dig that part. He's also going to get the +4, +5 weapon upgrade, where they'll be stuck at +3. He also gets a greater spell combat. That's just another +2 bonus to his concentration checks when he's casting spells if he gets interrupted. This could be something that you do to prevent being interrupted. Concentration check. So he's at a little bit of an advantage there. It's not that big of a deal. He gets counter strike. This one's at least useful, and he's on top of an enemy that's trying to cast a spell defensively, like a wizard, a cleric, whatever. If he bum rushes those bastards, and they're trying to cast like shield spell or whatever, I'll get an attack of opportunity on the son of a bitch for daring to cast a spell near me, which is fucking cool. And I thought that was pretty slick. It's like, oh, nope, sorry, you don't get to buff yourself, which is kind of badass. He also gets these last 2 abilities, and I can't stress the importance of these enough. Watch this, that he really shines on compared to these 2 guys. At level 19, all Sword Saints get the ability to naturally roll a 20 every time for their initiative. Now remember, our initiative is also based on not only our dex modifier, but also our intelligence modifier. So we're not only getting this 20, but right now I'm getting another 13 on top of it. And if when we buff with gear, this will actually go up to a solid, see, this will be a 13, and I think this is like a 9. So it'll be another 22. So we'll guarantee like our initiative roll will be like a 42 every goddamn time. Now, that doesn't guarantee you will be first, but you're going to be high on that fucking totem pole. And yes, the bad guys can still surprise you. Nothing's stopping that. But barring that very first surprise round, you get probably the best chance in the game of just making sure that your initiative is going to be you. You're first or second or third on that list, which is pretty badass. And again, something these guys don't get. Again, yes, they could roll a 20, but they still have to roll. We don't have to roll anymore. And at level 20, this is the real reason you love Sword Saint. Instead of getting the true Magus ability, which all Magus get, which is like a +2 to your swing, or a +2 to your DC of your spell checks, or a +2 to your spell pin, which is a toggle they get to activate, one of those 3. Sword Saints don't get that toggle. Instead, they get weapon mastery, which means, you gotta love this, for the weapon of choice, which is our Kukri with that high crit range, remember? We automatically confirm all crits. That's only at level 20, so it's, well, for some people at the end of the game. For you going a solo build, you'll be at 20 by the time you get to Pitax. You will be crushing shit. Like when you crit, it's guaranteed crit. Like it's not roll again to see if you nope, it's confirmed. So you'll be a critting motherfucker by the end of this build. And then it gets even better. Any weapon you have in your hand gets a bonus multiplier. So with our weapon of choice, which again is Kukri. Normally a Kukri crits on a natural ×2. When it crits, it doubles the damage. Because we have this ability, you see we're at ×3. See that? And again, it says it in the tooltip. But this is where it gets really fucking cool. The best Kukris that you're going to find do retarded damage. They're +5 Kukris. They're like Weasel's Bite and Weasel's Claw. I'll show them to you. But they have a ×3 modifier by default, which means at level 20 for him, his will be ×4. Again, these guys will be critting at ×3 because that's what it's set for those weapons. They'll use those weapons too. But his will be ×4. So when he crits, he does 4 times the fucking damage. And he crits a goddamn lot, which is why he's cool. And again, I maintain this is a solid choice. Again, people will be like, well, you don't get to channel 3 weapon. Again, I'm going to show you a trick. But know that you can also, for those of you whining, you can switch back to 1 weapon. There is nothing stopping you from taking of your 4 weapon choices. Remember, you have 4 slots. Have one of your best weapons, not obviously any of those Weasel ones, but there's another solid +4 one in the game, and I'll show that to you. Feel free to equip that in one hand and leave your other hand empty. Switch to that when you're using your spells, because you know you're going to do that little trick where you cast your spell into your weapon, then choppy. You'll still get 4 fucking attacks. That's awesome. 5 if you use a speed weapon, or if you use haste on yourself. That's pretty fucking good. And again, I'm at 5 right now. Yes, I can get to 6 with a haste spell or a speed weapon. But again, the point's still the same. You can be competitive, but you're going to run out of fucking spells. And yes, you may say, well, I have touch attack. Again, they're touch of fatigue, infinite use cantrip. Sure, but it's crap. Why wouldn't you just rather go back to having 5 guaranteed attacks again this way without having to cast a fucking spell and risking being interrupted and all the other ignorant shit that goes along with it? Just say, fuck it. Switch to your 2 best Kukris, your Weasel Bite, your Weasel Claw, and choppity, baby. It's going to be fun. And again, I think you will realize that this is a solid choice. But again, everybody's different on that. And this, to me, the dual weapon builds are for people that are going to pre-buff up. So you're not using your spells in combat to channel into weapons or cast Fireball. You can still do that thing, but in your case, you'll be literally buffing up Shield Spell, Expeditious Retreat, Blur, Invisible, Greater Invis, Displacement, whatever you did, you do Stone Skin. Buff yourself up to the fucking nines, go into battle like some crazy Ginsu chef, and choppity. You'll have all kinds of fun with this build. Okay, so that's how he differs in one of the obvious ways. We'll talk about spells at the end because we'll do all three at the same time. For her, this is the Sword Saint Vivisectionist. Again, when I did the math on her a year ago, she's come out on top when she was doing sneak attack stuff. Because again, 5d6 of sneak attack. Again, you can see the average on that build. We already talked about it in this video. She, on average, will do more damage than him with sneak attack with a flat-footed opponent. But on average, remember his is always a stationary number. Hers is fluctuates on the whims of the dice. So that's always going to be a thing. But 5d6 is 5d6, and that shit gets nice real quick. She gets 2d6 very quickly, 3d6 actually quite quickly because she gets the accomplished sneak attacker as well, which is how she manages to get to 5 altogether. The way we start this build out is we do Sword Saint first level to unlock the chosen weapon. Notice again we get Weapon Finesse at level 1, our one and only feat pick. So she's able to Ginsu Chef already with that one kukri that she has in her hand. But then after level 1, we'll do 4 levels of Vivisectionist. Back to back, and then we'll do all the 9 or 11 more levels of Sword Saint, and then the last 4 levels again will be the last 4 levels of Vivisectionist. And there's a reason for all these. Again, it's a little weird that we're hopping around twice. Trust me when I say it'll make sense when we see the leveling process. So know that these first 4 levels here, 1, 2, 3, 4, will be at level 2, 3, 4, 5. These ones will be at 17, 18, 19, 20. So these last 4, again, you're not going to get until the very end. Again, I'll walk you through it. So how does she differ than the other besides the obvious weird dip? We start off with Weapon Finesse and, of course, our chosen weapon, which, again, will be Kukris. We still get Candy Defense, and, again, we're still the same Tiefling and same ability points. Skills will be slightly different, but it's not anything really to worry about. Notice at level 2 will actually be here. You will get a mutagen because you're going your first level of Vivisectionist. That's it. Another reason she's awesome. The ability to once a day chug a potion called a mutagen that gives her a +4 to one of her 3 stats of strength, dex, or con, as well as a +2 to armor. So you can see it over here, natural armor +2 mutagen. That's natural armor, not natural armor enhancement, natural armor. That's a solid buff. That's stacked with other natural armors, and it also stacks with natural armor enhancement. So that's a solid +2 to her armor. +4 technically because we increased her dexterity 4 points, which is why it's at a +7 instead of a +5 like you saw with his build. See that? +5. Hers is +7. This is how she beats out these guys for armor. This is helpful because she needs it because she's going to get caught flat-footed a lot. So you really need to have her have a high dexterity, a high initiative roll, and all that fun jazz. This is another way that she can get a little bit of loving in her direction. And again, that natural armor enhancement, that +2, that also kicks in over here in the flat-footed category. See that? So again, another reason that it's slightly better for her. And again, differences. But mutagen is a nice buff, and that's only 10 minutes a day per caster level of Vivisectionist. So notice that it's going to be 80 minutes max. That's an hour and 20 minutes. That's a solid buff by the end of the build, of course. Notice that she gets the ability to wear light armor, but she doesn't need to. And she shouldn't, because again, she's going to be a Sword Saint wearing light armor without the accompanied arcane blah-de-blah, I can't think of what it's called, arcane training for armor. She would have spell penalties, arcane spell failure for casting spells. And again, Sword Saints can wear light armor. Remember, the Candy Defense had specifically said when wearing light or no armor. So this is one of the differences that if you wanted to take one of the feats away and give her, say, that arcane armor training, I think it's the low level one, it would allow her to wear, I think, leather or anything that's a 10% arcane spell failure, let's just say it that way. So leathers, padded armor is probably the only category she'll get, with the rare chain shirt that's like a mithril chain shirt, because instead of being a -20 arcane spell failure, it'd be like -10 because it's mithril. So there are those exceptions to the rule, but that doesn't add a lot of survival to her. The robes are better, and so are the braces of armor class +8, which again all these characters will get. Again, we'll talk about gear at the end. But this is a nice upgrade for her. Throw anything is a little bonus for her. We don't really care. But if you ever throw like an acid flask or Alchemist Fire, it is a +1 to your chance to hit. Well, that's at least helpful. Notice she gets her first sneak attack die right at level 2. So again, compared to him, already she's setting up some nice damage. And again, because at level 2 she gets that, then at level 3 you can see we can pick up now Accomplished Sneak Attacker. So now we're at 2d6 by level 3. And that's real early in the game. You've beaten the tutorial, you've beaten Old Legs, the bad guys at Old Legs, and you probably fought Tartuccio for the first time. And now you're level 3, or just before you get to Tartuccio, you're level 3. Maybe you hit someone on the open road and that was enough to push you up and over. This is nice. It's a nice little upgrade for your character. And again, 2d6 of damage is really nice. Again, you can't rely on it because you need to set up flanking or sneak attack, but right now you're probably still with a party. You don't start soloing, in my opinion, for any of these characters until after you get to about level 3, maybe even level 4 if you really are worried. But once you get to level 4, you can start sowing your oats and feeling your Wheaties, so to speak. And again, she'll be really, really good by the time you get to level 4, in my opinion. What happens at level 4 for her? So this is level 2. Here's level 3. Notice not only did she get Accomplished Sneak Attacker, she also gets a +2 to her saves against poison. Eventually it goes to a +4, and then finally +6 by the very end of the build. It's not amazing, but it's free. It's something that these guys didn't get. She doesn't get immunity, because she doesn't get high enough for that, but she gets a spell that allows her to be immune, and that's something these characters can't cast naturally, not without use magic device. Another difference that you're going to see with her is her spell repertoire is very versatile. But also at level 3, she gets to pick one of these things here that's called a Vivisectionist Discovery, or Medical Discovery, excuse me. These are a variety of things pop up, and we'll use these mostly for what's called combat tricks. So that's how we can get these extra combat feats down here, like the point-blank shot, double slice, and improved weapon fighting. Again, we'll talk about them when they show up. But this one is the one I recommended in the previous video, and I'm going to recommend it again still here. There's another choice called Enhanced Potion, and again, these unlock only if you have the right DLCs. So you may not see this in your vanilla playthrough, guys, if you don't have all the DLCs unlocked like I do. I bought this game in like early access because I loved it so damn much. So I had access to all the DLCs when they showed up. So that's why I have everything. Not that I wouldn't have paid for them. Extend Potion, though, is a solid upgrade. Literally, any potion she drinks at level 3 on up now, if it has a duration, 1 round, 1 minute, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever, it's double, period. Just by default. Fucking done. And that's awesome. That's an amazing little upgrade for her. And again, you'll be using potions like Shield of Faith. You'll be using potions like Mage Armor. You'll be using potions like Bark Skin early on to get you some extra armor, some extra protection, some extra whatever you need. The fact that they have a duration means now we can use them for twice as long. Saves on money. A difference between her and then the other characters. And that's pretty cool. The Enhanced Potion one was a possibility that I toyed around with in the previous video. I still went with Extend Potion. I still maintain this is your choice. But if you wanted to grab Enhanced Potion, I could see it. And let me explain what it does. Instead of just doubling the duration, what it does is it takes the caster level of the potion, because all potions, just like wands, just like scrolls, have a caster level preset to them. Caster level 1, caster level 3, caster level whatever the fuck it is. With Enhanced Potion, not this one, but Enhanced Potion now, it ignores the caster level of the actual potion and instead installs the caster level of the Vivisectionist. So in this case, by the end of the build, you can be casting potions as if you're caster level 8, period. So for some of those potions that are always like caster level 1 that are garbage, by the end of the build, the fact that they're caster level 8, that's some utility, that's some actual use out of them. But it's kind of lackluster. If I was going pure Vivisectionist, it'd be a different story. Enhanced Potion would be my go-to guaranteed, and Extend Potion would make the cut, but only later. But since we're only getting choice of one, I'll take one that's just a flat buff. And the reason for that is this. You think about that Shield of Faith, and you may say, well, that's caster level 1. It lasts for 1 minute. Well, if you're caster level 8, because of Enhanced Potion, now that's 8 minutes. That's way better than Extend Potion, Brother Mutant. Yes, that's true. However, what happens when you come up to a potion that's caster level 9? I don't know. I never tested it. I assume it goes back to being level 8. And if that's the case, that sucks. So I'm not going to try it. I'll just go with the one that I know is just a double duration to the buff. And it's a cheap and easy way to understand what it does. It's twice as effective. I like that. And I dig Extend Potion for that reason. So that's at level 3. What happens at level 4, though? Level 4, we get 2, 3, 4. We get our third. Yes, third. Remember, we got 1, 2, and then one way the hell up here. Sneak attack die. So at level 4, you're already up to 3d6 of damage. You're doing real well for yourself for damage. Don't kid yourself. This is a solid character now for doing some sneak attack love. And that's pretty badass. And that's all you're getting here. Level 5, not only do we get Arcane Strike, just like we saw in the other build. Again, in the previous video, this character did not get Arcane Strike. Again, I had 2 feats. One was called Critical Focus, and I think this one got like Blinding Focus or Staggering Focus, or Blinding Critical or Staggering Critical, something like that, for the other feats. So there's 2 feats that are not in this build that were in the build a year ago. Arcane Strike is now a replacement, and again, I maintain that's a solid choice. 5 extra damage, and for whatever reason, it says it's per caster level. She's caster level 12 and she's caster level 8. I guess it's combining them because she is at +5. It shouldn't be. I think she should be at like +3, but I ain't gonna fucking quibble. I'll happily take a +5 over a +3. So, and that's the same with this character too. So again, I'm happy with that. I don't know why that is. I think the tooltip might just be wrong. Instead of it being every 5 caster levels, I think it's literally, well, no, I take that back. I think it might be because we're combining the two. 12 and 8 is 20 caster levels, technically speaking. So the game is doing what it's probably supposed to do. But I still maintain that's probably a typo. But that's what we're grabbing here at 5, and that's the last level of Vivisectionist for a while. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this would be level 5. And you're going to also pick up Point Blank Shot. Now the difference between these 2 characters and this one, they're still going to get the 2-weapon fighting. Because of their sneak attack, there became another possibility. And again, this was in the previous video as well. Let me explain the rationale. Because we have access to our fighter feats, as you're going to see here with fighter training, the Magus is very appealing because, again, there's a really cool fighter feat that I like called Point Blank Master. It allows you to shoot whatever ranged weapon we're talking about, in this case, ray spells, at point blank range without provoking an attack of opportunity. For frame of reference, if you wanted to be, say, like Legolas from Lord of the Rings, where you're like shooting orcs at fucking point blank range right in the goddamn throat, and they don't even get to swing at them, that's what Point Blank Master is. But obviously for longbow, we're not doing that. We're going to do it for ray spells. Why? Because like I said, you're going to run out of fucking spells. But you'd still like to do some of that sneak attack damage, wouldn't you? How would you like to do it at point blank range with a ray spell? They both have access to Acid Splash, Ray of Frost, and Disrupt Undead. And because of her Eldritch Scoundrel background, she's going to, class dip, she's going to have access to Jolt as well. So she has 4 different ray spells that are infinite use. She'll have 3. And she can get, both those guys can get sneak attack on that. And again, it can be at range, it can be at point blank range. But I don't like being stabbed in the face for doing it. So here's a chance for them to go pew, ray spell to the face, and then stabby, stabby, stabby with 1 weapon in their hand. And you'll see the appeal here. And again, very, very cool. Adds to her output. Another attack around. Certainly you can see the appeal here. So to do it, you need Point Blank Shot, Precise Shot, Weapon Focus Ray, Weapon Specialization Ray, which is a fighter feat requirement, and then Point Blank Master Ray. That's a lot of shit. That's 5 feats that you need to pick up to do what we need to do here. I'm cool with that, and that's what we did in the previous build a year ago. That's what we're going to do now. So here's Point Blank Shot, +1 to their attack and damage on ranged weapons, obviously ray spells, up to 30 feet away, which is most of their ray spells, by the way. So that's pretty cool. And that's where we stop for Vivisectionist for a while. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 levels into Vivisectionist. This will be level 5. So here at level 5, now we can go back to Sword Saint. Okay, so here's level 2 Sword Saint, all the way here at level 6. Way behind, so we're way behind the curve. So it will feel different than this guy. So now we can actually do Spell Strike, where we channel stuff into our Kukri, and choppy. And remember, she has 2 different spell books already now. The Vivisectionist spell book, which is already up to level 2. I said there's another reason to go 4 levels in. That's the other reason. And then this character here now has is continuing to work on her Sword Saint spell book. So again, here's level 6, like I said, we'll get Spell Strike. Level 7, we'll get not only Piranha Strike. Again, this guy got it. She's going to get it. It's a solid buff for those light weapons. And as long as you're weapon finessing them, which of course we're doing so, a -1 to your swing for a +2 to your damage. And that works for both when you're 2-weapon fighting. So as you'll see, she gets to be pretty badass with her choppity-choppities. But that's nice. And that's level 7, so here. And we're also picking up Wand Master. We'll go over these ones at the end, so let's just keep it to the feats. So that's 7. Level 8, which would be 4. We'll have Unlocked Perfect Strike, something I don't usually use. There's some fun to be had here. Most people swear by the chance to confirm a critical hit, where if you activate 2 pool points, you leave this toggle running. What happens is the crit range, instead of being ×2, it goes to ×3. But remember, with the Purist Sword Saint, his ×2 goes to ×3 by default at level 20. Having this on means his ×3 goes to ×4. If I'm using the best weapons, which are the ×3 Weasel weapons, His ×3 weasel weapons are ×4 for him in his little hands by default. Activate this goddamn thing, and when he crits, it burns up 2 points when he crits, but when he does, he crits for 5 times the goddamn damage. I don't use this as much as I should. Matter of fact, I don't like using it because, again, if you're not paying attention to your crit-heavy build like he is, you will crit and chew through these pool points like no one's business, because it uses 2 every time you crit. You just leave the toggle run. It's like crit, 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 2 points lower, 2 points lower, 2 points lower, and you just chew them to the point where you ain't got nothing. But if you need to just put a whooping on a target, hey man, 5 times the fucking damage is 5 times the fucking damage. That shit will just kill shit fast. So there is some fun to have there. I don't use it as much as I should. Level 9, we get weapon focus ray, as you can see, but here's also, see here, we unlock not only weapon focus ray, but we also unlock precise shot. Now we can actually shoot into melee, again, even if it's point blank shot, without that -4 penalty. The downside is it's still provoking an attack of opportunity. So if we're in melee range and shooting them in the face with like snowball spell, pow, solid spell, these fuckers are going to swing at me besides because it's an attack of opportunity for them. But we're about ready to make that go away. So that's at level 9. And then at level 10, nothing shows up here, but go back 4 levels. This would be what we unlock at this point. Again, we'll talk about it later. Then at level 11, we get weapon specialization ray. Why so late? Because 4 levels of delayed thanks to Vivisectionist means that level 11 means we're a level 7 Sword Saint. And we needed to be fighter training to unlock weapon specialization ray. So that's the soonest we can get it. We also, of course, get our lightning draw. That's by default. And our intelligence modifier and our dex modifier combine to give us a better initiative roll. And again, remember, her dexterity can be better than both of these characters thanks to that damn mutagen. That's really, really nice. So that's nice. And now that's weapon specialization. Now the downside of weapon specialization rate, just before you start bitching, this does not work. Feel free to say something that does that. It should be easy to fix. It pisses me off it doesn't work because I invested in that shit. That's a +2 damage. It's not amazing, but I'm missing it now, and it fucking sucks. And if you can get a point blank shot to work on ray spells, because it's a +1 to the swing and a +1 to the damage, and the damage does get a +1, then certainly they could get weapon specialization ray to work. Just no one has said anything. Feel free to say something to them. Because if you're going to invest in that shit, it should at least fucking work. End rant. But that's, again, needed though to unlock Point Blank Master, which is coming next. So again, that's level 11. Level 12, nothing here, but go back 4 levels. We'll suddenly have improved spell combat, another bonus to our concentration checks. No big deal. Level 13, we're getting Point Blank Master Ray now. Okay? And again, it'll say Point Blank Master. It'll open up and it'll say any ranged weapons that you have weapon specialization and weapon focus in. The only ones that we have is ray spells, so it'll be the only one on the list. Click it, and now you can literally, with impunity, ray spell in the face at point blank range, and that's fucking nice. And that's level 13, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're also unlocking Arcane Weapon +3. This is where you get your speed weapon. Conveniently, it also takes 3 of these points away to activate the speed weapon. Again, up to you if you want to use that or not. I'll show you how to do that shit, but it's not that critical. Haste spell is better in my opinion, but again, on you. But that's at level 13 that we unlock that. We also unlock critical perfection. Notice this part adds your intelligence modifier to critical hit confirmation rolls. They do at least get this. He got it too. Now he confirms crit at the end of his build. Until that time, though, this is a solid upgrade. And again, that intelligence modifier for all 3 builds is going to be a solid +13 by the end of the game. So a +13 on their chance to confirm crits means these little fuckers are probably confirming their crits a lot. Not as much as him, because he's auto-confirmed now, but until you get to 20, they're all going to be competitive. Okay, he gets this sooner, of course, because he's a purist, but these guys are delayed, but it's not that bad, and again, I appreciate that. And again, they're going to have the best crit weapons, that 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, so the chance of them trying to confirm a crit is pretty high, and then, of course, the chance to confirm it after that now is going to be even better, which you'll see that. But this is the other original of this. In addition, the Sword Saint may use their Magus levels in place of base attack bonuses to qualify for any feat, which is a prerequisite, which is, again, just like the fighter feat prerequisite shit. But for BAB, our BAB by the end of this build for all 3 builds is going to be 15 by level 20. But now, remember, like I said, if they're Sword Saint level 12, that's not their BAB. They're at level 12 Sword Saint. Like if he was a Purist, he'd be at a BAB of 9. But because of that feat, that little bastard right here, this little paragraph, he's technically at that point, he'd be considered, well, when does that show up for him? Level 9? He'd be a BAB of 6 right now, but he'd be treated as a BAB of 9. And then a BAB of 10, and on it goes for him. These guys would cap out at 12, so it's not that impressive because eventually they'll be at 15. But until that time, it is helpful. I just wanted to point that out. So that's 13. 14. Let's see, we get nothing here, and then at 10, again, nothing as well. So 15 will be our next milestone where we get Slashing Grace Kukri. And again, he had this. She will not get it because she has something better, but this is still needed. And again, remember, if you're not 2-weapon fighting, which right now, this character is not 2-weapon fighting. We have yet to unlock 2-weapon fighting for this character. They're using this. This is getting their dexterity modifier back in for their damage. Another way around this is have an agile weapon. So if she has an agile Kukri, there's only 2 in the game, she's fine. She doesn't need this. But you'll see that this is still helpful once we start doing things like double slice. So when she 2-weapons fights, this does help. Okay, and I can't stress enough that this was useful. So people are bitching about, you don't need Slashing Grace. Bullshit, you know. You're going to one-handed weapon swing. If you don't have an agile weapon, this gives you your dex modifier for damage. Certainly you can see that as being appealing, especially for someone that can buff her dex better than the other 2 characters by another 4 points, which is another +2 over here. That's free damage. Then when you switch to 2-weapon fighting, you lose it. And that's where people bitch, because there's like, oh, you're 2-weapon fighting. Slashing Grace is useless for 2-weapon fighting. It's not useless. You need double slice. It doesn't work for dexterity. It works for strength, and our strength is not going to be +0 all the time. It's going to be +5. And remember, just like we said for him, it'd be 5 and 5. If I don't have Slashing Grace and double slice, then instead of it being 5 and 5, the best case scenario would be like +5 and +2. So you want this, and you want double slice. So again, they do help. Now, where are we at? Where the hell was Slashing Grace? There, 15. So 15, also we would be unlocking superior reflexes. Making a number of attacks of opportunity based on our intelligence modifier, which is again fucking pimp. It would stack with combat reflexes, which again is a solid choice for those that wanted that. You could have done it for this build. I have yet to see a build where I needed so many attacks of opportunity, even on a team where I can scatter the bad guys with like fear spells and whatnot. The best I think I've ever seen one character ever unleash in a combat round is like 3. So the fact that we're going to get like 13 by this point, it's fine. Well, actually 14, 13 plus 1. Everybody gets 1 attack of opportunity in a combat round. With combat reflexes, you could use your dex modifier. With this, we use our intelligence modifier, which again is our best modifier. So again, I didn't need combat reflexes in my opinion. Your mileage again may vary, but I still maintain that it's not that cool. But that was at 15. Now at 16, this will be the last level of Sword Saint. So level 12 Sword Saint, okay? Notice nothing here, but if you go to 12, you're actually unlocking this. And again, I'll talk about that at the end. But that's where this caps out. We're finally done here. Notice, I should have pointed out, not only level 15, not only did you get superior reflexes, you also got improved critical Kukri. Sorry. I forgot about my free feats down here. Improved critical. Again, just like him, just like she's going to get. This is, again, what increases the crit range from 18, 19, 20 to a guaranteed 15 to 20. Doesn't have to be keen. It's built into the weapon. Until this time, you may say, well, now I need to find keen Kukris up until this point. That's a long road to hoe. That's not true. At here, when you unlock this, which again is level, not 5, but level 9, you have the ability to buff your weapon where you set it on fire, make it cold, blah, 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 but you can also make it a keen weapon for 1 minute at a time. So she has the ability to do that. He has that ability. She'll have that ability. That's something. It's not amazing, but you can do it, and recommend you do so until you actually unlock something like improved critical or find, again, a keen Kukri. They don't stack, so whichever works. But that's still a solid upgrade. So that's 16. Now we're done with Sword Saint. Now we do the last 4 levels of Vivisectionist, which starts at 17. 2-weapon fighting unlocks at this point. Now we're swinging 2 weapons. So again, you're probably swinging with a 2 and another one over here, maybe a 3 in one. So you got 3 attacks or 4 attacks by this point. And that's before you use a speed weapon or a haste spell on your character. That's solid. As well as a transformation spell. We'll talk about that later too. So really increasing your attack output a lot. 17 is a good choice for that. That is your 5th level then technically of Vivisectionist. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at this point you're getting another sneak attack die. So now you're up to 4d6. Remember it's 3 down here, but we got this one up here as well. So 4d6 of damage. Nice little jump for extra damage. And you got poison resistance now +4. Not amazing, but it's free. Hell, you'll take it. Level 18, we're not getting anything here, but again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. You get double slice. Okay, and this is a what's called a combat trick. Under the discoveries, you'll see combat trick, combat trick, combat trick. Combat trick for this one's double slice. Again, this is the one that's adding our strength modifier. Remember, she's not going to get her dex for both unless she's using agile weapons in both hands. Again, I will show you that shit. That's another reason for slashing grace, or double slice, sorry. Not slashing grace. Slashing grace for these two characters is only really useful for when they're one-hand weapon wield, but you still want it. For her, she's not getting slashing grace, she gets something that's better that you use when it's one-handed or two-handed, and I'll show you that to you. It's fucking awesome. But double slice is necessary, okay? So that was 18. At 19, you're getting blind fight, just like we kind of got for this guy. Now, in the previous video, I think I pushed blind fight all the way to the goddamn end, which was here. Again, this is your choice. I'd rather have blind fight sooner than get that second attack on my offhand weapon. But that's the last one. That's at level 20. So at 19, you're getting this, and you're also getting your last sneak attack die, so now you're up to 5d6. And then at level 20, when nothing shows up here, this is your level 20. You're getting +6 to your saving throws against poison. You're getting your last combat trick, which is improved weapon fighting. Now you finally have 3 and 2. Okay, that's this build. And again, remember, spells we'll talk about later. Sword Saint spells and Vivisectionist spells, which is pretty fucking baller. Now, Sword Saint Eldritch Scoundrel. This one starts off different. I did it wrong in this video, but I'm going to show you how to fix it. You should start with 1 level of Eldritch Scoundrel. Why? Because of this right here. You get weapon finesse for free. Okay. I didn't take it at level 1 here. I actually took Sword Saint level 1, and then I went Eldritch Scoundrel for 4 levels like a dumbass. You should go Eldritch Scoundrel 1 level to get this. You do not have a Kukri at this point. You will not be able to use a Kukri at this point. You will be able to use whatever weapon a Eldritch Scoundrel will wield, which for you is... They'll probably give you a rapier or a short sword. Either of those are weapon finessable, so the fact that they give you one at level 1, you're still swinging with a +3. So you're fine. Once you get to Oleg's, level 2, whenever that unlocks at Oleg's, you will go 1 level of Sword Saint, and you will pick for your chosen weapon Kukri. So again, you're fine at that point. You're back to using Kukris. You need to probably buy one from Oleg at that point to really benefit from it, and that's fine. You buy that Kukri, and you'll be good to go. And make sure to get that. And again, I suggest Masterwork, obviously. But you'll have that and all the stuff that's associated with this. So this Arcane Pool unlocks, blah, blah, blah. But notice at level 1, with her weapon finesse for free, she was able to pick point blank shot. So we got that one a little early. This doesn't have to be here. Some stuff can slop around a little bit. But I grabbed it early, said fuck it, want it. Because again, she's going to do the same trick that she does with the point blank master. Okay. So we need point blank shot. We need precise shot. We need weapon focus ray, weapon specialization ray, and then point blank master ray. That's 5 feats. This is one of them. But again, that's at level 2. Then at level 3, you're going to go back to Eldritch Scoundrel for 3 more levels. And again, there's a reason we're going 4 in before we switch back to Sword Saint. And again, it has to do with spells, and it has to do with some stuff we're unlocking. So at level 3, you're getting evasion for free, something that she has that these guys don't have. This is one of the other reasons she's awesome. She's going to feel extra tanky because of shit like this. Reflex saves, if she makes them, and she's going to have one of the best reflex saves in the game, well, compared to these two. She's going to be a solid contender for reflexes, and as such, if she makes the save, no damage. You can see the appeal. Now, level 3, she's also going to pick up Arcane Strike. Again, we saw that with the other builds. Again, a total of +5 damage by the end of the build for both weapons in both hands. So that's a solid upgrade for damage. And again, you'll appreciate that, I think. So this is another difference than what we had in the previous video a year ago. Okay. Then, let's see, that was at level 3. And level 4, nothing here, but level 4, 1, 2, 3, you'll get your first sneak attack die. It's late, but it's fine. There's no problem with this. She's not going to get many. She's only going to get a total of 3. 1, 2, and then an accomplished sneak attacker up above. So she's going to be kind of lackluster. That's why she's not as good as this character, in my opinion. She has a lot of bang for her buck besides. And part of that is this one here. Finesse Training. Kukri. Now I can tell you why she's awesome. So remember how these guys got Slash and Grace? That allows them to use for their Kukris, their dex modifier for damage when they're one-fisting it, right? That's what this does. It does so much more. Finesse Training, compared to, say, Slashing Grace, Kukri, or Fencing Grace, Rapier, for example, if you went Rapier, you could do that. We're going Kukris for obvious reasons. But if you get either of those, Fencing Grace or Slashing Grace, that's only one-handed, right? This one works two-handed. Basically what this does is, it's the equivalent of turning the weapon, whichever one we're talking about here, into agile weapons. Both of them. So with her 2 weapon wielding, she literally is going to get her massive dex modifier. Instead of this +5, the strength that these two are going to be stuck with, she's going to get like the +9 or +10 that she gets for her dex for her weapons. So she's going to be even better. She still needs double slice to do it. But this is amazing. Again, I'll show you how this works. But again, this is a solid upgrade. This is amazing for her. Another reason that I like her more than these characters, in my opinion. She'll get this danger sense bonus to dodge for reflexes for traps and a danger sense, so she gets to detect these, I think, a little sooner maybe, or some shit like that. But who gives a damn? This is garbage. It's free, but you'll take it, and it's not that big a deal. But that's level 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. Level 5, the last level of Eldritch Scoundrel for a while. We're going to get Accomplished Sneak Attacker. This is as soon as I can pick it up for you. So now she's at 2d6 of damage. Again, this is still early chapter 1. If you're soloing from, say, level 3 on, you won't beat the Stag Lord to level 8, just to give you some frame of reference here. Okay, so you just got plenty of time, and 2d6 of damage is 2d6 of extra damage. That's at level 5. That also unlocks 1, 2, 3, 4. This here, another reason why she's better than these guys, anytime she sneak attacks, it doesn't matter how she does it, with a ray spell, snowball spell, with her Kukris, she can set up one of these 3 things. She can either lower their speed by 5 feet, fuck that. She can literally do a -2 penalty to the target's attack rolls, -4 against her, and if she's running solo, that's like 4 extra fucking armor. You can see the appeal here. Doesn't get any better for her because she never gets to level 10, but for to pick this up at level, what's she at, 5 right now? This is a solid fuck you to the bad guy's attacks. This is a nice one to have. If you want to just be able to hit the target easier, you use this one. It's a -2 for everyone else to the bad guy's armor class, or for you, it's a -4, which I keep forgetting that part. So again, she's even better at chopping guys up. So she either has a -4 to their swing or a -4 to their armor, which is one of the two. You can only have one on at a time. Make your decision. Again, you could toggle between them as you see fit, but again, just pick something. And it only works when she sneak attacks, so again, that's the thing. But that can be with a ray spell. So you can set up a fight long distance, shoot him with like acid arrow, a long distance fucking ray spell, fucking shoot him in the face, sneak attack that shit. That bastard for 1 round is going to be screwed. So literally a solid screw you to the bad guys. And again, you'll really appreciate it. And it has an aura, like an effect that you see on the body when it kicks off that makes them look all squiggly and weird. I'll show it to you. But it's a solid fuck you. And then you'll love this. This is your last cool ability that she gets, in my opinion. Uncanny Dodge. This is, again, you have to pick it. It is a rogue talent. But this is an obvious. Why? Look what it does. You are not flat-footed anymore. Now, of course, with the exception of if you're paralyzed, you can still be flat-footed. You're immobilized, you're screwed. But unless that's the case, you're not flat-footed. So this armor, you can pretty much ignore it at this point. It's really your touch armor or your armor class at this point. So these are the 2 numbers you give a shit about. And we're going to make sure that both of these are reasonably good. This one will be better, obviously, but this one will still be a solid contender. This is why she's better than these 2 guys, in my opinion. She will be extremely tough. Between this, Uncanny Dodge, and Evasion, she's really tough. She doesn't look like it, and she's not going to do as much damage as these guys, but she can tank like no one's business if you build her the right way. And I thought you'd like that. Now, we're done with Eldritch Scoundrel after 4 levels of it. Of course, we have 1 level of Sword Saint already, so now we're at level 6. So we're now back into Sword Saint for the rest of the 12 levels. So 11 more levels. So starting at level 6, we're going to pick up Spell Strike. Level 7, we're going to pick up Piranha Strike. Nice buff to your weapon damage, penalty to your swing, of course. And that will be here. And we'll talk about these at the end because they are a little different. I need to go back and talk about hers too, because I think I forgot to do that. But that was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's at level 7. Okay. At level 8, we are picking up nothing here, but we go back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're picking up this, the Perfect Strike stuff. Probably won't use it. 9, you're getting Precise Shot. Remember, working towards that point blank master. So now you can actually shoot stuff without being a penalty in melee. Still gets the attack of opportunity against us if they're close enough. That's always a thing, or won't be in the future, but still going to be a thing for a while. And then we're also picking up Weapon Focus Ray. Okay, that's at level 9. Then at level 10, nothing here, but we're picking up this Prescient Attacking, and we'll talk about that later. 11. You're picking up Weapon Specialization Ray. Why this late? Just like in the other guy's build. 11 -4, so 7, this is the earliest we get fighter training, and you needed fighter training to get this thing. So it's as soon as I can get it to you. Notice again, we're getting our lightning draw again. This is why I don't mind my indulgence being higher than your dex. We're starting to get back our same types of buffs. So in this case, initiative roll bonus. So that's at 11. Then at 12, you're unlocking improved spell combat. Nothing fancy there. At 13, you're getting your point blank master ray finally. Again, this is as soon as I can get it for you in this build. This is nice, and again, you're ray spell casting like crazy with one weapon in one hand. Remember, you're not two weapon fighting yet, so you're choppity, ray spell in the face. And why did I want to do that versus you, say, using Touch of Fatigue through your one-handed weapon? Let's talk about this now officially, okay? With this, on these two characters, once this opens up, until this time, you should be one-hand wielding a Kukri, and you should be using your infinite use cantrip, your Touch of Fatigue. Why? Because you'll cast the spell into your weapon and you'll get an extra swing for it. So if you're up to 2 swings, you're at 3. If you're at 3 swings, you're going to get 4. And the first extra swing that you're getting will be at the full bab. So at 17, you'll see a 17, 17, 12, 7. Actually, you won't see that. You'll be at a -2 because you're using spell combat. That's this guy here. See the -2? So that's always going to be a thing. But so what? If you're 2 weapon wielding, you'd be at a -2 and a -2 for wielding Kukris. So it's not that big of a difference. But now, why would I have you do that, or not do that, where you do the Touch of Fatigue to get the extra attack with the Kukri, which you're good at, instead of using the ray spell? Well, maybe you need to hit the target. These guys are using touch attacks, which are super easy to hit the target compared to an armored target. You see that? So if you just want to do some sneak attack loving, infinite use cantrips like Ray of Frost, Acid Splash, in her case Jolt will be on her list, Disrupt Undead if you're fighting undead, are solid choices. And again, they have sneak attack die. Not many for her, but she has them. And that will add extra damage to your output, and it's easier to hit them. So again, I'd rather hit them. And remember, if she sneak attacks, she sets up her debilitating injury. So again, you can see why she really wants to sneak attack. And again, she can do that now with Point Blank Master Ray at point blank range and don't have to worry about getting poked in the face for doing so. Same with her. Okay, that's why I like this for these two. For people that are bitching about, why would you even do that? They're weird. Yeah, it's weird, but it's fucking fun for me. Doesn't have to be fun for you. If you don't like it, move on. But this is a solid choice for me, and again, I like it. And again, I will still use the melee touch attack sometimes, because when the Kukris are just fucking sweet, and you got really good damage with them, why would I want to switch back to 1d3 of acid damage? When I could get, a fucking serious fucking hit with my weapon, and sneak attack on that weapon too. So long as I can set it up and prescient attack is right there, I have access to that now, so there's no reason I can't click this and sneak attack with a Touch of Fatigue through my weapon and get an extra attack besides. But if you really just want to do, remember your sneak attack damage, there's another difference. The sneak attack damage, let's say I do the Touch of Fatigue. So instead of 3 attacks, I get 4. All this damage is in there, and the sneak attack damage besides, let's say best case scenario for it's like 3d6. You add that to the damage. All that's precision damage based on the fact that it's a weapon. If it's an Acid Splash cantrip, on the other hand, instead of it being 3d6 of precision damage, it's 3d6 of acid damage, or electric damage if you use Jolt, or cold damage if you use Ray of Frost. You get the idea. So if you really just want to do a lot of whoop-ass elemental damage, bam, Ray spell to the face. That's why I like these guys. Okay? Just to add some more context to why I think this is a solid choice. So let's see, where were we? Point Blank Master Ray. Here at 13. And then back to here, we'd be picking up Critical Perfection. Again, your intelligence modifier to confirm critical hits. Both these guys get it. He gets it sooner, of course, because he's not double dipping all over the place. But they'll appreciate this for the rest of the build. Again, better chance to confirm crits with a high crit weapon like the Kukri that they're going to have, especially when they're 2 weapon wielding. This is definitely appreciated. And of course, this part here too, the base attack bonus is equal to now their sword sync levels. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think we even use that, but it's a possibility is my point. So that's, was that 14? No. 15. Where the hell were we? Point Blank Master Ray. 13. So, yeah, here. Okay, so now we're at 14. Nothing shows up here. Go 4 levels back. Nothing shows up here. Okay. You get, like, extra spells, though. Like a next level of spells. I should have pointed that out before. Level 15. Now we're doing 2-weapon fighting. And again, I think it's about the same damn time we do it for this character. So 2-weapon fighting at level 15. Go back 4 levels here. You're also picking up superior reflexes. So you get a bunch of attacks of opportunity based on that high intelligence you have now. Up until this point, by the way, you only have like 1 attack of opportunity. just so we're clear. Without combat reflexes or superior reflexes, you only get one in a combat round ever. So it's okay. And again, I never seem to see this hit more than a few times in a combat round really anyway. So only being limited to one up until this point is not really screwing you over all that much in my opinion. Notice you also are unlocking improved critical kukri. Again, until this point, you want to buff your weapon, make it a keen weapon, or find keen kukris if you can. There are some in the game, not a shit ton, but there are enough. So that's a solid upgrade at this point, though. So now you don't have to keep a keen kukri in your hand if something better comes along. And that was at 15. Now at 16, nothing here, but you're also picking up this. We'll talk about it later. 17, you're getting double slice, and that's really powerful for her, and I'll show you why later. But that's 17, which is also 13, which means you're unlocking. Nope, not that. None of that. Yeah. Oh, sorry, 17. Sorry, at 17 now we're back to Eldritch Scoundrel. There we go. So at 17 you're picking up double slice, and you're also picking up your 5th level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So nothing here. Okay. So this is double slice, and that's all you're getting. At level, well, and of course some more progression for Eldritch Scoundrel. Level 18 will be 6th level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll get some extra danger sense. Whoopie-doo. Who gives a shit? 19 though, you're going to get blind fight again, just like we saw on this character before the end. You can shuffle this around, but that immunity to gaze attacks is really powerful. So you definitely want it somewhere in your build, and that's the second to last level. So your second to last level of Eldritch Scoundrel. This is your last sneak attack die. Now you're officially to 3d6 of damage. Not impressive, not amazing. She had a spell unlock at some point in here where it's 4th level. 1, 2, 3, 4. So really early on, would have been level 5 for her. Level 5 for her. She would have been able to cast a spell called Sense Vitals. That would have given her eventually 1 to 2 sneak attack die extra. Not for very long, but she could use that. So while she's limited to 2d6 for the longest time, eventually 3d6, she could have been all the way up to 4 or 5d6 by the end of the build with that spell. So, and there's gear out there that can increase your sneak attack die as well. So she's bad, but she's not that bad. And again, I do appreciate getting it for free. So 3d6 is still nice. And that's at level 19, along with your blind fight. And at level 20, nothing here, but this is where you get your last level, which is your last rogue talent. And we're picking up our improved 2-weapon fighting to get our last attack with our offhand weapon. Now, I said we talk about these. We'll talk about it for her first. Notice for the abilities that we can unlock for her, unlike him, who gets all of these guys, she's going to take Wand Mastery, and this is a choice on my part. You can choose as you see fit. Arcane Accuracy is the other obvious choice here in my opinion. I like Wand Mastery for the reason that you're going to be a high intelligence character. The highest I can give you, no less. You're going to be at a plus 13 by the end of the build with the right gear. So why not get Wand Mastery? What does it do? If you take a wand, cast a spell, just like your potions and your scrolls, the caster level is set by the wand. But also, so is the DC check. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, what DC does it? Let's take something like a fireball spell. You get a DC check for any spell in the game is base 10 for every spell, plus the spell slot level. So in Fireball's case, it's a level 3 spell. So 10 plus 3 is 13. How much intelligence do you need to cast a level 3 spell? You need an intelligence of 13. That's a +1 modifier. You understand that? So 10 plus 3 plus 1. 14. That would be the DC check on a fireball spell. And that's fucking shit. That's trash. That's nothing. But it's there. No, that's built into a wand. That's built into a scroll. They're always the lowest modifier or the lowest intelligence or casting stat. It doesn't have to be intelligence. So it could have been a charisma if you're a sorcerer. But the lowest casting stat that it would take to cast that spell. But Wand Mastery, on the other hand, replaces the lowest modifier with your intelligence modifier, whatever it may be. This is only really valuable on people, in my opinion, that have the highest or the second highest intelligence modifier. So I can get you to 13. If you were at plus 12, that'd still be something worth picking Wand Mastery. But if you're getting much lower than that, I'd say fuck it, don't bother. But this now means that when she uses wands, she has the ability to cast those out at her full intelligence modifier, which is probably plus 4, plus 5, plus 6 in the earlier levels. But again, a more zap, if you will, to the spell. It doesn't do more damage. It just, necessarily. It just means the DC check's harder for them to pass. And that can mean more damage or more likely to land or whatever. You can see the appeal here. And I just wanted to try something a little different. And again, this is only really useful if you're planning on using wands. So just give her a lot of wands. She'll have some fun with that. And again, you can use wands and 2-weapon kukris at the same time. No, you can use the wand or the kukris, just so we're clear. There is another pick that was in here called Wand Wielder. We did not take that one. That one would have allowed her to use one kukri in one hand, the empty hand free, and use wands as if they were her spells, which would have been cool. But there's not really good ones for like Shocking Grasp and stuff like that. So she could do like maybe, you know, shield spell real quick and still attack. If she was out of shield spell, she'd need it from a wand. So Wand Wielder is a possibility, but the DC checks would then go back to being garbage again. So I preferred Wand Mastery. Your choice on that one, though, just to change stuff up. She still got Prescient Attack as soon as possible for obvious reasons, so that's Sneak Attack Love. And instead of getting, he got Ghost Blade, remember? And the Brilliant Energy upgrade, because that doesn't show up here till level 13, which they will never get. Instead, she picked Dimension Strike. This does exactly what Brilliant Energy does, but only for one round. And it's not limited now to, like it doesn't work on undead, doesn't work on constructs, it doesn't work on objects. That's Brilliant Energy. This one works on everything. So if you want to turn something into a goddamn melee touch attack, this is your go-to bread and butter. The downside is it only lasts for one round, and it takes two of your pool points to activate it. But if you just need a fucking Ginsu some shit where you're basically hitting him like this, remember, not flat-footed, that's the Prescient Attack. So she has two different buttons. One that'll turn it into this armor class, guaranteed for one round, or one that'll turn it into this armor class, guaranteed for one round. And while, again, those don't look that different, remember, on someone like a knight that's wearing like fucking full plate mail +5 and a shield +5, his touch attack's probably shit, but his flat-footed is high, because he's got armor, right? So again, Dimension Strike that fucker. If it's a ninja rogue, Prescient Attack that son of a bitch, because he's probably using high dexterity. That takes their dexterity away. And again, he's probably only wearing like leathers. So fuck that dick. So she has two ways to basically fuck bad guys around. Yes, it uses points up quickly. 1 point for Prescient Attack, 2 points for Dimension Strike, but fuck it. If you need to hit somebody, bam. I thought that was kind of cool. Now let's talk about how we did hers different. She still went with Arcane Accuracy. Again, still a solid choice. And you could have convinced me instead of Wand Mastery to take this one too. And again, she would have had 3 different ways then to fuck over bad guys. She could have been Arcane Accuracy, or Prescient Attack, or Dimension Strike. If she knows that they have a high armor, Dimension Strike. If she knows they have a high dex, Prescient Attack. If she just wants to know that she's going to hit a +13, Arcane Accuracy. So again, she could have had fun with all 3. She's going to grab this. She's going to grab Prescient Attack for the obvious reasons of setting up Sneak Attack, the flat-footedness. And then for the last one, I decided to go weird. I went Maximize Magic. Again, you need the DLCs to get this one. This is a nice little upgrade. 3 times a day, she can just click this, and every time she clicks this for one round, she has the chance to cast a spell where it will guarantee to do maximize damage or maximize whatever. Just like it's under the Maximize Spell feat. So, the reason I picked this for her and not the other character is because she has spells that are damaging spells from Eldritch Scoundrel list, as well as spells that are damaging from her Sword Saint. So she has 2 spell books that might have damaging spells. And doing full damage on some of this shit that's like auto hit could be pretty appealing. So again, I said, fuck it, let's try it. And then again, this allows her to use, say, like a meta magic rod to, say, empower a spell. So it does, let's say she does Fireball from her Sword Saint spellbook, right? That does 10d6 of damage. Well, if it's empowered, it does technically 15, because it's 50% stronger. So 15d6 of damage. But if she clicks this Maximize 2, and you can do that, maximize with this click, turn on the empowered metamagic rod, and they both will work. So now she could have 15d6 maximized. That's 90 damage with that Fireball spell guaranteed. And she don't have a lot of AoE spells, so the fact that she can literally juice them up a little bit, I thought was kind of fucking cool. Now, this video's gone on long enough. Let's explain how the Kukris work. And the best way to do this is go to this list. You know, I'm going to do the same for every character here, so let's give them double Agile, and then double Kukri +1s. Where's our... Oh. Someone's got my other Kukris. It's you. Even bitch. Give me my stuff back. Agile, and then from here we want Kukri +1, Kukri +1. This is how I'm going to explain how this works for you, okay? So, let's talk to him about the Purist first. Okay, remember he has Slashing Grace, Piranha Strike, Arcane Strike, Weapon Specialization for Kukris. He's the only one that has that one. So this is going to all factor in for our damage and our attacks. Okay, so first, let's go one-handed, because again, this will be most of the build for the longest time until you finally get enough Kukris up to actually go to weapon wielding and choppity. Okay? Because this is the staple. This is what most people would do with a sword sing, with Kukris anyway. They would do one-handed. Now, I want you to see what we've done. Remember, he's got Slash and Grace, Double Slice, Weapon Specialization, Piranha Strike, Arcane Strike, and I think that's it. So that's a laundry list of shit. Now, let's compare whether it's an agile weapon versus whether it's a +1 weapon with all the feats and stuff that we've picked for him. The things you want to keep track of is the attack bonus, the damage bonus. Does anything change? So here's a normal +1 Kukri, 19 and 21. See that? Again, the 1d3, no one cares about that. It's the bonus damage we're talking about. And I can walk you through how we get that number in a minute, but I want to compare it with an agile weapon. Now, what does an agile weapon do? You read the agile component here. If you have weapon finesse, we all do for all three builds, you apply your dexterity modifier, the +5, instead of your strength modifier, +0, to your damage output of that weapon, because it's an agile weapon. That's what Slash and Grace does, right? So again, you're going to see that it doesn't matter. Notice that if I don't have an agile weapon, I'm at a solid 21. When I switch to an agile weapon, nothing should change. Right? Watch. Ready? 19, 21. Same numbers. Why is it the same numbers? Because agile weapon was just as good as me having Slash and Grace, but only if I wield one weapon. Right? How do I know that? Let's do agile Kukri twice and normal Kukri twice. Look at the numbers. 17, 17. It went down because of the -2 for 2-weapon fighting. That's going to be the same over here too. Nothing different there. So 17 and 17. Damage. 16, 16. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. Look at what happens when I switch to 2 agile Kukris. 17, 17. Same number. 21, 21. Why was it not 16? It went up 5. Where did the 5 come from, class? +5. So with agile weapons, it works beautifully. With Slash and Grace, it doesn't work at all. And then you'd say, well, then don't grab Slash and Grace. But then what happens when I'm like this? When I have a non-agile weapon, this 21 would not be here. It would be 5 less. Because I have Slash and Grace, it's working now. See that? That's why I grab Slash and Grace. It's because when I do switch to one-handed weapon, if it's not an agile weapon, I want that 5 damage. And it's going to be better because I'm going to have a higher dexterity than this once I gear them out. It'll be like +9 or so. So again, you can see why I want Slash and Grace. Okay, just so you understand the principle behind this. And again, we're going to show this for every character, but let's actually walk through now what the damage looks like. I'm missing something here. Where did you go? I dropped something by mistake. So let's talk about the 21. Where does the 21 come from? Okay, the +21. Let's do some math. Okay, so what do we get to give him a 21? So what does he have on? Notice he has Piranha Strike, Arcane Strike. So Arcane Strike, we said by level 20, he's getting the +5. In fact, they all do. And I can prove that by shutting it off. You'll see this number go down. We may need to go into combat to do it, but again, you will see it dip 5 points. So just trust me on this. All 3 characters are getting the +5. Okay, so of the 21, there's 5. Well, how much does Piranha Strike give us? We'll go over here to attack and see the -4. Know that it's double for the damage. So -4 + 8. And that works if you 2-weapon wield, by the way, as well. Just so we're clear. So -4 + 8. So 8 and 5 is 13. It's a +1 weapon, so now we're at 14. And then we have weapon specialization for Kukris for this character and this character only. So what do we say? We're at 14. Now we're up to 16. Where did the other 5 come from? Bam. Slash and Grace. Okay? So it does add up. Everything's working as intended. This is how you test stuff when you're leveling a character up. Save before you do, like, what does Slash and Grace do? Save before you level up. Pick Slash and Grace and do shit like this and test it out to see what happens. Oh, it doesn't do me any good because I have, like in her case, I have finesse training Kukris. So Slash and Grace is wasted at that point. So don't pick it, is my advice to you. That's why you test stuff before you level up. Always, always, always show before and after. This will be the way you do this shit. I'm a scientist, but this is how we always do stuff. Compare and contrast. So, again, we can make sense of the 21, and again, we know what the 21 does here. If I didn't have Slash and Grace, this would be at 21. This one, without Slash and Grace, would be 5 less. It'd be down to a 16, and it sucks, because that's 5 extra damage per swing. Man, do I miss that. Now, go back now to double fistment. What's our difference here? Again, 21, we know how we got to 21. Nothing's changed, so there's no need to rehash those numbers. But why is this one 16? Again, the obvious choices. We're down by 5. Why? Dex. And I can prove it. How do I prove it? I just give him like a belt of dexterity. Watch how it goes. Well, let's give him some, like a ring of dexterity. That'd be the easier way. Go by type. Why a ring? Because the belt of dexterity is also a belt of strength, and I don't want to confuse you by having a +4 here and then a +9 there. I want to show you that the extra damage is coming from only dexterity. Okay, so here's a dragonfly ring +8 dexterity. Ready? So watch the 16 and 16. No change. 21 and 21 is now 25 and 25. Where did the extra 4 come from? The extra 4 I just put on me. Oh, 8 dexterity, 4 bonus. See that? That's how I can prove it to you, right? So that's how you know this shit. Or you could have just as easy cast like Cat's Grace or Bull Strength, and this will be how you tease out, is it a strength modifier I'm getting? Is it a dex modifier? Is it half strength? Again, this is how I figured this shit out. So now you understand the principle of this character. Let's switch to this character. And again, we do the same damn thing. Numbers are going to be different. Why? Because she doesn't have weapon specialization, for example. So again, we want to see how things are working. So first off, with a normal +1 weapon, 21, 21. Okay, I believe it. What else you got? 21, 21 with its an agile weapon. So we don't need agile weapons. You may think wrongly because she has Slash and Grace. We don't need it. But again, just like him, because she has Slash and Grace, when we double fist it, unless they're agile, we lose out. We're back to 19 and 14, 19 and 14. If we do agile +1 weapons, we suddenly get our agility back, 7 and 7. Okay. Now, before we get into going into the next character, I want you to see something else. I'm going to give this character, well, stuff back. I'm going to give this character a belt of strength, or actually gloves of strength. You know, we keep it to just strength because I want you to see this. Where's the strength was? Star Soldier's Gauntlets. Okay, see the +8 to strength. See the +4 you got over here now? Now watch this. Okay, here's our weapon, 21, 21. Agile weapon, 21, 21. No difference, no change, right? But watch what happens when we double fist this shit. So we're going to go to here and go to here. Agile weapon, still 19 and 21, 19 and 21, no difference. We expected to see the dip because of the -2 for 2-weapon fighting, right? So 19 and 21 and 19 and 21, that's normal. Watch what happens when we switch to Kukri +1, Kukri +1. We're at 19, 18, not 14. Why? +4, strength. Strength is being added now. Now, if we go here, again, notice we go back up to 21. Why? Because again, Slash and Grace, 7 is greater than 4. But when you 2-weapon wield it, you're getting your strength modifier. But not just your strength modifier. Normally it'd be 4 here from strength and 2 here from strength, not 4. Why? Because again, it's an offhand weapon. If you have double slice, which we do, then you get to use your full strength modifier. That's why this is 4 and this is 4. Otherwise, without double slice, this would be 4 more, so 18 like you're seeing. This would be 16. Same with this guy. Okay, and again, I could have proved that to you by, again, not leveling up without double slice and showing you that the numbers would have been different. That's what double slice is doing for these two characters. Okay, it's not a ton of extra damage, and again, we can get even more strength than that. I'll show you that shit later. But the point is that's why we're doing that shit. Okay, now let's talk about this character and why she's badass. Now, here is your one-handed weapon, 19, right? +1 weapon, nothing fancy. She has finesse training Kukri. Okay, so she's getting that dex modifier in here. She also has her Piranha Strike and her Arcane Strike, and again, she's getting +5 here, +8 there. How do I know it's +8? Because it's -4, -4 penalty, +8 damage. 8 and 5 is 13. +1 weapon brings it to 14. Where did the other 5 come from? The obvious place, dexterity. Okay, so finesse training is working. Again, agile weapon, no difference. Again, 19 is going to be the same. Because it's an agile weapon, doesn't matter. She had finesse training anyway in Kukris. It's basically an agile weapon by default. Now, how do I know that? Double weapon that shit. Look at how it's agile Kukri. Best case scenario for any of these characters, that was always the double agile weapons, right? Same with her. 17, 19, 17, 19. Like normal. What happens when you switch it to 1 and 1, just without the agile? Same exact fucking numbers. It doesn't go down. Why? Because of finesse training Kukri. It's the equivalent of agile weapons. You see that? It's not the same as these guys with their Slash and Grace. Remember, these guys are keying off of strength at this point. So they actually are getting a +0, or again, if I gave her the belt, you saw the +4. These guys are getting screwed when they're using the normal Kukris. When she's using the shit that's not agile, she's money. She's still crushing it, which is fucking sweet. So when we get that dex to a solid +9 and that strength to a +5, she's getting the +9 for both of her weapons. These guys are stuck at +5s and +5s. That's why she's better. Ish. Just a difference, if you will. But that's cool. And why is that cool? So now we need to talk about Kukris. So here's the Kukris that I found in the game that are named. And again, you can just do this if you have the mod. For those of you playing PC, I'm using the mod manager bag of tricks so that I can literally gift myself stuff. So again, you don't need this in the to play these characters. I need this to gift myself stuff, to show you stuff. Okay, so if I type in Kukri, like here, and search, and again, I'm going to shut off all the things that aren't weapons. Not that it matters, but still, just for obvious reason. These are all the Kukris in the game. Okay, look at this laundry list of shit. But the things you really need to point out to you is first the named ones, the Swift Justice, Fiery Blood, blah. Those are the ones that I have in my kitty already. But remember, Agile. Here's an Agile Kukri +1 you can get reasonably early in the game. Just one of them. Okay. Then the next one is there's nothing, and it's called Cold Blood. This is the only other Agile Kukri. Does it even show it? +4 freezing Kukri. It doesn't say it in the tooltip here, but it is, trust me. And here's how I'll show it to you. So if we look in our weapons, Cold Blood. See the +4 Agile freezing, finesse wielding? This is the only other Agile Kukri in the game. So there's two. There's Agile Kukri +1, which is lame sauce, and the Cold Blood Kukri +4 Agile freezing. So it does 2d6 of extra cold damage per strike. That's fucking awesome. It's a solid +4 weapon, and it's Agile. That's useful for these two dudes. Less useful for her. She don't need Agile weapons. So again, she gets to be awesome with Kukris because she don't give no fucks. They're all Agile in her little fisties, which is why she's fucking kicking ass. Now these guys would require 2 Agile to really capitalize on it. Now let's show you how that works. Let's give them another weapon choice. Let's give them the Cold Blood one, and then there's one that mirrors it called Fiery Blood. Now here's the downside of the Fiery Blood. That's why these are paired. Fiery Blood does not have the Agile. Don't fucking ask me why. This is the dev's way of saying fuck you to people that are trying to do what I'm doing here, I guess. Because this is not an Agile weapon. This one is. Now, I'm going to do it for every character so we can do compare and contrast like we always do, right? Remember, we're scientists. We're trying to apples to apples comparison. Everybody gets the same shit as best as we can give them. And again, put it in the same fist too, by the way. So Cold Blood in the main hand, and then Fiery Blood in the offhand, and then we're going to go there. Now, here's our doofus. Let's start with him. Notice, or let's switch to this. Let's notice when they're one-handed, because this is important, because it will help you dictate which weapon you're going to try to wield one-handed, which weapon you're going to try to, or weapon set you're going to wield double-fisting it. Okay, so here's one-handed. Look at his damage, 22, 20, or attack, and his damage, sorry, 22 and 24, right? What happens when we switch to the non-agile version, the one that's on fire? 22 and 24, still good to go. So Slashing Grace is working. So it doesn't matter if we use either for one-handed attacks, right? Not true. They may not have Slashing Grace very quickly. So if they don't have it yet, then suddenly this one's better. Remember, because it's agile. The only reason that this one's giving us the 24 is because he's using all of his dexterity because of Slashing Graces. So if they don't have Slashing Grace, this is your guy. The agile one. Now chances are though by the time you find these things you already have Slashing Grace unlocked on all these dudes. She's definitely getting finesse training quickly. He's probably the next one to get Slashing Grace, and she's getting it pretty goddamn quick too. So I'm betting that you actually have Slashing Grace or finesse training by the time these show up. So it doesn't matter though is my point. Same with her. Same with her. Again, 24, 24, 24, 24. What about her? She don't give no fucks, remember? So it shouldn't even be something we need to compare. 22, 22. She's less, but there's reasons she's less. Remember, she has a higher dexterity, or mutagen. And he's got better because of his weapon specialization in Kukris. So she's at 22 and 22. That's okay. And she's at 22 and 22 with the good one, the agile version. And again, that's okay. But now watch what happens when we switch now to double fisting. And remember, they have all their feats at this point. So how does his compare now? What's he rocking? He's got a 20, 24, 20, 19. Why? What's the difference? You're seeing a difference of 5. What's the difference to 5? 5. This one's getting dexterity. This one ain't. What is this one getting? It looks like it's getting nothing. It's actually getting strength, but strength is 0 right now. How do I know that? Give him something that gives him strength only. Ready? Those gloves of Star Soldier. Ready? That's going to be a +8, so this will be a +4. Watch what happens. So again, his damage was 19. 23. Went up 4 goddamn points because this is 4 goddamn points. And again, if he did not have double slice, he would be getting only 2 points. So instead of it being 23, it'd be 21. It's not amazing, but now you understand why double slice was important. Now you understand why slashing grace was important. Now you understand why finesse training is fucking tits. And again, this is the reason why. Okay? Now, that's all well and good. Same's going to be for her. She's going to see a 24 and a 17, the difference being 7, because again, 7 and a 0. When she gets a 4 or a 5 here, this will go up 4 or 5 points because she has double slice, right? That's the key. Now, what about for her? Remember, she don't give no fucks about agile. They're both considered agile for her from get-go. So she's at 2022, 2022. She goes back to switching it offhand. It's 22, 22. And the only reason it's better is because of the swing. Remember the penalty? The -2 for two-fisting it? That's the only real difference here for her. So she's fine with either of those. And again, that's fucking kick-ass. But now, wait. So let's talk about more kukris. So that's those ones. Let's get rid of the garbage ones. Now let's talk about all the good, if you will, pairings that are in the game of kukris. Okay, let's go by type. So we have talked about the cold blooded. These are really good ones. There's a watered down version called Mother's Milk or Mother's Care and Mother's Warmth. These are ones that we're going to grab for all the characters here. Mother's Care. Oops. Damn it. Where'd you go, you little bastard? There we go. I forgot to switch. Mother's Care, Mother's Warmth, Mother's Care, Mother's Warmth. Now these are the ones that Knock Knock, when you find him, he can get these real quickly. That doesn't mean you give them to him. Again, you're a kukri guy, so you fucking take that shit. Even if you're only one weapon wielding. Why? Because these are going to be okay. These are solid damage. +2 keen frost, and then +2 keen flaming. That's it. They're not agile. So these guys are going to suck if they try to double fist that shit. Again, you're going to see they're okay. They go like this. At the 2022 and the highest crit range possible. Again, if you don't have improved critical, remember these guys got improved critical kind of fucking late. These are upgrades because they're keen. And a nice little bit of elemental damage besides. So 1d6 of cold, or if you switch to this one, 1d6 of fire. They're the exact same weapon, just fire damage versus cold damage. Okay? And that's cool. So you have a solid choice here for these characters switching over to two-fisting it. Notice that you lose out on your damage again. So now we're down to 17 and 17 because these are not agile. She, again, don't give no fucks. Everything for her is an agile kukri because of her finesse training. So she's getting that real bang for her buck for that big +5 here. So again, she's doing well. She switches over. She's got a better swing. So if you really need to hit shit, this is really the way to go here, is to switch back to one weapon. But if she can double fist it, she should double fist it. And the fact that she's getting the full crit range is money. This character, she's doing okay when she's doing it one-handed, 22 and 22, but then when she freaking doubles up on it, she fucking drops like a stone. She loses a shit ton of damage because she's losing that big +7. And again, if she had more strength, she'd be getting something for these, by the way. So if we give her again the ring of, or sorry, the what do you call it? The gloves, Star Soldier's gauntlets. You see how it went from 15 to 19 for both of those? Why? Strength of 4. +4, +4. And again, because of double size, otherwise it'd be +4, +2. Has nothing to do with slashing grace. Has everything to do with the fact that she's strong. But this number here, the reason it's as good as it is because of the strength and double slice. Okay, just so we're clear on all that shit. Now that's a good pairing. Now what else? Let's take that back off. What else is out there? Well, let's give you the best ones. Okay, so this is the ones that you're shooting for everybody. And it's the weasel ones. So it's the weasel's bite and the weasel's claw. Bam. Do the same for her. Weasel's bite. Weasel's claw. Same with her. Weasel's bite. Weasel's claw. Now again, good news for her. Neither of these are agiles. She don't care. She's fucking rocking that big ass fucking dexterity +5. That's counting for all her attack. I don't have to take these off. They'll do one-fisted, two-fisted, because you can trust me on this now, because we've proven it. These are the ones with the highest crit modifier, the multiplier, excuse me. So it's times 3 for these 2 characters. Remember, for him at level 20, it's going to be times fucking 4. That's awesome. But again, this is a solid weapon, both of them. And notice they're not only plus 5s, and that times 3 crit modifier. Also, they have the full crit range like normal. And again, you have improved critical for both these characters. By this time, I'd imagine, for all 3, you have improved critical. So this 18 to 20 is now officially 15 to 20. This is an awesome double set of Kukris. This is another reason I wanted to do this comparison. These are crushing it. And look at this best part. The first time either of these weapons hit their target in combat. Okay, so let's say I fight 2 guys. This character is fighting these 2 characters, let's say. First time I hit her with this weapon, right here, it will do 66 of extra damage. That's not sneak attack. That's just extra fucking damage. Just fuck you. That's Weasel's Bite. Same with Weasel's Claw. It's the same damn weapon. It's just a different name. Plus 5 destructive, so it's still the times 3. Still got the extra 66 in the first time during combat. So whenever a creature is hit by it for the first time. So now, I hit you twice, back to back. Pow, pow. 66 of damage, plus my damage, plus sneak attack. You can see the fun you're going to have with these fucking Kukri. Wait, that's for the first dude I hit. What happens when I switch to this target? Well, have I hit you yet? No. Well, guess what? I hit you one, 66 of damage. I hit you with the other one, another 6d6 of damage. It just keeps doing it, but only once. So you hit this guy, then you switch to that guy, and you switch to that guy, and you do 66, 66, 66, double times, tap, 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 tap for everybody. But there's no need for you to spread it around if you're not on a team. If you're on a team, then feel free to switch targets repeatedly. First round, target this bitch. Second round, target that guy. Third round, target this dude. Whether they're dead or not, just keep switching. Why? Because he's 66, 66, 66, 66. That's really adding up. But since you're running solo, fuck that shit. 66 this bitch the first combat round, and then just keep ginswing her after that till she dies. Then switch to the next motherfucker. 66 of damage on that dude. Because there's no rush now. The reason you would switch between targets if you're on a team, well, what if the team is spreading the damage out to everybody like a team should? You're missing out on that beautiful 66 on everybody you could wail on in that combat. Well, it's just you. Eventually, you're going to hit everybody, right? So, take your fucking time. Find a target, beat it to death. Find another target, slit its throat. Find the next target, and you get the idea. And again, for her, it's better than these two because she's going to get that full dex modifier, and this is going to be higher than this 5. It'll be like plus 9 by the end. Really, really nice. Now, for these 2 characters, again, they're doing okay. Remember, the damage is going to be a little lackluster. We're at 18 here and 20 there. But he's getting weapon specialization for us, so he's helping him out a little bit. She's not getting any of that plus 7 dex. But when they get strength, and she can give herself more strength instead of dex, if she so chooses. I don't recommend it, because it's extra armor, better reflexes as well, better swing as well. I'd rather she swing better than hit for more damage. But your mileage may vary. So again, chug the mutagen for strength instead of dex is my advice. So this will go up another 4 points here, 2 points there. She'll at least get another 2 and 2 for the damage. So this will jump up to a 20, and this will jump up to a 20. It's not amazing, but again, you're also going to give her gear that increases her strength as well. So you'll see that it continues to go up is my point. But the downside is then the swing in the 23 and the 23, that's because her dex is so fucking high right now. But that's because of the mutagen. If you don't use the mutagen for dex, this drops back down to a plus 5. This 23 and this 23 will go down to a 21 and a 21. Just so we're clear. Again, on you to decide. Can she hit with a 21 and a 21? Sure. Remember, she has either Prescient Attack, she has Dimension Strike, she could have taken Arcane Accuracy, she didn't, but she could have. And again, she has all kinds of ways to buff her swing. Why not buff her damage? So again, feel free to do the mutagen for strength. That's on you. But if she's one-handing it, if she's doing like this shit, then it really is to her best interest to use dex every time. So again, potato, know that there's differences. Okay, I can't tell you how to play that shit. That's on you for what you think is more important. But I do know that Weasel's Claw for him is fucking awesome. And again, he's not rocking the epic damage, but he's doing okay. He's got plus 5 from this, plus 8 from that, plus 2 more from weapon specialization, and they're both plus 5 weapons. He's crushing a nice solid 20 in there. And then you throw in some decent strength gear on him as well, he'll get another plus 4, plus 5 onto that shit. So these will be a plus 25 per hit. And remember, when he crits, unlike these little tards that hit with a times 3 for their crit damage, his damage, this 25, let's say, when I'm finally done with him, will be 4 times that when he crits. So instead of plus 25 jumping to 75, which would be for like these two characters, for example, his plus 25 jumps up to a fucking 100 on a crit. And that's before we throw in the 1d3 and whatever else he has going on. So he has a really good potential for critting for some serious fucking numbers. Now let's talk about gear, and then we'll talk about spells, okay? I know this video is long. We got a lot of build that we're covering here, guys. I want you to understand why we've made these characters. Now, let's talk about apples to apples comparison. Let's give them the same fucking gear. So what were we going to do? So first, let's give them the ambrosial attire of arcane blah blah for everybody. Same damn one. Okay? So everything's going to be the same here. Very, very milquetoast and boring. Then, we're keeping them on the best kukris. Then, for rings, everybody's going to get definitely the Ring of Circumstances. Let's pretend that everyone's going to get the same Dragonfly ring. I'll explain why in a minute. So again, that Dragonfly ring, that Dragon. Oops, whoa, no, that's the Great Dreamers. Where the hell's my other Dragonfly ring? You got my Dragonfly ring? Oh, you bitch. Give my gear back. All right, there we go. Dragonfly ring. Now, that starts us off. Why this? We needed the dexterity be +8. We also need strength to be +8. So let's give ourselves the Star Soldiers gauntlets. I've been using them left and right. Here's this one. Star Soldier. Star Soldier. Now, just so we're clear before we finish this, this is not the gear I'm suggesting for him, the Purist. This is for these two specifically. But again, for an apples to apples comparison, I need you to show you what they're capable of together using the same shit. I'll show you what his is going to be, in my opinion, and it's going to be not completely, vastly different though. And again, on you to decide which one you like better. But this is another +8 to strength now. So now I've got two stats. I got +8. Now we're missing con. I can't get you a solid +8 unless I use it from a belt. There's a good one for a necklace, but I have a better necklace choice for everybody as well. So we need cloaks. So there's these cloaks called extraplanar cloaks. +4 to con, not 8. So it's not great, but it's okay. And it gives them a free spell once a day. They basically can summon monster 5 once a day for 9 rounds. Remember, setting up flanking allows them to set up sneak attack. So I thought, fuck it. Here's a pet for you guys. And while she can summon pets, thanks to her Eldritch Scoundrel levels, she has spells that these other guys don't have for summoning pets. But she can only get up to like level 3, which is lame sauce. So having level 5 and all 3 of them have it, fuck it, that's not bad. And again, it's a bonus to their con. Sure, you can see the appeal. Now, let's talk about the necklaces. Reason we're not doing the con necklaces is because I wanted them to do extra damage, especially these two, because of their race spells. So here's the Amulet of 4 Elements. Again, we'll go over what all these things do here in a mo. I just want to gift them all out, telling you what we're giving you. And again, he won't take this one, but I'm going to give it to him just so we can compare. Now, head piece, we're going to definitely use our kick-ass wizard hat. Give him a hat. The thief. The hat of mental perfection +8. Now that's intelligence, wisdom, and charisma all go up 8. And again, you are casters. All 3 of these characters are. So I have no problem wearing this stupid-ass wizard hat because it's fucking cool. And that's a solid upgrade. Now notice we're at 12, not in 13. We're not there yet. We have to activate the ring, which means you need to rest. But we're not done yet. We need armor. Notice that our armor is kind of shit. We got 36, 40, 36. Where the hell's my armor? Well, it's called Bracers of Armor Class +8. Downside is this means we have to use the Bracers of Armor Class on these builds. Why? Because there's no other armor to use. There's some robes that give like an armor +4, but nowhere near +8. And do you really want to go from 44 down to 40? Yeah, I know we have spells besides like shield spell and shit that's going to buff us, but that's still not that great of an armor. And this is garbage. So this is where we really get bad news. Again, she can't be flat-footed under most circumstances, so again, this is not that much of a concern for her. So these 2 numbers for her are what really matters. And normally I'd say that's true for both of these characters as well. But these 2 motherfuckers can be caught flat-footed, so you can see 25 ain't that good, and his is at a terrible 23, which is why this will not be the gear for him. She's got ways around it with her mutagen, and of course the sooner that you act first, which again for him he has that way around that, but that's only at like level 19, so that's not ideal. So we really need to buff his flat-footed, his armor class, and even his touch up, especially if you're going to try it solo. But we're not done yet. What's the last slot we have? Well, not counting of course this and weapons. We need boots. So we're going to do our Manticore. Skin boots are my favorite, as you probably know. And they're my favorite for a reason. is a bonus to your speed, plus 10. Notice, of course, they're moving extra fast, so we buffed them with Expeditious Retreat before we started this video. And shield spells on them, and reduced person, which is why they're teeny tiny. So they're getting extra dexterity besides. So they're doing good, but this is an extra 10 to their speed, so now they're at 70. Without Expeditious Retreat, they'd be at 30, but with these boots on, they'd be at 40. So again, I'd rather be extra zippy, especially if you're running solo. And the reason for this, I know this is off topic, it does matter. A, +4 armor, that matters, and they're not using their neck slot. That's usually where you get that natural armor enhancement. Instead, we're grabbing it here at the boots. This is why I always take these. But the extra 10 speed, especially when you're running solo, is important. Think about it. If he's running into a room, there's a bunch of bad guys in there, and across the room is the bad guy that he needs to fucking kill first. Well, he's got to get from point A to point B. You'd be surprised at how far that motherfucker is always just over 30 goddamn feet. You son of a bitch. So I can go, if it's 33 feet, I can get over there and stab him at least once. Well, guess what? Now with these boots on, you're at 40 feet movement. You got a better chance of getting over there. And yes, I will cast Expeditious Retreat on myself. But remember, while these guys will have multiple castings of that, this bastard only gets like once or twice a day, and that's it. And that's where he gets boned. When he starts running out of spells, he gets screwed quickly. So he relies on gear. He relies on skills. He relies on weapons more than these two do. That's why, again, I don't mind giving him the speed bump with the booties. But I kept them for all the characters because fuck it. Last thing to give him is the shit that you wouldn't expect. Let me explain why. We're giving him this belt. Remember, we have Strength 8, Dex 8, Con 4. Why? Because normally I can get a belt of those three stats right here, where it's 8, 8, and 8. That would be the typical. He will get that eventually, but I want to show it to you what I'm going to get in place for these other two characters. It's called the Greater Belt of Perfect Components. Okay, there's three versions of this belt. There's the Lesser Belt of Perfect Components that works on level 1 spells. The Belt of Perfect Components that works on level 1 and level 2 spells. And then, of course, this one works on 1, 2, and 3. What does it do? For all these characters now, their level 1, 2, and 3 spells are extended and or empowered if they can be. Okay, so that's 50% more whatever, usually damage, and extended twice as much duration. Okay, if a duration is applicable. Like Fireball, you can't extend that shit. But Fireball's a level 3 spell, and you can empower it, and it's free now. So that means that these characters here, and of course him, really benefit from this for their level 1, 2, and 3 spells. But why not for him? Why don't I want this for him? I'm going to give him the belt of 8, 8, and 8 eventually, but I'm going to, again, comparison. I want to show you some shit. But now let's talk, first let's rest. I need to get my rings to recharge, the ones we just put on. So instant rest, close that down. Go to these characters here, and you need to go rings. Now let's activate the same thing for all three characters, again, for apples to apples comparison. So armor, it's an obvious pick. You definitely want more dexterity, and you definitely want more intelligence, I'd assume, right? So that's 3 of 4 things. What's the last thing we're going to pick? Do you want weapon damage? It's only +1. But fuck it. Hey, man, if you want that, remember, they're going to crit. They're going to get 3 times that damage. So that +1 jumps up to +3 for him. That's 4 times the damage. That jumps up to +4. Okay, fine. Let's just do saving throws. Okay. So we'll do the same one. So again, armor, intelligence, dex, saving throws. Armor, dex, intelligence, saving throws. So all 3 are getting the same thing. Okay. Now, look at your characters. I want you to see the numbers that you got. See how we're at a 10 for dexterity? Remember, 10 is going to be, if you're one-hand wielding it, you're getting that 10 for your damage extra, right? Because of slashing grace, or in her case, finesse training. For that one-handed kukri. That's a solid damage bump from 4, because that's what it should have been, strength-based, right? So we're getting +10 to our swing and +10 to our damage, but only if we're one-handing it. But two-fisting it, these guys, they get +10 to their swing still. So again, you see the 16, where's the 10 coming from? Dexterity even says it. By the way, for anyone that wants to get on the mod, the dev's ass, I love how they added this tooltip where you could right-click it and see where all the buffs are coming from. Why did they not do it for damage, dude? I hate having to do math, bro. Tell the devs, fucking add that at least to the next game, the Wrath of the Righteous. But this 24, we can math it out. So let's math it out. So what does he got going for himself, right? So first, what kind of buffs do we have on him, all right? Nothing up in there that matters worth a damn, really. We have Piranha Strike and Arcane Strike. None of those have changed. That's 8 damage and 5 damage, so that's 13 of the 24. It's a +5 weapon, each of them, so we say 13 is now 18. So where's the other 6 coming from? I have 2 coming from Weapon Specialization for Kukri. So where's the other 4 coming from? Bam. right? So, again, math all checks out. It's a strength-based character now for the damage. And again, it would be 24 and 22 if, yes, if I did not go double slice. So again, the extra 2 damage. And again, I probably wouldn't do dex, intelligence, armor, and saving throws. I'd probably do strength, quite frankly, because +4 here, better carrying capacity, and then a +1 damage and a +1 damage. So this would be 25s. You can see the appeal. But again, potato. What toggles you turn on, that's kind of on you. But again, solid choice. And again, you will see the same for her. Doing really nice 22 damage. She's less because of, remember, he's got the 24 thanks to weapon specialization. But she's still crushing it. She's doing good. She's not remotely slouching. And again, she's got a solid swing at 28 and 28 versus his 26 and 26. And again, why? Her dexterity is better thanks to the mutagen. If you didn't need that extra 2 points in there, if you can suffer, feel free to take the mutagen for strength. That would increase this 4. This would increase this 2. So these would go up to being 24 and 24, which would be on par with him for damage. And she'd be at the same swinging capacity as far as attack bonus. Now for this character, she's fucking crushing it because remember, she's getting that full beautiful +10 for her damage. Look at that shit. 28 and 28, bitch. You wish you could fucking do that much damage with this guy. I mean, 24 is looking nice, but man, 28 would be so much better. And she's just swinging like a goddamn champ. And it's because of finesse training. So she's just cutting shit up and taking numbers. That's what she does. Now let's talk, now that we've rested and got our spells up to the full +13. That was the reason we did that, by the way. Now let's talk about spell books. So notice, let's talk about him first. I've already did some spells, but again, we'll have to redo them because we took gear on and off. But notice, he's going to only have 1 spell book to pull from because he's a purist. It's all from the Sword Saint spell book, so he only gets 1 choice. So he has his cantrips, his infinite use cantrips. He has level 1 spells. He'll have 8, 7, 7, 7, 7, 6. It's not bad. Remember, this is as high as I can get his intelligence without going crazy nuts on the build. The only way I can get it higher is I think there's a piece of gear out there like a staff that can, if he's evil, you can get a profane bonus to his intelligence +4, which would be 2 higher, which would be probably 2 to 3 to 4 more spells a day for him, and that's it. So something, but it'd be a staff, and he'd have to 2-weapon swing that shit, or 2-handed swing that shit. That's worse than what I got going on here right now. And again, there's a trick. I want to show you the trick. Remember, you're going to be bitching about, well, 2-weapon fighting, you can't cast into your weapon. I got a way. I always know a way. Brother Mutant knows shit, man. You fucking trust me, okay? Watch this. Weapon buffs and stuff again. So he's going to be doing his, typical Magus, shocking grasp, obvious choice. Again, I could do corrosive touch, but why bother? It's subpar damage. But if you needed acid damage, hey man, there you go. But I like my snowball. I like, of course, shield spell, reduce person, and expeditious retreat for my 3 buffs that come from this category. What might my last spell be? Grease spells, always a good choice. Remember, he has full spellcaster level and full spell pen. He's not subpar caster like these 2 fucktards. He's a full strength wizard, well, Magus. So he's doing good. If you need a spell that's one that's like has a high DC check, and like there's a chance for like burning hand, like a chance for reflex save, he's doing fine. His DC checks aren't bad. Neither are those, by the way. But spell resistance for these guys would suck. He's doing fine because he's at the full spell pen of 20. Not amazing. He doesn't have bonus to it or anything like that, but he's doing okay, is my point. So if you need him to do weird shit with like spells like fireball and lightning bolt, he's your go-to guy. These guys, they can do it, but they're not going to be great at it. So again, do what you do. Magic missile, fine. Maybe you want true strike. Never hurts to be able to just hit a guy once in the face. Maybe that's all you need to set some shit up. Color spray, whatnot. Whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what to grab. I'll just grab another snowball though. Level 2. Again, these spells are already here waiting for us. We have mirror image, solid choice, blur, and we won't need mirror image on his build. I'll spoil that for you later. But then I would double up on blur. He can do ray spells. He's not as good as these guys. We don't have point blank master ray. He don't have point blank shot even for that fucking matter, or precise shot. But that doesn't mean he can't salvo someone at a distance, especially if there's a runner. You've killed the room. That dude's fucking running over there to ring the bell. Scorching ray hits fucking ass. Bam, bam, bam. He's probably gonna drop. You don't get any sneak attack for it, but who gives a shit? You're still hitting for solid damage. Again, I appreciate that. If not, again, you got other stuff in your glitter dust is a solid choice. Early levels, get your buffs on because you don't have the belts for strength or dex or endurance for that matter. So feel free to slap one of those on your tune. Again, it'll help. Won't be amazing, but it will help. Web spells are solid choices, as you know. I stay away from Stone Call and Morton Lorb. But know when I go through these spell lists, I've leveled these characters up and gifted them all these spells. Like I scribe them to their spell book, because you can do that, and you will do so as you level up. This is every spell in the game for these characters anyway. So if you see this list, this is their list. For the vanilla version of this game with all the DLCs, this is it. So Grease was like an addition spell, so that may not be in your game if you don't have the right DLC, but it was a nice addition, amazing spell. I think all these were in the original version, maybe not Effortless Armor. So maybe you'll see, like I said, one spell every now and again. It's not on your list. That's probably why. But it is the unmodded version of the game. Again, solid choices that he has here for, again, his Frigid Touch attack that he can channel through his weapon when he's one-handed wielding, or if I'm using my trick. In level 3, we have nice Fireball, Lightning Bolt, and again, I just mix it up a little bit. You don't have to. If you like Fireball, do it twice. I like Haste twice, though. You know, you can't back-to-back them, but I mean, like, use it one's out, use it again. This is more for when he gets jumped in the forest. Remember I said these guys are going to have extra buff spells besides compared to him. He doesn't. His buff spells are one and done if he slots it once. So you see, I'm not going to get jumped in the forest on the way to the cave and use my shield spell in the forest fight. Or even these ones. Fuck that shit. I need that for the cave fight. So what do? Well, I have haste twice. Well, guess what? I'm using haste once. At least it's a buff. Extra attack, extra armor, better reflexes, move faster, all that jazz. So it's at least something. So feel free to use that, buff your weapon besides, and hope for the best that you can take out whatever trash try to jump you in the forest. Because you're running solo. And again, he does have a cloak right now that he can summon pets. Maybe he'd use that in this fight. So again, options is my point. Maybe for fodder, if he's immune to poison, or he can tank it well enough where he can stand in the stinking cloud and have a high enough fortitude save, he doesn't worry about it, cast that at your feet. Let them run in on that shit, they're puking their guts out, and you're standing outside of them shooting them with fireball spells, lightning bolts, or dragon's breath. Again, decent choices here. I love my greater invis, double up on that, because again, while he can catch them flat-footed, remember he doesn't get sneak attack damage, but he does get that flat intelligence modifier to flat-footed targets. Remember that shit? 13 damage to every fucking swing if they're flat-footed. That's fucking money. Remember, it wasn't quite as good as 5d6 of sneak attack damage, but it's fucking consistent 13 damage, and that shit's not calculated in the numbers we already showed you. So he's doing good numbers when he can catch them flat-footed. So greater invis, set that shit up, surround them with pets, whatever you can do to catch them flat-footed, hit them first in the initial round. That shit's money for him, and he's doing really, really well for himself. So that's why I grabbed 2 of those. Dragon's Breath, kind of a doy. I mean, solid damage, 4 different elements you get to pick from one spell. That's utility right there. And again, 12d6. Ignore the part where it says no spell resistance. That's a lie, but that's not a problem for him. Remember, he don't care about, well, he cares. He doesn't worry about spell resistance as much as these two, because he's a full caster. These guys are subcasters. So that's still fine. And again, a nice little stone skin spell. Make sure to pack your diamond dust. Solid choices. And again, there's other shit in here. He could have done Phantasmal Killer for some fun. Never turn into anything in any of these guys' forms, because beast shape, elemental body, any of that shit where you turn into a different thing, you don't have Kukris. You're losing out on all that fucking armor now because you ain't got your Kukris in your hand. You just need one Kukri, but again, you can't carry a Kukri as an elemental. You can't carry a Kukri if you're a goddamn wolf or whatever the fuck it turns into. So again, never use those for a sword saint. But you can make yourself bigger, you can make yourself smaller, up to you. I wouldn't use the massive versions, but again, whatever. Shout's a decent one, and I avoid Shield of Dawn. A lot of people probably would argue this point, but the goal is not to get hit. These are spells where it doesn't last very long, and if they hit you, they take fire damage, which is cool. I dig the whole snake biting thing, where you step on a snake and it decides as you're killing it that it bites you in the ankle. Same general principle here, but it's not something I rely on. And again, if it's not going to fire off at every fucking round, like being an aura, then who gives a shit? Again, the goal is to not be hit. So I'd rather have another greater invis versus a Shield of Dawn. Again, on you. Notice I have 2-dimension doors. We'll talk about that when we talk more about how you can level your character up very quickly as a soloist. But know that 2 of these is money. And again, as soon as you can slot 2 of those, or even have 2 scrolls of dimension door, and an appropriate necklace, and a lot of a lot of invisibility spells. This one here, as a potion, probably be the best way of doing it. you can really jump up from like level 11 or 12 up to like level 16 like that. So you can be out leveling the content for a long time. This is how you can get to level 20 on a soloist build like this by the time you get to pit tax. So this is definitely worth doing. Level 5, oh, we need to make another one. I'll just do another acidic spray, fuck it. Acidic spray, fire snake, cone of cold, those are your bread and butter elemental damage at level 5. Remember now, this is stuff that these guys won't have access to because they don't get to level 5 Sword Saint spells. He does, and level 6 besides. Again, knock it down, cloud kill. Again, do not change into the form, but you could turn someone into a goddamn dog if you want to. Again, your DC check is not bad. Remember, your intelligence is plus 13, goddammit. That's a high fucking DC check on this spell. Remember, it's 10 plus 5 for the level of the spell, plus your intelligence modifier, which is 13. So 15 and 13, this is a 28 DC check for you. You don't have any buffs to transmutation spells, but you have that fucking high-ass intelligence. So again, maybe you get lucky. You hit a wizard with this, with a terrible fortitude save, they turn into puppy. Oh, just saying. Pretty fucking cool. You could have done that, but I staple for damage. And again, of these three, this is the best damage. They all do 15d6, and you're like, well, why would this be better damage then? Well, again, it's not the 15d6, it's what happens after. If they fail the reflex save, this is the only spell of these three where they take another tick of damage, equal to half, rounded down. So it does 15d6 on the first round, 7d6 on the round right after, if they fail their first reflex save. And again, that's nice. So this is technically more damage than Cone of Cold or Fire Snake. And I don't need Fire Snake to be teammate friendly because I don't have a team because I'm running solo. But again, I still appreciate the fire damage, the 15d6 of fire damage. So again, there's some fun to be had with any of those spells. Level 6 now. Sirocco, you know my love for that. True Seeing, again, something these guys won't have access to necessarily. And I say necessarily because, of course, there's a scroll, there's a wand, maybe even a potion for a lot of some of this shit. So again, grain of salt for some of that. But by and large, I mean from their spellbook. But Sirocco's a nice fuck you spell. AoE. Chain Lightning is 2. Acid Fog is 2. Hellfire Ray, again, he's not a ray caster guy, but fuck it, I'll take a swing with 3 goddamn beams that do 15d6 of damage each. Fuck yeah. Start off the fight just shooting that troll in the goddamn back ranks. Bam, bam, bam. He drops like a stone and, who's next, motherfuckers? Come at me, bro. Just saying, you can have some fun. And of course, the ever-popular transformation spell, which makes him infinitely better than them. Yes, again, they can cast that from scrolls and wands and blah, blah, blah. The fact that he has it on tap makes it amazing. And this is the spell that literally turns you into a fucking Ginsu chef, which is why I appreciate the 2-weapon fighting build. A lot of people are like, well, this is garbage, you can't do your spells, and you can't, and you can all at the same time. I'll show you the trick in a minute. Wait for it. Trust me, it's coming. But this is the spell that you want anyway for a 2-weapon fighter. Why? Because we're swinging at a plus 15 for our BAB, our base attack bonus, at the end of this build. 15 is the highest you get. This turns you into a base attack bonus of 20 by the end of your build. You can't cast spells while you're in it. Again, we're a 2-weapon fighter, and just like you said, you can't cast spells effectively while 2-weapon wielding. Well, so what? Now you're a Ginsu motherfucker. Go to town. You just got a +5 to all your swings. You can still use your prescient attack, I think, in your weapon upgrade stuff, like your arcane weapon setting it on fire and blah, blah, blah. If not, pre-buff up ahead of time. But I think you can use prescient attack and arcane accuracy, because those aren't spells. Those are like spell-like abilities or whatever. And again, that shouldn't impede their use with this on. You just can't cast spells. So pre-buff up with anything you can pre-buff up with, your blur, your haste, your expeditious retreat, shield spell, blah, blah, blah. Then activate that motherfucker as a last-ditch effort and go to town with those fucking 5 attacks, jumping now to 6 attacks. Why do I say 6? Because with a BAB of 20, your main hand, instead of getting 3 attacks, you get 4. And you still get only 2 in your offhand, because again, you only got great 2-weapon fighting and improved 2-weapon fighting, so you're always only going to have 2 in those, unless you have a speed Kukri, which doesn't exist. Another reason I don't like Kukri, but whatever. So that's 6 attacks. And if you wanted 7, I can get you 7. All you have to do is pre-buff up with haste first. See that? Or make your main weapon a speed weapon. You have the ability to do that. So again, that would be, instead of 4 attacks with your main hand, it'd be 5 now. 3 of which are at your highest BAB, then the next one at -5, and then the last one at -10. And then your offhand weapon, you'd still be at full BAB, and then -5 for the second attack. So that's 7 goddamn attacks where you're fucking chopping it up like a motherfucker with a 15 to 20 crit range, with a ×4 modifier on the goddamn crit, so that you're critting for 4 times the fucking damage, and that's before I activate that toggle that I could have done, where again, if I crit, it does another ×1, so it could have been ×5 for the fucking crit on your weapons. Yeah, you'll burn through the arcane points, but if shit needs to die, you're the guy to do it. That's why I like this build. It's not the best build, but I like it. Let's talk about these guys now. First, let's talk about their different spells. The other spell book, the Alchemist, because you know what the Mega stuff can do already. We'll talk about that in a minute. Notice the Alchemist stuff. Notice I have double buffs. You'll see the same with her in many cases. Why? These only last for caster level 8. 1 minute per caster level, so 8-minute buff, 8-minute buff, 8-minute buff. Oh wait, remember that fucking belt I made you grab? Extended version for levels 1, 2, and 3. Well, guess what level spells they get for Alchemist? 1, 2, and 3. How about for her goddamn rogue levels? Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. These ones are just because I can scribe them. Ignore that shit. But these are the only spell slots you have, are level 1, 2, and 3 spells for this low level shit. For Magus, they get all the way up to level 4, but they don't get many level 4. 5 of them. Same with her. She gets 5. So these ones don't get extended or empowered. But so what? Level 1, 2, and 3 do. And that's some fucking power. Now that's why these guys are cool. He will not use that belt. He could. He has level 1, 2, and 3 spells. And sure, empowered and extended versions are useful. He needs armor, in my opinion. These guys are just capitalizing on the fact that they can be buff bots for themselves and be fucking really good at it. So again, you get jumped in the forest. She has 1, 2, 3 spells that she can cast and go to town. She then hops after kicking their ass, goes to the fucking cave, and then she still has 1, 2, and 3 buffs that she can reactivate again and go through the fucking cave for 16 fucking minutes. Just from the Alchemist side of things. Not even talking about the fact that she could put those same damn spells over here for Magus if she so chooses. But this is decent. Notice I should point out for her spells, same as going to be for her. For her off class, the Alchemist for her, this one's going to be the Eldritch Scoundrel. She'll get 8 spells a day, 7, and 5. She'll get the same, but obviously Eldritch Scoundrel spellbook. Okay, so what will you grab here? First, let me point out some things. Besides the obvious buffs, notice that the Alchemist will have spells that neither of these guys have access to, like a healing spell, the targeted bomb and bomber's eye, that's garbage. Nothing else on this list. I'm just going to take a healing spell twice just to say fuck it. Level 2, notice again, a lot of buffs. And again, spells that neither of these guys have access to, like aid, again, another healing spell. The stuff that she has access to, but he doesn't, like delay poison. Actually, I don't think she has delay poison now that I think about it. But resist energy, they both have resist energy. He does not. But again, they're tieflings. Remember, they all had resist energy for free, just once a day. But she has it, or could have it, multiple times a day. She also has protection from arrows that she doesn't have, he doesn't have. So again, you can see how she's going to have a lot more utility than these two characters. Even lesser restoration, something that, yeah, these guys are going to have potions of that shit, but she has it on tap. She literally can just put it in her list for the day. And she can make herself immune to poison. As a soloist, this is amazing. Why? Because at level 3, she can have spells like this, and it's a poison, and she can be fucking immune to it because she casts delay poison on herself. Yes, these guys have used magic device. Yes, these guys will use magic device to activate scrolls like delay poison, death ward, and all these other cool buffs. We'll talk about that later. But the fact that she can just cast it, doesn't even need use magic device, is her bread and butter. This is why the Alchemist is a fun choice for me. All those healing spells that she has, so anything in this list, notice I even scribed the level 4, 5, and 6, because I want you to see the full list, because as soon as she takes one level of Alchemist, any of these spells at level 1 through 6, she can cast from a scroll or from a wand, and her use magic device can be a fucking 0. Bupkis, nothing. Why? Because she has training in the field. That's all that matters, is that you're a level 1 Alchemist, a level 1 Magus, and therefore at level 2, which is when that would happen, she would have access to either of the spells from both of these spell books. She just needs to have it in a scroll or a wand form, and she can cast it without needing to do a use magic device check. So, for example, cure light wounds, bark skin, aid, delay poison, cure moderate wounds, resist energy, protection from arrows, see viz, lesser resto, delay poison communal, kind of a waste, but you could do it. Heroism is a solid buff. She'll get this one too. But again, my point is, she's going to be way better than him when it comes to certain buffs. Rage, much like his transformation spell, you can't cast spells when you're under this effect, but fuck it. Remember, she's a strength-based character when it comes to 2-weapon wielding, right? Because she's got double slice, but she doesn't have a finesse training like her. So if she needs a little more strength, morale bonus to strength and con, morale bonus to will saves. Her will saves actually suck. Her armor goes down, so what? She has that cool mutagen she can chuck for dexterity and for natural armor enhancement. She can suck up a -2 penalty and still be okay. And this is not bad. So it's not the best idea ever, but as a last-ditch spell, fuck yeah, I'll use it. She even has those cool cleric spells like remove disease, remove blindness, remove poison, blah, blah, blah. And again, we'll be able to cast those from level 2 on from a scroll or a wand. Other stuff for like level 4, 5, and 6, again, she can't cast them here because you can't put them in her spell book or in her spell slots. She doesn't have any spell slots for them, but she can still cast these from scrolls. That's why I scribe them to her book just to show it to you. So she could do Death Ward that the others guys can't do, freedom of movement, greater false life. I think she can do that, but he can't. Restoration is a solid choice. Neutralize poison is decent. Level 5, spell resistance. Communal Stone's getting kind of a waste, but you could do it, I suppose. Spell resistance. Eye bite, I suppose you could do that. Legendary proportions, on the other hand. Remember, when she Ginsu chefs it up, she's not 2-weapon wielding. She's not a dex-based attacker when it comes to damage. She is for swinging, so her dex being high is always good. This does not penalize her dex, but it does buff her strength, and it's a size bonus to strength, which stacks with the mutagen bonus to strength, which could be +4. So this would be 6, so that would be 10 more strength to her character, plus the strength she already currently has on her character is 19. She could have a 29 strength from those two things, the mutagen, the gear, well, 3 things. The gear she has on, the mutagen that she chugs, and that spell, the legendary proportions. That could be awesome, because that's a, what did it say, 29 strength? That's just shy of 30. 30 would be a +10 to damage, so she'd be at +9 to damage with her weapons. You know, again, the dexterity would still dictate her swing, but a +9 to strength damage for those weapons, and if that's 5 hits in a combat round, that's solid fucking hitting. And again, she has haste, she has speed weapon buff, she could get 6 attacks around, technically speaking, and she can get sneak attack damage. You could see the appeal that this character brings to the table. Not the best build I've ever made, but again, it is a solid character, and I thought it was worth pursuing. Heal spell, another amazing spell that these guys don't have access to without use magic device. And this is an amazing fuck you, because if she's taking a solid amount of hits as a soloist, she's out there and she's taking with the high armor that these characters should probably have, the stuff that's probably going to hit them more often than not will be crits, or at the very least crit potential, which means that they roll a nat 20 to hit them, because their armor's so good that the only thing that's going to hit them is hopefully a 20. They hit them, it could have been a crit, they have to confirm it still, but if they confirm it, she gets crit, so that 203 health can rapidly plummet down to 100, like that. Well, heal spell yourself up. Again, she can't cast it from her spell book, but keep one in your pocket as a scroll or a wand. Poof, heal. That heals for upwards of 150. Bam, full health. Back in it, baby. Choppity choppity. You see how much fun she can have. Another reason why I wanted to make her wand wielder, by the way. I didn't really mention that before, but that is the real reason she went wand wielder versus her. Because her spells are extremely similar to his. Even the Eldritch Scoundrel spells that she has access to that he doesn't, they're just fiddly bits of uselessness. I mean, like, you know, enchantments and illusions and stuff that he can't do. They're still useful, don't kid yourself. But I'm just saying that for wands, you can't go wrong with healing wands. You got your Cure Light Wounds, Cure Moderate, Cure Serious, Cure Critical, Heal Spell. She has access to like a lot of cool stuff. And notice she also has access to Transformation, but then again, she would have on the Magus side of things here at level 6 too. Right there. So again, she has access, even though she can't cast these because you don't have these spell slots, she has access to these from wands and scrolls at level 2 on up, which is fucking nice. As far as spell book, she has Heroism, Haste, Displacement, See Invis Communal, because I want to pick something else again, and Rage. Yeah, again, I was running out of things to pick. I got Resist Energy Communal. But remember, these are all level 3. That spell that she, or the belt she has, remember, all that has durations. That has a duration of twice as much. So instead of 10 minutes per level, so 80 minutes for this build, it's 160. Instead of 8 crappy rounds, it's 16 solid rounds of haste. That's not bad. Same with displacement. 8 rounds jumped into 16. You can see why that belt was so important to me. And again, that's why we had dex gear and strength gear and con gear from other places that wasn't the belt. Now, yeah, that's fiddling a bit. It's definitely going out on a limb there to make this build pretty cool. I still maintain it's a solid choice, and that's just the alchemist stuff. Magus, this allows her, unlike him, who has to take these precious 8 slots and use them for slash buff, slash and grace, shocking grasp and snowball spells to try to keep up with these two. She has 8 fucking slots to do whatever the fuck she wants with, because she's got buffs on the other side, baby. So she's got 3 snowball spells, because they love their ray spells. She got another Ray of Enfeeblement. Fucking, let's actually add another one of those, because fuck that guy. And remember, these all can be empowered, because there's a die roll for all of them. Even Ray of Enfeeblement has a die roll, that 1d6. See that there? That can be empowered. And Snowball and Ray of Enfeeblement all have duration, because this is a 1-round stun, or stagger, excuse me. So now it's 2 rounds, thanks to the extend on that belt. These ones have 1 round per caster level, so now it's 2 rounds per caster level, which is 12. Remember, she's in her Magus spellbook now, so it's 24 rounds of Ray of Enfeeblement that has been empowered. And just to throw that into some kind of perspective, remember, she has a 1d6 plus 1 per 2 caster levels. So this caps out at plus 5. That's caster level 10. She's level 12. So she gets the full benefit of this, okay? Let's say she rolls poorly. She rolls a 1. Okay, just bad luck. She rolls a 1 plus the 5. She's at a plus 6. Wait, it's empowered. It's technically plus 9. Oh, wait, they make their save. 9 gets cut in half. Down to 4.5. They round down. It's a -4 to this target's strength. Minimum. That's a -2 to their swing, -2 to their damage, at least, to the bad guy she just zapped with this. And remember, she can do that at point blank fucking range and has no problem. There's no attack of opportunity there. That's pretty fucking cool. Just saying, right? This is the reason I like this build. And hers as well. So this is a solid character. Level 2 stuff, again, go heavy in on the ray beams, have enough of those fucking melee touch attacks thing, because she can still channel shit through her weapon. There's nothing wrong with that. But 4d6 of damage that could crit for 8d6 of damage versus shooting him in the face at point blank range and getting all 3 beams. 4d6, 4d6, 4d6. That's 3 of them. And it's easier to hit them with rays than it is with your weapon. And while these could crit, it's on a nat 20, remember, because there's a to-hit check. These all, again, because there's 3 to-hit checks there, that's sneak attack damage potential here too. So 4d6, 4d6, 4d6 could be 9d6, 9d6, 9d6 per beam for this character, because she gets 5d6 of sneak attack, remember? And she could still attack. I'm going to show you that trick. It's coming. I'm just taunting you with that shit, but it's fucking cool. And it's a fiddly little piece of shit. I found it the other day, and it just made me smile. And I want to show you. And again, she can throw on another buff mirror image. Here you go. Something that she didn't have on the alchemist side of things, by the way, so that's why that's there. And here's another spell, and just to harp on this a little bit, remember, their spellcaster level / spell pen sucks. Well, that's when you get spells like no spell resistance. Those, they really shine, these 2 characters. So here's Glitter Dust, no spell resistance, and if they blind the target, right? What does that mean? Sneak attack, baby. They can't see me. It's like I'm invisible. Same with the rest of the team. So that's something she would appreciate, I thought. Other stuff. Level 3, more buffs. Haste. Nothing wrong with another haste spell, especially one that's 12 rounds per level. Oh, wait, it's double because it's still level 3. So it's 24 rounds. That's pretty fucking cool. Same with displacement. Same with the duration on the vampiric touch. Now, the downside of this one is it's going to cap out because she's caster level 12. She's not getting into 10d6. She's getting 6d6, which is sucky. But again, she'll channel that through her weapon. If it crits, and she has a good chance of critting, it could be jumped back up from 6d6 to 12d6. And remember, it's level 3, so it's empowered. So it's 6d6 base. Being empowered, it's technically like 9d6, so it's not that bad. Just saying. And Fireball, that's at full strength. Just caster level 12. This caps out at 10. Same with Lightning Bolt, so those are working fine. This one, and empowered, by the way, so it's 10d6. It's actually 15d6 for her. This one gets extended, and it can be empowered because you see that 1d4 plus 1. I believe that works on this. So that's how long it clings to them after they leave the cloud. So if they're puking their guts out, the minimum is 2, the maximum is 5. Well, if it's empowered, the minimum is now 3. The maximum is 7. So you can see the appeal here. And there's a duration, 1 round per level of the cloud itself. That's extended. So again, she's getting all that shit buffed with that one fucking belt. Then, Stone Skin. We got that on the other side, but she can't cast it because she doesn't have level 4 alchemist spells. She can get it from a wand or a scroll or whatever, but now she can actually slot it this way in her spell book from the Mega side of things. She has greater invis twice. Again, she's sneak attacking it. She wants that shit. Yeah, she can use potions and wands and all that other fun stuff. Remember, her potions last twice as long. But again, why waste that shit when she has a spell book that replenishes itself every fucking day? Feel free to use greater invis a couple times. I even put in Dragon's Breath. And again, you gotta love the beauty of the Magus level 12. This is a 12d6, 1d6 per caster level. 12d6 is where it caps out as caster level 12. So they actually, both of these characters will benefit from Dragon's Breath. Full strength. Fucking awesome. And yeah, no spell resistance, that's a lie. So they are susceptible to that because their spell pen sucks. But so what? Reflex for half save, that's still a thing too. But they have at least a decent DC check. All three of these guys do. 13 intelligence bonus, remember? So this is a solid spell for them in 4 different elemental damage types. So this is one of their few chances of getting some elemental damage along with, or AoE damage for that matter, like Fireball and Lightning Bolt. But again, spell resistant targets, that's going to suck. That's why she goes back to Ginsu chefing it up. Now let's talk about her. I'm going to grab in here, just another snowball spell. Let's talk about her rogue levels first. Notice her snowball spell. She gets snowball spells over here. Shocking Grasp over here too. Full strength, even at caster level 8. 5d6, 5d6 plus 1. Remember point blank shot. So again, she can cast either of those here, and that's still a viable option. She can get magic missile at full strength. Nope, sorry, 1 less than full strength. So she's getting 4 missiles instead of 5. Because she's caster level 8, not caster level 9. There's a way around that though, and I'll show you that trick too. She can get Raven Feedman over here if she wants to. Again, remember the rogue spell book for her is just the Magus spell book and then some. It includes all the wizard spells. So shit that he can't get access to, she will. She's basically like able to cast at least level 1 through 6 anyway, wizard spells. It says that she has access to these. I know this is a lie. It lets me scribe them though. You see that? So I mention it because she may need to do, like say, banishment. She may need to use magic device check for this spell. If not, though, that's fucking amazing because there's some really good spells at level 7, 8, and 9 that if she finds a wand or a scroll of these things, like Fiery Body, Energy Drain, Foresight's amazing, Mind Blank is awesome. Level 8, there's a good one too called, what the fuck are you? Sea Mantle. Fucking extra protection. Slot up on these fucking scrolls like fucking crazy. And if she can't cast them just free, she'll still do a use magic device check. I invested in use magic device for all 3 characters. I'm about to show you that here in a moment. But she has really good spells for her rogue levels. Again, got her buffs doubled up just like her. So that belt, twice as long. So 16 minutes of buff. Got some extended duration on this for the 1 round of staggered being 2 rounds. And of course the extra damage, 50% stronger because the empowered. And the ray spells, remember they love their ray spells. And these, remember, are another thing I keep forgetting to point out. Snowball, no spell resistance. This is why they fucking love it, because their spell pen sucks ass. Now, 2, this is where she gets trippy compared to her. She has more buffs. She has weird buffs, like Sense Vitals. It's lame. It's only going to get her best case scenario like 2d6. There's a way to make it 3d6. I'll show you that later. But by and large, she's got her touch attack still, an extra 1, because again, full strength, doesn't matter what level her caster level is. As long as she can cast this, it's always going to be 4d6 of damage. She's got this one here. It's not amazing damage, but it's auto hit. I thought I'd point that out to you, because 3d6 plus 1 per 2 caster levels, so 4 d6 extra. So that's a 7d6 of damage. Wait, it's empowered, remember? So 7d6 times 1.5, whatever the fuck that turns into. So that's solid damage still. She'll appreciate that. She has a really nice ray spell here in Acid Arrow. It's not full strength because it's only caster level 8, so it doesn't last very long, but it's the 2d4 you really care about, the very first initial spike anyway. And that's the longest possible range for a sneak attack she could give you. That's not bad. Just saying, that's fun. You can do that at point blank range, but you can also do that at long range to start off the fight. Before the fight starts, that first volley, the sneak attack because they're flat-footed, because the fight hasn't started. Just saying, kind of cool. She even has a Burning Arc for some AoE damage if she so chooses. It's not at full strength. It's 8d6, not 10d6. So it's a little subpar, but remember, it's also empowered. So 8d6 suddenly jumps up to 14d6. No, 12d6 damage. And then it bounces through like 1 or 2 targets. So yeah, whatever. But it's still cool. And again, she could have done like Cat's Grace, Bull's Strength, Bear's Endurance, blah, blah, blah. And probably should. as she's leveling up until she finds those belts, because again, more dex is more dex, right? See invisibility, something he doesn't have access to, I don't think. Resist energy, again, something he don't have access to normally. Protection from arrows, mirror images, more of those. Invisibility, again, you can attack from sneak attack this way, but only once. The minute you attack, bam, it's over. But Hideous Laughter and all the enchantments and stuff that the wizards have access to, she'll have access to at least up to level 6, same with illusions. And there's some good fucking illusion and enchantment spells at 1 through 6. Again, she'll need scrolls or wands to do it. So what? He would have to do a use magic device check on that shit, and that sucks ass. She even has these spells on this side, summons, create pit spells, and again, if you're going solo, no spell resistance. You can control your character, obviously, so you don't have to worry about falling in the fucking pit. Let them fall in the pit. Take them out of the battle until, and it won't last for long because you're casting it from a scroll or from yourself, and it's only like 8 rounds or so. Well, extended, of course, with your belt on, but still, it's not that long. And I think if the devs haven't added it, mods have, where you can cancel spells. So that grain of salt on that one. Level 3, last level that she'll have access to for her spell book as a rogue. Notice that we got another sneak attack that he doesn't have access to, or another raise spell, I should say, which can sneak attack, battering blast. It's only 1 ball, so there's that, but it's force damage, and it can be empowered, so it can be 76 or so of damage, and that's kind of cool. And it might knock a target back. It's unlikely with hitting him only once, but again, she can get sneak attack off of that shit. And yeah, she's only getting like 3d6, 5d6 if she casts that spell on herself first, but again, that doesn't last very long. 8 rounds. Well, 16 with the belt on. Still helpful. And again, heroism, double up on that. Give me a nice haste spell, sure, why not? Slow just to be a dick to the bad guys, sure, okay. And while it may fail in that, there's spell resistance, it's AoE. You're probably going to hit more than one guy with that, where it's going to be, someone's going to fail a save, and there's not going to be spell resistance for everybody. If you don't like that, grab Spike Pit. Grab another Vampire Touch, and there's no wrong answer here. And for level 4, 5, and 6, for sure, she has access to all these spells as far as scrolls and wands are concerned. And this is a very long list. Animate Dead could come in super handy. Grab a fucking scroll or 10 of those little fuckers that set up flanking for your sneak attack love, right? And then they're immune to all kinds of cool shit like poisons, diseases, cold spells. Definitely want to get yourself things like Rainbow Pattern, stuff that he doesn't have access to. That's an amazing fuck you spell. Innervation, another ray spell for her. Other summons, of course, level 5. I'm looking for stuff that's specific to her, not him, just so we're clear. Constricting Coils, nice paralysis spell that he doesn't have access to. Echolocation, that's a nice buff spell for yourself that he doesn't have access to. Blind Sight, not blind fighting or blind sense, they're different. But it's still helpful for when you're trying to target those invisible fucktards. Illusion spells like Shadow Evocation, Phantasm Web, those are awesome. Hold Monster, just like Constricting Coils, solid paralysis spell. And again, remember when they're paralyzed, helpless, that's the definition of flat-footed. Sneak attack love, coup de grace, all that shit's applicable for her. Mind Fog, just a general fuck you spell. Better summons, of course, different kinds of summons, no less. What else you got here? Okay, what's not? Let me scroll down here. Oh, no, that's the end. Okay, level 6. She'd have access to Chains of Light that he doesn't have. That's another paralysis spell, a different kind of paralysis spell. No spell resistance on that paralysis spell. Cold Ice Strike is something he doesn't have access to. A swift action spell where you fire it off like instantly kind of shit, which is pretty badass. Greater Heroism, a better buff than he has access to. Better buff than she has access to, by the way, because she gets Heroism, not Greater Heroism. So she would have access to this on tap. That's a +4 to her swing, +4 to saves, temp HP, besides, and just an all-around solid reason for going the way we've done. And I know I'm harping on some shit here, but it is important to point out that there is differences between the builds, and I like the fact that they don't need to use magic device high, early to use some of the cooler shit that they have access to in the game. Okay, so spell-wise, we've done hers. Magus, good. More race spells, more touch attacks, and again another mirror image. Again, she had that on the other build too. This is 12 rounds per caster level, or 12 minutes, per caster level, times 2 thanks to the belt. Some touch attacks again, they're subpar, but these are 66 again, empowered version and extended because there's a duration, I think. Actually, I take that back. I think it's still 1 hour. The belt's there, but I don't think you can extend a vampiric touch. It's one of those weird ones that has a duration, but it doesn't work. So I don't think you can extend that. So I take that back. But it's still an hour. Fucking yeah, you'll burn through that no problem anyway. But displacement's good. Fireball, lightning bolt at full strength, at least at 10d6 anyway, and of course empowered version. Haste, extended. Got a couple greater invis, because why the hell not? Set up a sneak attacker for some love, stone skin, and again the same dragon's breath or solid full 12d6 of damage. 4 different elements to pick from. Just saying, there's some fun to be had with the other builds. Now, on the trick, let's show you the trick. To do the trick proper, you need a quickened meta magic rod of some kind. I'm gonna give one to her, and he'll take one that's called the Rod of the Fearless. See how it's a lesser quickened meta magic rod? That means it's level 1, 2, and 3 spells only. Now, quick save that mess. Notice, I'm going to show you how it doesn't work, and I'm going to show you how it does work. Okay, so the rod's on, rod's on, rod's on. We've quick saved. The buff's on. You need to prove to yourself that your spell strike and spell combat are still on. Because remember, we're going to do our touch attack and still show you how to hit 5 times with your 2-weapon fighting. And then the last thing we need to prove to ourselves is that we really are using our 2-weapon fight. Right? 2, and got the good ones. And same with her. Okay, so we believe that we have 2 weapons in each, a weapon in each hand, and we'd like to do the spell strike, spell combat with our melee touch attack, like Shocking Grasp, let's say. So let's spawn a bad guy. I've saved. Do it again just to prove it to myself. Control F10. I'm going to spawn a bad guy. That's why I love this mod. This is how I can theory craft and show you guys shit. So we're going to spawn a unit. I've picked one. A level 15 bullet. It says CR 12, but it says 15 here. I don't know what that's about. Make sure it's hostile. And all I had to do to find it was do CR:15. That's what this little tooltip here tells you. CR:15 gives you a laundry list of dudes that are considered level 15 CR. For whatever reason, this one's a level 12, but it says 15. And they are tough, as you'll see. Make sure they're hostile, otherwise you're just going to be beating the shit out of the thing and it's not going to fight back. And you spawn it, every time you click this, you spawn 1. Okay, and it's going to spawn right where the main character is, which is why I needed to give her invisibility potion, which is why you see my characters are already invisible, because she will get her ass handed to her if we're not careful. Unpause it.
Their life ends here.
There he is. Okay, now, the main character, this one here, we're not going to have her do anything. This character is... What does it say this is? Redone Vivi. Okay, so this is this guy here. Okay, I want to make sure I'm using the right one. I use the same picture like a dumbass. Oh yeah, I can see the damn green on the ground. Okay, so here she is. Okay, now this is not going to work. I'm going to explain why, but I'm going to show you how it's not going to work, and then I'm going to show you how to fix it. So again, this is what you expect. Okay, we got all our buffs on. We got our togs on for spell combat, spell strike, our arcane strike, our piranha strike, extra damage. We got our toggle on for quicken meta magic rod. That should have been enough, you would think, to do what you need to do the trick that we're going to do, which is basically use your touch attack, quickened, through your weapon, and then swing multiple times. Now, the goal would have been to hit 6 times. Why do I say 6? Well, first, let's get off of that real quick to show you what I mean. We say 6 because if this worked like it should for one-handed swing, you should get 4 attacks with your main hand. You get your extra swing here, then attack, attack, attack. If she was one-handing it, she would get 4 attacks with the spell into the very first swing, or the very first hit. Say it that way. That's when it dispels. And the moment it hits, whether it's the first hit or the 3rd hit or the 4th hit, that's when it dispels the spell. So again, she would get 4 hits. If we're doing 2-weapon fighting like this, you get 4 hits, you would think, and then 2 from here. So you should get 6. That's not going to work. So I'd hate to disillusion you on that, but I will get you 5. Don't worry about that, and it will discharge the spell. I'm going to show you how it doesn't work, so that when you see it, you're like, this doesn't work. That's right, because you did it wrong. Let me explain why. So again, we have our buff on, got our little quick and meta magic rod on, and I'll show you that it uses up a charge, and it's going to waste your time. You're going to take a Shocking Grasp. We can do this for all 3 characters the same way. To prove that it doesn't work for all 3 of them, then I'm going to show you how to fix it for all 3 of them. Ready? I'm going to click the target with Shocking Grasp, and it'll channel it through your weapon, It will do it, but it'll only swing once. See that? And critical missed it. Way to fucking go, champ. Now is it his turn? Yes. So again, we do prove to ourselves that our toggle's on. Prove to ourselves that our buffs are on. So we got these two. We got the Piranha Strike and Arcane Strike, and we got that toggle there. Doesn't matter that toggle's on. That's just the buff our weapon. And again, here we go, getting ready to hit him. See how it says ×5? He'll swing 5 times. Why? Because again, he's got 2-weapon fighting. He's got 2 weapons in his hands. So it should be 5 attacks. We're going to do the same thing. Shocking Grasp. He's only going to swing once. And it did hit. Good job, by the way. So that's your weapon attack. 1d3. I normally don't give a shit about that. The 24 damage there. That's very nice. And it could have crit, so that could have been 3 or 4 times the damage for him. 4 times. 26 from the 66 Unholy. That's from the first hit with that Weasel weapon. Remember, both weapons have that same mechanic. The first time you hit a target with that weapon, it will do 66 damage. That's the Unholy you're seeing there. And both weapons do that. So you could have done 66 and 66 if you did back-to-back swing. That's pretty awesome. Then you switch to another target and repeat it. But then here's our empowered, remember the belt, Shocking Grasp. So 5d6 plus 10. Where did the 10 come from? The necklace. Again, I'll show you that here after this is over. But the necklace and the robe was the reason that we did that for these 2 characters specifically. Again, he won't do that. We just did it for comparison's sake. So he's done with his round. Let's get to the other character. That's the Eldritch Scoundrel over here. Can prove to you that she's got the toggles on. Yep, there's there. We got these 2. Arcane Strike, Piranha Strike. She's even got another toggle called the Bewildering Injury. If she sneak attacks, which she should if she hits him, you'll see he goes all fuzzy looking, and that's the Bewildering Injury, or the Debilitating Injury, whatever one you pick. But we're going to do the typical Shocking Grasp. Bam. Okay. She got 31. Oh, he did not get debilitated. Oh, he didn't take sneak attack damage. What the fuck? Alright, well, whatever. Maybe he's immune to sneak attack. Anyway, 31 damage. Nice solid 28 damage. Remember, she's dex-based, so her damage for the weapon is going to be better than the other 2, usually. And then she's getting the empowered electric attack, 5d6 plus 10. Again, just like him, just like her, because of the belt. And the plus 10 is coming from the necklace and the robe. An extra 5 because of 5d6, 5 dice, plus 1 damage per die from the necklace, plus 1 damage per die from the robe. That's why it's plus 10. Okay, that's solid damage. And again, these guys don't do much damage anyway, so every little bit helps. Plus 10, I'll take it. So that's pretty sweet. And that plus 10 would have critted. It was already empowered, so it got plus 10. Technically, it's plus 15. And then if it would have critted, again, it would have been another 50 or twice as much. So again, you could see the appeal here. So if that for example, I know I'm backtracking here, but if that was full strength, like she had maximized for some reason, that was 30, 10, 40, empowered would have made it 60, and then if it critted, it would have been 120. Okay, so again, it is worth doing these things, but like you said, you're missing on all those swings, and that's when it's not worth doing. So now let's show you how to set it up where you actually get the multiple swings. It's a weird fucking trick. And I would have never thought of doing it. It was pure dumb luck that I didn't have this thing on. And it worked. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's weird. So let's show you how to do it. So when the characters are ready, we just spawn a passive. Sounds like he's pissed already. Alright. So here is this first guy. Now, again, everything's on. Got our togs on. Got our spell combat, spell strike, that one there, all our little ring buffs, the enduring blade, that don't matter. Piranha Strike, don't matter. Arcane Strike, shut it off. That's plus 5 damage we just lost out on. But watch what happens when I swing. Again, you still have to have your Metamagic Rod, your Quicken Metamagic Rod for an appropriate spell. Well, good news is the 3 touch attacks you give a fuck about, well 4, you have your infinite use one, are level 3 or lower. So any Metamagic Rod that's a Quicken Metamagic Rod works for you. Okay, so just keep track of the charges, because once you run out of all those charges, you're done for. But let's do a multi-hit with the Shocking Grasp. Okay. Monkey butts. I knew you'd love that, right? I don't know why it works, and I don't fucking care. Don't you dare tell the devs. I'm gonna use that shit. That's amazing. And again, I got 5 attacks. 5, not 6. Like I said, remember, we still got 3 in the main hand, 2 in the offhand. So it didn't do anything special other than that. But it still allowed me to discharge the spell. And again, it's still empowered, still the same everything. And it's if the weapon crits, it crits. So that still works too. I've checked that as well. You're still getting your damage here. You're still getting your unholy damage for the first strike there. And then you get multiple attacks besides. And if you right click up here in the first hit, you'll see how many strikes you got. 1 out of 5. It's still 5. So again, he can still do it. He just is not getting the 5 damage, 5 damage, 5 damage from the arcane strike. So he's losing out still. That sucks. But he's got 5 attacks instead of just 1. And I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Now the reason that is okay, and again, I don't know why that arcane strike interferes with it. That's fucking weird. And it does the same for both these characters. But the reason I'm okay with that is, again, it still gives me my 5 attacks back. And sneak attacks back as well for these 2 other characters. So I thought that was pretty slick and worth mentioning. And one other trick I want to show you. So let's do it on redone Vivi. So she has all her togs on. You got the little quicken med magic rod. Notice 3 charges. And I need to point that out because, again, we're going to do something here. I'm going to shut off the arcane strike because, again, we have to have that off. But instead of using a spell that does damage, I'm going to use a cantrip. The infinite use fatigue. Touch of fatigue, right? So I can do this. And again, you'd be like, why bother? Well, first, let me show you. 1, remember, touch fatigue still has an effect. It's fatigue if they fail, which they're probably not going to. But if you can use it, you should. And it's 2 reasons I want to show this. 1 is that the touch of fatigue will still work, and I still get my 5 attacks. Again, you still have to have arcane strike off. So watch that. And I'll show you the check. Oh, she critted on that first hit, too. You mean bitch. So there's her crit, 1 out of 5 attacks. So still got 5 attacks like normal, like we expected. 3 in the main hand, 2 in the offhand. Notice something else. Do you see spell combat penalty? No. See the -2? That's from 2 weapon wielding, baby. That has nothing to do with spell combat. Spell combat actually shows up in brackets like this. It'll say -2, bracket, spell combat, bracket. Spell combat's not kicking in for whatever fucking reason. Don't ask why. Probably because it's a swift action. Maybe that's what it is. I don't fucking care. And I just thought that was fucking slick. I wanted to show that to you. So you're not at another -2 penalty. That's another reason I like this. But it did discharge the spell. That's the other thing I wanted to show you. That it does work. And you know it because he did a fortitude save. He passed it. That's not my fault. We did the best we could. It is a level 0 spell. What's the DC check? 10 base. Level the spell 0, so still 10, plus your caster stat, which in our case is intelligence, 13 modifier. So 10 plus 13 is 23. See the DC 23? It did work. But he passed it, so it didn't aim good. But that's my point. It's still there. And again, it did not impede you with a -2 thanks to spell focus, or sorry, spell combat. That's fine. So that's awesome. And she managed to fucking crit the little son of a bitch like that. 3 times the damage. Fuck you, asshole. And I thought that was worth pointing out to you guys. So that solves our problem. Again, I don't know why it does that. But if you have Arcane Strike on, shut that shit off if you want to channel. And again, on the next combat round, just turn it back on. The other thing I wanted to show you, and now that the spell has discharged, I can show this to you. Remember, we had our Metamagic Rod on? Notice that for cantrips now, you can use the Quick and Metamagic Rod, and it does not drain it. You see that? You have to have at least 1 charge. 3 obviously is full, but 1 charge, if I used it like on a Shocking Grasp and the Shocking Grasp, I still would have 1 charge, right? And I could use it on cantrips. How do I know this? Watch this. We'll finish her turn. And of course his turn. Now this is our redid Eldritch Scoundrel, right? Let's do it on her. And again, I'm assuming the same is applicable. Leave the Metamagic Rod on, shut off Arcane Strike, and she's going to do, I think this will work. She might be close enough, she might not be. Let's actually 5-foot stutter step for this shit. And I want to make sure that I'm on top of this jackass. Why? Because she needs to swing with her weapon. She's going to shoot a ray spell, one of her cantrips, and then swing, swing, swing. I think this will work. I haven't tested this officially yet, so this might be fiddly. But, again, prove myself. I got my rod on, yeah, and then I got the Arcane Strike off. Yes, okay. So let's do Jolt. It's the spell that she has that neither of these two do. Okay, so infinite use cantrip. Ready?
This will hurt.
Oh, yeah. You just have to re-click them. In your face, game. So what did I just do for you? So again, remember the reason that we went point blank master for these two guys? So they could shoot rays at point blank range, foof, in their face, possibly get sneak attack. It's an easier chance to hit because it's a touch attack. So it's not channeled through the weapon where the weapon has to hit. So she's swinging at a touch armor of 18 versus her next swing, and it did hit. It did 6 damage, 1d3 plus 3. Where did the 3 come from? 1 came from point blank shot. Remember, it's 1 bonus to your swing and 1 to your damage. That 1 does work. Weapon specialization does not work for ray spells, which is a sucky, because that should be at plus 5 instead of plus 3. The other 2 came from the necklace and the robe. Remember, 1 die, 1d3. So there's 1 die there, and a plus 1 damage from the necklace, a plus 1 damage from the robe per die. That's why it's 3 total. And again, it didn't work as far as sneak attack, but that's because this guy can't be sneak attacked apparently. But if it was a sneak attackable opponent and she had set herself up for sneak attack, she could have hit easily with that one. Set up that beautiful, where the hell is it at? No, that's staggering. This character, where are you at? Oh, I switched targets. God damn it. Hold on a second. Do it like this. The bewildering injury. There it is. The armor class would have gone down if she would have sneak attack. Remember, as soon as sneak attack goes off, it doesn't matter if it's the first hit, the second hit, or the 5th hit. Whenever it hits for sneak attack, this fires off, and I don't think there's a way to be immune to it. So if that's the case, if she could have sneak attacked that opponent, she could have been on the next subsequent attacks at a -4 to the target's armor. -2 for everyone else, -4 for her, remember? So that should be a -4 for her next follow-up swing with those 5 fucking Kukris swings, meaning she has a better chance of hitting those 5 times, and they could get sneak attack as well. So think about this. She's only getting like 3d6 of sneak attack damage, but so what? That could have been 6 hits, 5 from the Kukris, 1 from the ray spell. And the ray spell would have done electrical damage, or whatever damage the ray spell did, and the Kukri would have done precision damage. Bam, 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 bam. So that could have been 6 extra attacks if, again, that's pie in the sky dreaming. If all 6 attacks hit, that's 3d6 of damage per. So times that by 6. So that's 18d6 of extra damage we just added to this character in that combat round. And it did not use up the meta magic rod. I'll prove that to you when we get back to her turn. Let's just pass turns and get to it. Second loser. Oh, it hurt. On my face. Yeah, your turn too. Okay, first, he used up a charge from Shocking Grasp. I'll just finish him off. Let's do the... Oh, let's just show you that it works also on, say, the Vampire Touch. Oh, that was brutal. Look at that 54 health. And that was empowered, I guarantee it. See that? Yeah. And again, it's only an hour. No, it is 2 hours. Oh, so the extended belt does work on that. The reason I say that before earlier, pause it real quick, was that I tried to use extended meta magic feat on a Vampire Touch and it wouldn't let me. So I didn't think it would work here. So the fact that it does work is awesome. So now it's a 2 hour buff. You won't need it for 2 hours, but not the point. I'll fucking take it. But the point is not only does it work, but it did use up the charge. See that? But on these two characters, remember they did cantrips. Full 3, full 3. See that? And yeah, it's not ideal because you have to shut off. Why are these both off? Why is it Arcane Strike twice? What the hell's going on with you? Get the hell down there. For some reason, not letting me turn Arcane Strike back on. There it is. That was because the game was paused. Okay. Anyway, yeah, you have to be fiddly. You know, turning it on, turning it off. Just remember, leave it in your tray, turn it back on when you're done. You know, the reason I say I don't mind having to shut this off to do this trick for obvious reasons. Yeah, I lose out on that 5 damage, but again, I get 5 attacks back, so it's totally worth doing. But when you run out of spells, remember, because he's going to run out of spells. He ain't got many spells. But when you start running out of them attacks, or you just don't want to use that, leave that shit on. That's 5 extra damage per hit. And you got 5 swings in a combat round right now. Let's make it 6. Here is your... Well, first let's talk about this. I know this video is forever, guys. It can't be helped. Let's give you just a generic Kukri. Okay, let's go back to our plus ones. Okay. Nice little +1 Kukri. Okay, nothing fancy. Solid swing. Just to show you on the character. You got a 24 to your swing. Very nice. 21 to your damage. Again, you're using that full dex modifier now, so you know you're getting all that money. And again, you got the Piranha Strike and all that jazz on. Is it keeping update for the Arcane Strike? Is on. Maybe it's because it's paused. Sometimes it takes a moment to catch up. So we'll see. Yeah, there's 26. Okay, I'll say it seemed like it was a little low. So we're at 26 damage with this thing, not counting the fiddly bits. And again, ×3 because it's a ×2 normally. Remember, he gets the ×1 modifier increase. So solid damage. Kris on this thing is going to do 3 times the damage, so we're well over 75. Bam. He's got penetrating strike, greater penetrating strike. So even if they have resistance, he's lowering that by 10. Boom. And then he can just chop like crazy with this and still use his infinite use cantrip or his shocking grasp, his corrosive touch, his frigid touch, or his vampire touch through his weapon and swing and get 4 attacks. Remember, he gets 1 extra if he's doing this one-handed. So that's 4. I could get you, oops, wrong thing. I could get you more. Let's show you how I get you more. So when you're one-handed wielding, you can do a speed upgrade. See that? This takes 3 points. What do we mean by 3 points? Remember, when you're leveling up your Sword Saint, or these guys that have a partial Sword Saint dip, each one of these milestones is a +1. So there's +1, +2, all the way up to +5. They only got to +3. Okay, that's when they stopped here at level 12, 1 shy of +4. It really sucks for them. He's getting all of it, so he's getting a +5. So I can make this a +5 weapon. I can take a normal Kukri and make it a +5 weapon. But I can't make it better than +5 without getting weird. So let's explain how that works. So you see the enhancement +1s there? When I click this button to buff my weapon, let's actually just do this real quick. I'll do a quick save. So when I click this button here to upgrade my weapon, I'll even shut off the enduring blades just so it's just a generic click. So you have 20x uses a day. So if I click this, it'll become a +5 enhancement on top of the +1, but never more than a total of +5. So there's already a +1 there, so I'm only going to add a +4. Watch this. Click it, pause the game. It's only going to last for a minute. See it right there, 59 seconds. Look at the weapon, +1 and temporary enhancement +4. Why is it not +5? Because the total from the weapon and the temporary enhancement can never exceed 5. Okay, so technically what I'm telling you is I wasted 1. Well, where would you use to not waste it? Well, remember all those other cool buffs you had? Like you can turn it on fire. That takes 1. Make it a cold damaging weapon. That takes 1. Same for shock. I could make it keen. We don't need it because I have improved critical, but until that time, that takes a point. Speed takes 3. That's why these guys can at least make a speed weapon because they have a +3 enhancement. They can take all that +3 enhancement, waste it all, but make it a speed weapon and by doing so. Nothing wrong with that. I can do that, but that takes 3. Let's do it, matter of fact, just to show you. All right, we're going to do speed weapon. Just activate that, leave the toggle running, and then click this button. Make sure you're paying attention to the right one because these guys look very similar. Click this one that looks like a sword that's on fire or whatever. Click that. Okay, now I just made a speed weapon enhancement. Look at it now. See how it's 1 was always there. Temporary enhancement now only +2. Why 2? Remember, it's a total of 5. There's 2. How much did the speed buff cost? 3. 3 and 2 is 5. See how I didn't waste anything? It's only a +3 weapon though now. But now it's a speed weapon. That gave me an extra attack. Okay? So why does this matter? For the normal stuff, it's not usually that important. But when you get into the kick-ass weapons, like, say, the Weasel motherfuckers, that are the +5, my enhancement buff is useless now. Because +5 is already there. So I have 5 points that I want to burn. You understand that? So here's your way of burning 5 points. Let's say you want to do the Brilliant Energy. That's 4. And then my favorite, Bane, that's 1, but it also costs more points. You see that? It's different, but still takes only 1 plus. This takes 4 pluses. Enduring doesn't take more pluses. It does take more pool points. See the 10? Watch it go down when I activate this toggle. See, not 6, but now it'll last me for 20 goddamn minutes. Click it, unpause it, pause it again, And I usually shut these back off when I'm done with them because I don't like seeing the spinning number, the toggles. They confuse me. Everybody's different on that. But let's go back to looking at the weapon. Now, what do we expect? First, before we go look at it, I can tell you what's going to happen. It's already a +5 weapon. Nothing there is changing. I added Bane, and I added Bring Energy. One takes a point. The other takes 4 points. So all 5 points weren't wasted at all. They were used for something. So it's still a +5 weapon. And then it has the Bane property on it and the Bring Energy property on it. And again, it's now because I endured it with the Enduring Blade. That's this weird toggle right here. That is when you activate that for using up more pool points, instead of it lasting for 1 minute, it's 1 minute per Sword Saint level. So he's level 20, so it's a 20-minute buff now. See that? That's nice. Now go look at your weapon. Main weapon, only the main one, not the offhand one. Main weapon. Still the +5, still destructive, but see the Bring Energy and the Bane, temporary, boom, added to it. No waste. Wait, this is the only way to make a +5 weapon better than +5 with the Bane upgrade. What do I mean? Remember, Bane is not being taken into account here. Bane is another +2 to the swing, +2 to the damage, so we will actually get a 26, and then it does 2d6 of damage to the target. How do I know all that? Read the tooltip. Right here. Against a designated foe, Bane is a Bane weapon against everybody. Normally, you get a weapon and it has the Bane property. It says Undead Bane, Giant Bane. So it's a Bane weapon against undead or giants or whatever. You see that? This is a generic Bane weapon, which means it's a designated foe as everybody he swings at. That's a +2 to his swing, a +2 to his damage, and then another 2d6 of damage on top of that for that main fucking weapon. So that's a mean son of a bitchin' weapon right now. So it's going to hit more often than that guy now because it's +2 to its swing. It's actually going to be a 28 versus the 26. It'll be a 26 damage instead of the 24. And then another 2d6, which you're not seeing on every strike. And that's like force damage, so it's not resisted at all. It's just fucking just mean. That's awesome because you're going to get +5 weapons for all these characters. Now, they can't do Bane. They can't do Bring Energy. They don't get high enough to do either of those. He does, so he's different than them. This is a way to get him to catch back up to their damage because of their sneak attack love. And unlike them, where they have to set up sneak attack to get that 5d6 or 3d6 with their attacks, he's getting 2d6 on at least this 3 attacks here for free all the time. He just has to hit with it. Has nothing to do with whether they're flat-footed or not. So he's solid hitting son of a bitch. Okay? Well, that's awesome. Now, the last thing to talk about before we get out of here is gear for him. Remember, I showed you gear for them. What gear would I recommend for him? Well, not this crap. Let's be clear on this. First, let's talk about the necklace and the robe. This is what these two girls will be using, in my opinion. Notice it's a bonus 1 damage per die rolled for any spell that they cast that's fire damage, electric damage, cold damage, or acid damage. And I believe, remember how they got that Scorching Ray free spell? Star Soldier's Gauntlet, that's free. That's at every round. It's an at-will ability. That's 4d6, 46, and 46. And it's ray spells. There's a hit check. And they get sneak attack. They can sneak attack that every goddamn round if they so choose. They never run out of that spell because it's built into the gloves. That's awesome. That means they don't even need to slot Scorching Ray anymore. They can put other shit in their fucking spell book because they have Scorching Ray for free. Now, the downside is I don't think that they can Scorching Ray with this and then swing with their weapon, because this is not a swift action or anything like that. This is a use this or use that kind of thing. But that's okay. And they can still do that at point blank shot. They get all those bonuses besides, and they can do it at point blank range and not provoke attacks of opportunity because they have point blank mastery. It is a ray spell. That's cool for them. This damage works, I believe, on those beams. It definitely works on Scorching Ray. It should work on this as well. If that's the case, instead of 4d6 of damage, remember this is +1 per die. That's 4 die. But there's another thing that you get here from the robe, the same bonus. So they stack. +1 turns into now +2 for those fire spells. So 4d6 + 8 per beam. So 46 + 8, 46 + 8, 46 + 8. Wait, we're not done yet. Then 5d6 of sneak attack damage per beam. 3d6 of sneak attack damage per beam. Best case scenario could be 5, but let's just keep to what she has without spells. So 3d6 and 5d6 per beam. Wait, because those are fire damage, I believe this kicks in again. So 5d6 turns into 5d6 + 10 per beam, 3d6 plus 6 per beam, and you can see the fun you can have with these two characters. And again, this is why we went this route. So I'm pointing this out because he's not going to do this trick because he's not going to be using the gloves. He's not a point blank master guy. He's the Ginsu chef son of a bitch. So what we need him to be is we need him to be tough. So that's why we're taking these off, just so we're clear on this. And I should have pointed out, and I will do so on here, for the robes, it's not just fire, acid, electric, and cold. It's also force. Not that that matters. I mean, she gets one spell, well, two. Magic Missile and Battering Blast have force damage. That's not that impressive, but it is there. But the other thing, no spell pen plus 4. Their spell pen sucks. Remember, their caster levels are bad. Plus 4 is at least helpful, at least moving in the right direction. So that's kind of nice. And the best part, for ray spells, plus 4 to their attack rolls. To all their ray spells. They are the ray caster fiends, right? So plus 4 to their swing. Fuck yeah. Just saying, this was well thought out. It wasn't that I was being weird and silly when I made this video a year ago. Now I can show it to you, though. Now let's go to him, show you what we're going to do for him. Well, first, we're not going to wear that dumbass belt. Let's give him the right one. Belt of Physical Perfection plus 8. Still wearing the hat for the time being. I don't need this cloak because I already have a con bonus of plus 8. So now my con's better than them. See the 203, see the 243? So his is better. Take that off and we'll find something else. Keeping the ring. Don't need the dexterity ring because I got the dexterity in the belt. Same with the gloves. I don't need the strength. I got the strength from the belt. Look at all the shit that just opened up for me. Now I still want the bracers. I still want that ring. Still want this hat probably. Talk about that in a minute. Still want the boots because I got like the extra armor. So now what do I need? Let's start talking about armor. First thing to talk about, we're not going to use the robe. What robe to get? Well, we have choices. These aren't the only choices, but these are the ones I slotted up. So Robe of the True Master, for example, deflection bonus plus 5. Normally that's on my ring. So if I'm not getting a ring that gives me deflection or a robe or a cloak or a necklace that gives me deflection, I can get it from here. And I get spell resistance. It's only 18, but it's free. And I get plus 4 to saving throws. Now that's not plus 5 or plus 6, which I can normally get from my cloak, but plus 4 is still pretty fucking good. And I get a bonus to spell pen plus 2. Remember, he is a solid spell caster. A plus 2 to spell pen is a boon for him. Unlike these two characters where they'll appreciate it, they still won't get anywhere near his caster level 20 with that plus 2. So he's doing well, is my point with this. It's decent, but is it the best choice? Well, I can't tell you that. I can tell you there's other options. What other options? Where is it? Censor's Robe. Plus 2 dodge. Notice how my touch armor class went up 2. Dodge, Censor's Robe plus 2. Doesn't account for flat-footed. That's our weakness, remember. And our armor class went up though too, so that's a solid upgrade. And I get to spell magic twice a day. So you know I love my gear that gives me spells a day. Even on caster types, I enjoy that shit. But this is not the best choice in my opinion. What is? Well, we've got the Ambrosial. No. We have Leviathan's Gift. Let's just show you this real quick. This is maximized robe. Literally like 6 times a day. 6 times a day I can maximize any spell that I want because I have this robe on. It's a toggle. But that means I can also have another toggle like a rod on. It's a separate toggle. You can't have 2 rods on at the same time. This is not a rod. I believe I can have this on and say a rod of empowered metamagic. So I can maximize and empower any spell. Think about that. It's that shocking grass that for these girls here get extended and empowered for all those level 1, 2, and 3 spells. I can use a metamagic rod for empowered, these robes for maximized, and unlike them, they're getting 50% extra damage. I'm getting full damage times 1.5, so 50% stronger. So instead of 5d6 times 1.5, it's 30, period, because that's maximized, times 1.5. So I can pretty much guarantee that that shocking grass will do 45 damage on a hit. And on a crit, which he's really good at doing, remember, it'll do double that. So 90 damage on a crit. Boom! Or Fireball, or Shocking Grasp. I could do Frigid Touch, Vampiric Touch. Vampiric Touch would be fun. 10d6 of damage. Remember, that's full damage. He's level 20 caster. 10d6 of damage. Guaranteed 60, because I maximize it with this kick-ass robe on. Then I empower it with the magic rod. So instead of 60, it's 90. Then if it crits, 180 damage to the bad guy and temp health for me for a fucking hour. Just saying, right? Sounds cool. But maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you're not the flash in the pan damage guy. You want protection. I get it. I totally get it. Here's another deflection robe, Prankster's robe. +4 deflection. I'm not a big fan of this because it's only +4 instead of +5, but it's also like +2 to your saves. And it's a luck bonus, which stacks with like resistance bonus, so I could get like a resistance cloak still. And it gives us the ability to cast blindness twice a day. That's something, I guess. I don't particularly care, but it's there. The one I'm suggesting for you is this weird one, Dark Master's robe. Why? It's a bonus to intelligence and charisma +8. Why? We already got the hat. Well, now I can take the hat off and put something else in its spot. Yeah, my wisdom goes down 8 points. That sucks. My will's not the best. But if I want extra armor, this might be the way to go. And I get a little bonus to knowledge arcana and concentration checks, blah, blah, blah. But I kind of dig that. No, having said that, what might I get for a hat? Well, if we're not using the hat of 8, 8, and 8, you don't want anything that's like 6, 6, and 6, so you're not putting on the crown or anything weird. We have some examples of stuff that might be useful. Clear vision, bonus to your saves against illusion. I don't know what kind of bonus that is. It's a resistance bonus, innate bonus, whatever. But +2 insight bonus. That's not bad, but I have something better in mind. There's a necklace that gives me +5 insight bonus, so that's not going to be a viable option. We have Eel Circlet. While the +2 intelligence is useless because our robes are +8, I can at least cast Lightning Bolt at will at level 5. That's 5d6 of damage. Anytime I want to cast it, I never run out of that spell. That's not the worst thing ever. I'm not going to take it. I am worried about being critted. Immunity to crits. That's not the best idea yet because we don't have the best armor yet, but that is an option. Okay, wait. Immune to crits, +4 on your attack rolls made to confirm critical hits. Well, brother mutant, you just told me that your character auto-confirms crits. Yes, at level 20. That's a long fucking road to hoe, bro. This is available probably before you hit 20. If that's the case, wear this shit. You're immune to crits, and you get a bonus to your chance to crit until you unlock level 20. Once you get to level 20, this is now useful just because of the immune to critical hits. But I'll happily take that off in favor of something else. What else? I could get more wisdom back. It's only +6, not +8, but notice the immunities. Stun, daze. Never a problem for me ever again. And again, if I'm going solo, you can see the appeal. Don't like that. And again, there's a chance to stun them or daze them if they hit you or some shit. Whatever. I don't like that. How about we give you a bonus to a death ward effect permanently on your character. As long as I wear this dumbass warding helmet with my horns that stick through, which looks funny as shit, then I have death ward on. Again, that's not amazing, but again, you see you have options. What option would I take? Honestly, I'd probably take something like that. I like the improved critical, and it looks fucking tits on him, quite frankly. But that's what I do. I like being immune to critical. That's a possible option, just saying. And there's other stuff in here, like I could have gone Morbid Stare, bonus to your necromancy spells, but again, you don't do necromancy, really. Not that much anyway, where there's a DC check, so pass. Necklace, it ends and begins, in my opinion, the guy Rona's Amulet. That guy right here. +5 insight bonus. Remember I told you that this hat, it gives a +2. This won't stack. So that's why I did this one, +5. And this is the one that casts Mirror Image on you at the start of every fight. For a character that doesn't have many spells, this is a massive saving of spells for level 2. Because now I don't have to worry about having Mirror Image on. I'll still keep one in my back pocket. Why? Because when the fight starts, these will get chewed up very quickly. And then I have my spell, Mirror Image, that I can still recast on myself in the middle of the fight, and poof, back up I go with my invisible army around me. You see that? There's reasons to want that. For gloves, for armor, there's two options in my opinion. There's one called Lightest Touch. It's a +6 to Dex. We don't care about that part, but notice this part. Reflex bonus, I don't care. Cast Reduced Person at will, 5th level wizard. So for 5 minutes I can shrink myself down. Remember, that's +2 to Dex. I have that on right now. We did cast the spell on ourselves before. But it's from my spell slots. I don't have to have it in my spell slots anymore. See that? And while I may not wear these all the time, I'll keep these in my pack. So when the fight gets ready to start, like I know I'm going to walk into this room, oh, Reduced Person is off my character. Put on my lightest gloves, shrinky dinky for 5 minutes. Take them back off and put on the gloves I'm about to give you. And those ones are called hammer fists. Right here. Another weird set. Bonus to strength. We don't care. You have the belt +8. But until that time, +4, okay. But +2 morale bonus to AC. And that's here. More importantly, it's here and also in your touch attack. So it's all 3 categories. Just like your Gyrona's Amulet, your insight bonus. +5, +5, +5. Just like you're going to see when I do deflection. Well, now we'd have to talk about rings. What ring would I recommend for you? Well, first, before we do that, let's actually go to cloaks. Cloaks, remember I said their alignments were important? Chaotic, evil, good, lawful, true, neutral. Part of that's rings, part of that's also cloaks. Well, here's a cloak right here, an absolver cloak, but notice, good characters only. +4 deflection bonus, +4 resistance to all saves, +4 to do persuasion skill checks. You have a kingdom to rule. Remember, persuasion checks are part of your job. We're not doing an intimidation build here, but that's still a solid buff to you role-playing in the game. And against evil targets, you get even more armor against them. So fuck yeah. Oh wait, I have to be good. I picked the evil guy. Whoopsies. Well, then grab the Castigator's Cloak. Evil alignment. See this? +4 deflection, +4 saves, +4 persuasion, but only if I try to intimidate. But again, it's not an intimidation build, but you may intimidate in your kingdom. So this is at least a buff. And +2 bonus to attacks against targets who are shaken. While we're not setting that up, this could be fucking cool. And again, put it on. See the armor? +4. Another +4 for deflection. And a +4 here. So it's on every category. And our saves went up 4, 4, 4. Looking pretty goddamn good. Now, maybe that's not your thing. Let's take it off. We'll think of something else. Let's go back to rings. Rings, we already talked about the Dex one. That's the ones these guys have. And notice, by the way, that ring also gives them the ability to cast Cleanse on themselves 3 times a goddamn day. That's not bad, especially for a solo character. It's like a heal, removes like poisons and diseases and all kinds of other afflictions and shit. Then again, that's nice for someone that doesn't have a cleric in their back pocket. They have a ring that cover that shit. One of my favorites is Great Dreamer's Smile. +2 luck bonus to your attack, all your attacks, and your damage, and your saving throws, and your skill checks, and your spell pan, and I'm immune to fucking curses. Not bad, right? Okay, maybe that's kind of overkill. How about we grab those law rings or chaos rings? So here's Ring of Blur, permanent blur effect on you. Lame sauce. Here's Ring of Chaos. I am chaotic. What does this give me? +4 deflection, continuous freedom of movement. I am never paralyzed now. I like that. And that +4 deflection, again, there, and there. And again, I had that in the cloak, but now I don't need that cloak. I can get something else better, perhaps. Maybe that's not your thing. Notice that chaos is one choice. Law is another. It is +4 deflection, same, but immunity to confusion and fear instead of paralysis. That's cool. But you'd have to be a lawful character. Wait, that's not the last one. There is a, where's the Greater Ring of Balance? This is if you're true neutral. Remember, I had a true neutral, I had a lawful good, and a chaotic evil for this reason, so I could show you this shit. This is the one you, honestly, I would want. So I would actually play a neutral character. +5 deflection. This is the best ring. +5 deflection, so that's even better than the other 2. Immunity to emotion effects, fear, confusion, and you get continuous freedom of movement on your character. You have to be true neutral to wear it. That's fucking powerful. And again, for those that are like, oh, you got plenty of use magic device.
I have use for this.
Again, does not matter in this game. Okay, if you're not the right alignment or the right class, they will never let you wear it. Even if it's just 1 level dip, a monk, man. Some of those robes are pretty badass for a monk. 1 level dip of lawful good, lawful evil, lawful neutral monk, and you can wear the right robe. But you have to be at least monk 1 to be able to put that shit on. So don't think that it's the same as pen and paper. Well, if those aren't your cup of tea, and again, I do like the chaos ring for the immunity to or the freedom of movement. Okay? But if that's not your thing, the best usually is this one, the Greater Ring of Ultimate Protection. +5 resistance to all my saves. That's usually in the cloak slot. That's amazing upgrade. +5 deflection. That's one of the best deflections in the game. That's here, here, and here. That's better than the chaos ring or the law ring. And Spell resistance 24. That was better than those robes, and we don't have those robes anymore. So again, that's cool. And DR2/dash. He's going to take damage. Might as well limit it by 2 every time. I'll take those rings. Now what do we have then for cloak? Well, I don't need resistance anymore, and I don't need deflection, so I don't need that Castigator's cloak anymore. Well, I could get this, and while it's wasteful, see how it's 24, 22, and 19? They went up by 1, because it's +6, the ring is +5. That's wasteful. Let's not do that. What does he not have? Well, he doesn't have immunity to poison. Do we have an herbalist cape? +4 to intelligence, wasted because of the robes. +4 to his lore nature check, which he doesn't even have that. But delay poison 3 times a day he can cast on himself for 3 caster level 3 cleric. That's 3 hours, 3 times a day. So he got 9 hours of immunity to poison. I'll take it. Not bad, right? And of course you're going to get your magic rods for all these characters, whichever one you play. You'll get scrolls and wands and blah, blah, blah. But this is a solid too. Now look at that fucking armor now. 63, 40, and that's flat-footed, son. 47. Again, he's going to get hit sometimes, but I'd rather it be less likely. Now when you summon stuff to fight you, just to show you this before we finish this video, that's fucking ridiculously long. Let's actually have a couple of those guys come up to play. Now, I'm going to back away every other character and try to have him solo some shit, okay? So here's my character, my redone Purist. Again, Arcane Strike on, because if we're not going to cast spells, you definitely want to have the extra 5 damage per swing, right? He is rocking right now a solid damage output, and I think he's probably 5 higher than this, because the Arcane Strike is probably not updating just yet. We'll see. But we're going to swing. We buffed our weapon. We got our brain energy buff on and our Bane weapon up on. And I want to show you the different attacks and damage potential that he has, okay? So let's just pick this ugly bastard right here.
This will hurt.
Must be the surprise round. Yeah, surprise round start, sorry. So these guys are just going to backpedal out of here. Hopefully because he's standing there, he'll be a nice meaty target for them, so they don't try to chase anyone down. Here's our Purist again. Okay, so now we're up to 5 attacks. You see that? We have buffs. Oh, son of a bitch. Well, that was a nice hit, even though it was only 1. Critical hit, 30. Notice the Weasel Bite's 5, but I get another +2. That's from the Bane weapon. Okay? That's why I say it's not updated yet. So it's at 28, and when we look at our tooltip, now it's 30, because that +2 is being calculated in there. That also means then the damage is getting in there too. Notice the 2d6 of force damage. That's always going to be there for a Bane attack, because all targets are considered Bane to your weapon. The 1d3, blah, blah, blah. The 26 was 24 a moment ago, but because of Bane, it goes up again another 2. That's why it's 26. Times 4 on a crit for him, because it's the best weapon category. Times 3 weapon goes to times 4 when he gets to level 20. So he gets 4 times the damage of all that shit. So that's why you want this number high. Because that times 4 is going to really make it skyrocket. He did 119 damage on that first swing. And then, of course, because it's the first target with that weapon, he did 66. And oh my god, that gets times 2 as well on a crit. Fucking awesome. And force damage on it too. You get 2d6. That's fucking hilarious. I wonder if that works on the shocking grass. We'll have to test it. Alright, I'm going to move these guys away. And then I don't want them getting hurt. Because you're paying decent. Drink your meat again. That was an attack of opportunity right there, what that was. Alright, now something I do want to show you. See the number that popped up? It's gone now, the red. When you see those numbers, because they're there and they're gone fast, you don't have to use the tooltip. But you would see the number. Here's his attack bonus, the Ancient Bullet. Here was her armor. He needed to hit a 12. So when you saw the number, it showed you his roll. So it showed you a die and it said a number. versus another number. The other number was 12 because that's what he needed to hit her. Okay, so the goal is, if you don't want to use the tooltip to pop this up, if you see a number, whatever it is, versus 20, that's our goal. If you always, when they're swinging at you, that's your goal. Because if you always see a 20, then the only way they can hit you is on a nat 20, period. That just means a crit will hit, or potential crit will hit, because a nat 20 always hits something. So that's what you're hoping to see when you have a good armored character like this guy. I'm going to swing over here.
Stand down.
She got mugged. Oh, you jackass. Alright, now it's his turn. Now he's getting 5 attacks. We could do our trick. Shall we do our trick? We got our Rod of the Fearless on. We still got 1 quicken to use. How about we use it for a nice shocking grasp on this jackass?
My gifts to you!
Oh, why didn't it work? Did I forget to have something on? Switched down on me. I don't know what that's about. That's weird. Clearly hit. Hit him hard. Hit him nice crit too. 30, 36. Solid damage. We hit him with a 96 on that crit. Lowered our damage by doing that though. But then we got this. Oh yeah, it did work though. I just wanted to see if that force damage kicked in. So 2d6 on the strike as well, and 5d6 times 2. So again, nice. For some reason though, he didn't get 5 attacks. I'm not sure, because I did shut off the arcane strike. You saw me do it. Maybe it's because it was the last charge of the rod. That would be something worth testing though. And again, I don't care. I can work my way around it. And again, for these 2 characters, I know I can get it to work as well. So I'm happy with this. This is really a solid build. Now this video has definitely been long enough, guys. I apologize for the extreme length. But I wanted to show this to you because again, I had a lot of, not complaints, but like inquiries as to why I even thought that a 12-8 split was anything worth a damn. And I think I've demonstrated that they're not as bad as it sounds. It really comes down to spell planning, gear planning, and stuff of that nature. And again, a year ago when I didn't have this mod, the Bag of Tricks mod, where I could force level characters up and gift them all the gear in the game, and proof gear in the game, which is the last thing we will actually show you. Oh, I can't do this during the damn fight. The reason that it matters now is that I can show you all this stuff now. And I think I just locked up my damn game. Oh. Come on now. Oh, wow, this is really glitchy. So see this? It's not letting me control my mouse now because the fight's already started. Well, we can do it like that. Screw you, jerk. Alright, scoundrel. Oh, here, kill this guy.
You should have run.
Apparently going in and out during fight scenes is a bad idea. Purist, you probably don't have buffs for shit. Give it a try, kid. Oh, you don't even have weapons. That's just great. Alright, your turn. Loving Spoonful. Let's press 7. So we can do our prescient attack.
This will hurt.
Like that. Suck it. And we'll do 7. Prescient attack. Kill him.
You this not be happening.
Oh, shit. Oh, that was the wrong character. You ain't got no weapons. You're just going to pass your turn. There we go. Now, well, let me control this shit now. Alright. I wanted to show you weapons. I want to show you why, if I had this mod back a year ago, Kukri may not have been my favorite choice. I still would have picked it because that ×3 crit weapons, those weasel weapons are awesome for especially 2-weapon wielding, which of course you know. But if I wasn't using the Eldritch Scoundrel, remember she gets that finesse training, right? Remember that's the same as agile weapons. Well, I can actually search for agile weapons in this game this way. Type in agile, search for under weapons. These are all the agile weapons in the game. Okay? Notice there's a laundry list of these fuckers. But that's like Putrid Blade, Silent Whisper, that's a punching dagger, Deceiver, that's a dagger. There's a lot of punching daggers, a lot of daggers, and named ones no less. So Troublemaker is a punching dagger. I believe. Nope, dagger. Is it Trouble Solver? Yeah, Punching Dagger. So Punching Dagger here, Silent Whispers of Punching Dagger, Deceiver, and Troublemaker are both daggers. And again, then you could dual wield those. The downside of these is the Punching Daggers, I think, crit on a nat 20. The regular daggers crit on a 19-20, so it's an okay crit range. But the Punching Daggers are appealing because they're by default. Let me gift them to me. I'll show you what I'm talking about. They crit for like 3 times the damage by default. So again, for him, he'd be able to crit for 4 times if you went the Purist build. But there's the fact that they're agile again, he could get his dexterity back, which is for his damage, which is appealing. So, oops. This really did bork up my damn thing. That's really annoying. Why does it do that? I don't understand it. Anyway, I was going to show you the daggers. I don't have to. It's been 4 hours damn near, guys, for this video. This is going to be annoying enough to watch. But I wanted to show these to you. Show you the changes. And I suppose the last thing to really show you, if I can do this. Yeah, skills. So I can at least show you the skills on these characters. So you see that we have athletics, persuasion, and perception are always maxed at 20. We did enough in athletics to be worth a damn in my opinion. Mobility only got like 3 on every case. Knowledge, Arcana, Knowledge World, I put 10 points for everybody just to keep them consistent. So again, with a high intelligence, I figured we were fine. And as you can see, we are. Lore Nature and Lore Religion, no one got that except for the Alchemist because they got the green check mark. And because of that, they also had extra skills. I put like 14 or so into Lore Nature for that character only. Other than that, for the Eldritch Scoundrel, they got more skills, but they don't get Lore Nature as an upgrade. So I decided, fuck it, she's a stealthy character because she is an Eldritch Scoundrel, so I put it into stealth. So her stealth is going to be better than this. Other than that, Trickery was a solid 14 or 15 by the time we were done. Not ranks, but actual bonus. The 27 is because we actually have higher dexterity now. Trickery, use magic device. Everyone got enough to get to around, I say like a plus 15 before we upgraded with gear. Remember, our charisma was 10, so that plus 5 was added. So you're using that use magic device at 22. It would have been about a 17. Now, how does use magic device work? This is the last thing really to talk about. If you're doing a spell from a wand or a scroll, for example, that is not something that's part of your repertoire, like we've talked about many times in this video, you need to do a use magic device check. That is base 20 plus the level of the spell, period. Okay, so if it's doesn't matter if it's a cleric spell, wizard spell, paladin spell, whatever. If it's level 9, then it's 20 plus 9, so it's 29. That's what you need to roll. Of course, you have your bonus, your use magic device bonus. The 22 there means that on a level 9 spell for this character, I would need to roll a 7 or better. That's on a 1d20. That's pretty easy to do. And normally when I say this is we're not using these use magic device skills in combat. It's usually, in my opinion, used before, preemptively, to buff ourselves up. Use spells like a Fiery Body, Death Ward, Delay Poison, Haste, any scroll or wand that you find that might be of value for shit like that. And again, some of those spells are alignment restricted, usually in the lawful good or good category. So be real careful if you're grabbing neutral characters or evil or chaotic characters, okay? But a Purist build can do this again because their use magic device is high enough that they can get away with this shit. You would go to the vendor when you're solo and you have enough cash, which you'll have plenty because you're not fully kitting out a team. It's just your main character usually, right? You'll make sure your team back at base because you have to take them out periodically. You'll give them some stuff, so don't take them out wearing nothing but ratty old fucking plate armor plus nothing and a shield that looks like it's going to fall apart. Give them something, but the best gear you're giving them, and then you're selling off the rest. And you'll have more than enough money for when you go to the vendor to buy potions and scrolls and wands. And what you're going to do is every time you go out on a mission, you'll make sure you replenish the following. You're going to want a few death wards at least. You want 3 or 4 of the delay poisons because you can buff those up. Those last like 3 hours at whack. That's awesome. So just poof, I'm immune to poison now for this entire goddamn dungeon. Yay me. So death wards, delay poison, heroism or greater heroism are solid choices, or good hope for that matter. You could also grab prayer, Divine Favor, Divine Power. Again, these are cleric spells, but again, with Use Magic Device, you can do that shit. Other stuff like Resist Energy, Protection from Energy, you get the idea. You'll be surprised at how tough this character is. I mean, I know that the armor 63 is looking appealing. There's still going to be guys that tear him up. And it's not because of that. It's because they'll be using touch attack. And 47 is good. It's not that good. At the end of the game, there's some guys that shoot ray spells. Those are touch attacks. And 47 might be enough to save your ass, especially when you have like blur or displacement or invisibility on. But by and large, if you can get that 47 up to a 50 or more, I think you'll appreciate it. So always, always, always look for buffs that make you higher. Things like Sea Mantle. Those are going to be pricey because they're like level 7, 8, 9 wizard spells that we're talking about now. So Sea Mantle's a solid choice. Anything that gives you extra natural armor. Transformation spell gives you natural armor, and that will stack with what you have on your character right now. It's like another +4. So if you need that shit, make sure you have those spells ready to rock and roll, whether it's a wand, a scroll, or on your spell book. And again, you will have what you need to take any of these 3 characters solo through this game. It'll be tough, especially at the earliest levels, probably like 1 through 5, I'd say is going to be probably the worst of it. But if you're gearing up like you should and you're paying attention to your buffs, you can take any of these 3 characters, I believe, solo through the game. Which would I think would be the best at soloing? This guy, honestly. The second best would be the Eldritch Scoundrel, quite frankly. And I know the Vivisectionist has some fun shit with the mutagen and all kinds of other cool tools. That's going to make her better early levels. And the 5d6 total of sneak attack damage, that'll make her better at early levels. Later in the game, that's going to be garbage. It'll help, don't kid yourself. But by and large, she is easier to level up. But once she gets to a certain milestone, I'd say probably around level 10, she's going to be very difficult to keep pace with the other 2. The reason the other 2 is because he gets like a retarded number of spells for the level 4, 5, and 6 stuff that she'll never will. And the Eldritch Scoundrel gets access to all those kick-ass wizard spells, at least 1 through 6 anyway, without Use Magic Device. And that gives her a lot of bang for her buck. And when it comes to whether you'd rather buff or would you rather do damage with a spell, 9 times out of 10, I'd say you'd rather do damage with a spell. He can do both, which is why I like him, the Purist. But he's still probably better with a weapon, which is why, again, a dual-wielding kukri son of a bitch. That's the build, the 3 of them. I hope that was clear. And again, if I got stuff wrong, feel free to post down below, but try to be respectful. I don't want to hear, you're a fucking idiot, how dare you think that this is better than my build. I wasn't fucking comparing my build to your build. I'm comparing my build to my other 2 builds here. That's what I'm doing. And I'm showing you that there are options besides the typical purists. And they still can be fun, and they can still hold their own. It's just how you kit them out, how you do their spells, knowing where their buffs work and when they don't work. And that's what I try to show here today. So hope that explains everything to you guys. Now, my name is Brother Mutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about these 3 builds. Which is your favorite? Which is the one you would have done? How would you have done them different? Post that down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.